NovaTitanProductions.
Hello and welcome to a playthrough of BattleBlock Theater. This is NovaTitan. Let's get started.
For example, holding up a
Good
doll.
evening, boys and
someone
girls,
else who had a friend
ladies,
who was very deeply offended by that.
and a gentleman.
Well, who
Turn
should
the
you
lights
think that?
down
Like,
low and shut
is
your
it the role of
faces
the
as I wrap you in the
institution to come
cozy
down and say,
blanket
"You
of a
can express
story.
yourself this
A
way, no,
story
you
as
cannot."
heartwarming
So
and
the argument was,
soft
let
as
the
a
young
mother's
people
kiss.
learn.
Or is it?
Let them sort it out themselves. Let them
Once
learn by
upon a
talking to each
time,
other,
there was a boat.
expressing themselves.
Now, this
So
wasn't
whatever
just
might
any
be,
boat,
here's why
children.
might be.
It was a
Here's
ship.
why
A
might
ship
be.
full
Right?
of friends. Hundreds of
and
friends.
sort of
Best
buy into
friends,
this kind
one
of
and all.
commitment
A veritable
for,
friendship
that
it was.
actually, I think,
Get it?
ultimately
But it wouldn't be
serves
very
the objectives of
ladylike
righteous
to me
social
if I didn't
progress.
mention the
We really
most
want to be better as a
noteworthy
society,
friend
or
on
any
board.
society, in my
Hattie.
opinion. We have to create an environment
Say
where we
hi
talk
to
each other
Hattie.
directly.
Hattie was like
Listen
king
carefully,
friend of
make
Friendship
subtle
Kingdom,
and
best
free
friend to
people up
one
to
and
express
all,
what they're thinking.
and the
So
walking
we can have real
definition of
marketplace
handsome
ideas.
gentleman.
That's,
Now
you know,
one
my
fine
opinion,
morning,
my
Hattie and
Well, that's a
pal
wonderful
set
belief.
out for a new,
Okay.
exciting
That's really,
adventure.
I
What
couldn't agree with you
fantastic
more-
wonders would they
more
discover this
enthusiastic.
time?
That's really-
Perhaps they'd come
that sounds
across
like
a
the best
scary
possible
ghost ship.
environment for
Perhaps
growing
they'd
up in
find an
Maine.
island made
You have
entirely
someone
of
to sort of
candy.
moderate or
Perhaps
someone
they'd
to
meet a
lead
band
and
of
go
scary,
sideways.
swashbuckling
Yes, or
pirates
I don't
and join
necessarily
forces to find an
very
island made entirely of
shared
candy. Who
See,
knows?
this is
It
the
didn't
dated
matter.
narrative,
As long as they were
where
together,
like
there
the
was smiles
narrator's
to be
so
had,
fucking
adventures to be
annoying and
shared. Now,
super
today's
edgy
wasn't
while
like any
making
other
random
adventure
jokes.
day. Spirits were uncrushably high. Everyone was singing and
Granted that
dancing and
this
having
game
a jolly
released
time.
when this was like
Suddenly,
very
the
new,
ocean was all
but it's very
like
repetitive
surprise,
right
and
now.
a huge, massive storm brewed out of nowhere.
Kind of like those Old Spice ads, those really old ones. The fake acting, the over-exaggerated expressions.
And the wind, boom, and like that.
So
It was
you and I
over.
look at the world
Is
and
everyone
debate, think
okay?
about, okay,
Said
and we
Hattie.
exchange
I don't know
reasons,
what
and
I'd
we
do
use
if I lost even one of you.
ways of
Hattie
understanding these
continued.
people.
But
That,
the
to
eye
me,
of
is
the
the only
storm
way.
is very misleading,
Some people will
children.
think that
Never
religions
turn your
are
back on it
religions.
because the ocean was all like psych, and it came back even bigger this time, twice as big.
Whoosh, whoosh.
As if Poseidon himself extended his hand in friendship and they spat in his mouth. Boy, he was pissed. He was mad. And the rain came down like a shower of bullets. And the floorboards were buckling and creaking and breaking, and pieces of their ship were raining down like shards of broken dreams. And then Reginald comes upstairs and he's all like, I say, gentlemen, I do believe we're in quite a spot of bother. And everyone else was like, really? What tipped you off, genius? And then Hattie was all like, hey, be nice. Huge giant waves thrashed the boat to and fro and to, carelessly sprinkling friend after friend into the cold, unforgiving abyss of the deep, dark ocean. Everyone was screaming like, help me! Splash! Splash! And there was this huge whale like, made it super scary. And I think there was a shark. Yep, there he is. Oh God! And then Hattie was all like, hold on to your butts. Land ho! And bang, bang, bang!
He saved the whole
A
village.
shipwreck, as foretold by their fate books of fate. And while it seems
sounds like
the
North
end
Korean
is
propaganda.
merely the beginning of another
Hattie's probably
fantastic
evil.
journey for the brave crew of the SS Friendship.
I have a friend. I have friends across the political spectrum from the. I don't have any monarchists among my friends. I don't have any friends who are monarchists. But I have friends from the far right department. I have a friend who really believes he's so libertarian. He thinks there should be private ownership of roads. Yeah, I mean, I think that's ridiculous. And we debate.
He must be white.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My wife says she just wants like to meet a poor libertarian.
Yeah,
a female libertarian. Yes.
No. Yeah, that's a ridiculous position.
I think so.
Private roads.
Yeah, okay, but so here's the thing. Okay, how are we going to persuade this man that he also thinks, somewhat less controversially, it's harder decision. He also thinks that you should be able to sell your organs. You know, we should have a market in kidneys. That you know, right now
While you're alive?
Yeah, you can give away one of your kidneys.
But yeah, you can.
And we allow you to give it away, but we don't allow you to sell it.
Wasn't there an instance, Jamie, you were telling me about a young guy who sold his kidney to get an iPhone? Was that in another country?
In another country.
Yes.
Yes.
And wound up with having an infection and
Yes.
lost his second kidney as well?
Yes, and then would need to be yes. These things, and these things happen in the.
Yeah.
But in the United States, it's prohibited. You also can't sell your blood in the United States. There's a reason for that.
Yes.
And it's a good reason, a good public health reason.
Yeah, because people who want to sell their blood are usually fucked up.
Correct. And so it's not safe. The blood supply is safer in countries where people
Voluntarily.
are altruistically doing
Yes.
exactly. The kidneys are harder because anyway, he believes that anyways, I love debating him, and I learned from it. Like recently, he said to me, and I think I have a better answer. He said he doesn't understand why blackmail is illegal.
Oh, Jesus.
But the point is,
Those anarchists and libertarians, all of them need their asses kicked.
Right.
They really do. Settle
These are
down.
hard, exactly. But the things, exactly. These are like, and I think any kind of extreme ideology. But the point is, we can learn. There is some wisdom almost anywhere, right?
Yes.
And the problem comes from excess expression. You know, the problem comes from, the problem comes, when we take things to extremes and we get, private ownership of roads.
Yes, yes.
But anyway.
And by the way, if you're an anarchist or a libertarian, I'm kidding. I don't really think you need to get your ass kicked. I'm just joking around. But it is
You're gonna have a mob after you
but
now.
it's a position that I always feel like could be remedied with psychedelic drugs.
It could be,
I
yes.
really feel like it almost always could be. Like I get, I get where they're coming from. I understand personal responsibility, the idea that the free market should decide. I get all that. But we already accept that there's some things that we agree on that we should all chip in to pay for.
Yeah,
like roads.
Yeah, or like assessments
Utilities.
like assessment of drug purity, for example. So
Sure.
the very rich could set up a laboratory in their basement, so whenever a doctor prescribes a medication, they could see if the drugs are safe
Yes,
and pure.
yes.
The rest of us pay taxes, and we
Yes.
say we're all going to pitch in together, and we're going to have the FDA, and they are going to certify drug purity, so that when I go to my pharmacist and buy a drug,
Yeah.
the pharmaceutical company isn't killing me by shoddy manufacturing practices.
Yes.
So I think that's right. We get together and, as a free society, and we do these things. We want a non-corrupt judiciary, right?
Yes.
We don't want people to be able to bribe judges.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are certain foundational elements of our civilization, of our society, which are crucial to our well-being, and one of them is the capacity to openly debate ideas and to expose ourselves to ideas across the gamut. And I'm not just talking about political ideas, I'm talking about scientific ideas. So how are we going to win the battle against anti-vaxxers? Like, how are we going to persuade people who believe that vaccines kill people, for which there's no scientific evidence, that they're wrong? We could imprison them, like that's force. We could vote, which is sort of what we're doing. We're saying, okay, well, you're a minority group who believes these things, so we're not going to allow you to control policy. Or we could try to win the battle of ideas and persuade them. Ultimately, that's
At Yale.
Everybody in the pool.
Oh, sh.
Very, very good. Amazing tool.
Ah. Oh my Christ.
Choose your favorite head face and weapon. Feel free to customize your prisoner. Performer. It's the only color they have. I'm sure the cats won't mind. You other prisoners could learn a thing or two from this guy.
Get off the boat. Oh. Oh my god.
Hurry up. Gotta poop. Well, look at you go.
Explain that for people who don't know what happened, because it's kind of a crazy scene, even national.
Yes, it was a moment when around the country many students were struggling with how to balance conflicting needs. Conflicting needs. How on the one hand to create an environment in schools where everyone sort of felt welcome. As we democratized admissions to our American universities, as I think we should have, people from all walks of life have started moving into these institutions, claiming to their own. At the same time, these institutions have wonderful heritages of commitment to free expression, open debate, and reason as a principle for resolving their differences. And some of those values came into tension. And around the country, there was a lot of heat about this.
Fucking die already.
Found out some challenging circumstances, and you know, it was not the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but you know, it was in the top 10 challenging moments.
Yeah, that's a very
Oh.
good way of describing exactly what happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I struggle. I mean, you can tell the story if you want, and then I can correct things. But here's the thing: it's my job to be a teacher, and I take responsibility for teaching young people. And it is the case that many people lost their minds, lost their senses, and the faculty too, incidentally. I mean, you know, it's one thing to talk about people in their college age people, but then you know, the faculty also didn't necessarily do what they should have done. But the thing is that you know, my commitment is to teaching more generally, and I don't want to be defined by that event. I don't want that to become the most important thing about me. You know, I've spoken that we'll talk about it as an important thing in my life, and instantiate my values and talk about what I think is important about the world. So I'm trying to be balanced about it. It's one thing that happened. I did my best. It's in the past.
Well, let me help out here, because we're being so nice about it. So people know what we're talking about. There was an incident that was captured on someone's cell phone where you were standing.
It's an hour of footage, 5 or 6 different angles, so the clip went viral. But I want to emphasize that there were many people filming that day, an hour or more of the 2 or 3 hours I was out there.
Well, I'm glad that you have the courage to do that, though, to stand out there and talk to those kids. But some of them were clearly, there's something that happens, people become extremely self-indulgent when they know that they have this platform and they have someone who is in a position of authority, and they can hamstring them in front of the public. And that's what I felt was going on. Just my understanding of human nature, I knew what she was doing by shouting and screaming, "This is our fucking home, you know, we're supposed to be safe here." I was like, oh, I see what's going on. She's throwing up the flag of virtue for all the friends to see how amazing she was. Listen to her, and you never yell back, and you never raise your voice, and you remain calm. But that sort of environment where the children, and I want to say children, they're basically adults, but act like children.
But this is one of the ironies that the people that age, you know, can fight wars and lose their lives.
Yes.
So I think it's a difficult balance. On the one hand, it's right and appropriate to hold people responsible for their actions. Certainly, if you're 20 years old, you're an adult. You're still growing. You're still changing. You're still learning. I'm not the same man I was when I was 20. But you have to be responsible for your behavior.
Yes.
And so I don't think you get a total pass either. It's hard.
No, you do not get a total pass. For folks who don't have a 20-year-old in their life, who don't remember what it's like, you're not a fully formed thing yet. You're filled with chaos, emotions, and hormones. And then you're at school, and you're probably away from the instructions of your parents for the first time, and you know, you're cut loose and trying out new ways of communicating that way. It's a mess. But most people felt horrified watching that you were subjected to that. You're being very reasonable, and also what it all came about was your wife had sent out an email saying like, hey, maybe it should be okay for someone to wear a fucked up Halloween costume. You know, maybe it's okay for someone to dress up like Crazy Horse.
Yeah, well, actually, just to be clear, what Erica was saying in that note was very important intellectual distinction. We've lost a lot of nuance in our political lives in general in our country right now, and also nuance in the way we think about difficult topics. So what Erica was saying was not that necessarily that she was not taking a position on any particular costume, like this is okay. In fact, many of the costumes that would defend the students would defend her. What she was saying was that she didn't think a university should be telling students what to wear. Right? And she was asking students, do you students, really, at this age at Yale, do you really want the university to be sending guidance on what to wear? Perhaps you should think about that. You're adults, you're smart, you're in an environment that privileges free expression. Do you really want to grant the power to an institution to tell you how to communicate? And people then thought that she was saying that she was defending a particular course of action. She was saying was, she was saying, do you students really want to surrender that kind of control over your own lives to older adults? And apparently many students did. Actually, they wanted it. So
I don't believe they did. I think they wanted absolute enforcement of what they thought to be wrong. Right?
Yes, I think that's right. So they many, but not all students. I mean, let's also be very clear. And part of the motivation in Erica writing that note was that many of her students, in fact, many hundreds of other students, felt infantilized by this policy. And there had been a big build-up prior to that event, including an article in the New York Times about these Halloween costume policies around the country, and weren't they kind of ridiculous? And so there was a kind of a ferment where people were saying, wait a minute, do we really need adults to be told in this institution, especially given its commitments to what to wear? And keep in mind that there could be many ways in which the costume that offends you I might not know why. So let's say you've been abused by a priest, and you were the rule said you shouldn't mock religious person.
Oh my God.
So a university-wide email went out signed by 13 people saying, don't mock
God.
And someone else who had a different view defended that. Well, who should adjudicate that? Like, you know, is it the role of the institution to come down and say, yes, you can express yourself this way, no, you cannot? So the argument was, let the young people learn. Let them sort it out themselves. Let them learn by talking to each other, expressing themselves. Like, whatever my feelings. Like, here's why I feel. The other person says, oh, I understand, or I don't understand. I reject that reason. And sort of buy into a kind of commitment to free and open expression that actually, I think, ultimately serves the objectives of righteous social progress. If we really want to do better in our society, or in any society, in my view, we have to create an environment where we can talk to each other, grant good faith, listen carefully, make subtle distinctions, and free people up to express what they're thinking. So we can have a real marketplace of ideas. That's, you know, my commitment, or my belief.
Well, that's a wonderful belief. I love it. I mean, that's really, I couldn't agree with you more enthusiastic. That sounds like the best possible environment for growing up and learning, as long as you have someone to sort of moderate, someone to mediate if things go sideways.
Yes, or I don't think you necessarily need a third party mediator, but you do need a shared understanding of core liberal principles. And these principles include, as I mentioned earlier, a commitment to free and open expression, a commitment to debate, a commitment to reason. So how are you and I going to come to a better understanding of what's true about the world? We could fight, right? And then the stronger person decides what's right. We could vote. Doesn't seem quite right either. You know, 350 cardinals voted that Galileo was wrong. Didn't make Galileo wrong. Or we could use principles of reason and inquiry to try to appreciate the world together, right? We're looking out at the world and saying, that's confusing. You know, does the earth revolve around the sun, or does the sun revolve around the earth? Well, that's confusing. Should a king have should a king have ultimate authority? Or is that not how we want to organize a state? So you and I look at the world and debate and think about, okay, and we exchange reasons, and we use evidence and ways of understanding and studying the world. That, to me, is the only way to truth, actually. Now, some people will think that religion is the way to truth, right? They think that the truth is religion, for example. Now, I'm very sympathetic to religious belief systems, but I don't think that's the way to truth. It's the way to some truths, actually. It's the way to some wisdom. But anyway, so that's what our universities and our society, our universities are officially committed to that. The mottos of our universities are all about freedom and pursuit of knowledge. And our country is committed to that in our Bill of Rights.
Okay.
Commitment to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, and so forth. And those ground rules that, in my view, make it possible for us to have a better society. And there's more. I'm sure we'll get into it.
No, I'm sure we will. Again, could agree with you more enthusiastic. We need more reasonable conversation. Less shouting people down and less talking.
Less mob action, I guess.
Yes, the mob action is very weird because I don't remember it. Well, from the Vietnam War protests to what's going on today, there's this long gap where you didn't hear about universities shutting down speech.
Yes.
This is fairly new. This is
Fuck off.
Half decade or so.
Well, it's not yet. Yes. Yes, I mean, there's always an undercurrent of tension about this at universities and in our society at large. Let's not forget the McCarthy era, where you had the right wing was really interested in shutting down communism. Like, if you were a professor or an artist who had far left political views, you were screwed. Yes. And that was wrong.
Or even if you want to a communist meeting, you find out what it was all about.
Yes.
Just to educate yourself.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Like right now, I see a lot of people being criticized for following online people that disagree with.
Yes.
Which is nuts.
Crazy.
Like, so I just because I follow someone doesn't mean I agree with what they're saying. I'm interested to learn what are they saying.
I'm friends with people.
Yes, me too. I'm friends with so many people. I have friends across the political spectrum from the. I don't have any monarchists among my friends. I don't think I have any friends who are monarchists. But I have friends from far right. Like, I have a friend who really believes he's so libertarian. He thinks there should be private ownership of roads.
Well done.
He's yeah, it's Nicholas. And we debate that. He's not Dwight. Exactly. Yeah. My wife says she would just once like to meet a poor libertarian.
Yes.
You sure know how to make the best of a confusing and hopeless situation, but boy, this place is quite the enigma. Wouldn't you say? I would. And you know, a little warning would have been nice. You know, before they threw us headfirst into this gladiatorial, prisony place with its perilous medley of twisted stage productions that shred the silky fabric which weaves together the fragile blanket of sanity that keeps us sane. But you know, whatever. Either way, it's safe to say we're in quite a pickle jar here. We gotta rescue our friends and get back to Mr. Boat. I mean, they'd do the same for you. And adventuring just wouldn't be the same without, I don't know, this guy. Best chef in all the land. Food so stupid delicious, one taste would blow your face through the back of your head. Like bang, splat. And who can forget this quirky fellow? You know, he owns a bat farm back home, and his lifelong dream is to breed a terrifying race of super bats. None of which makes any sense, of course, because he's absolutely terrified of bats. This lovely lass always tells the best bedtime stories. Hands down. Gosh, she always smells like chocolate, so that's good. And then there's this guy, and this handsome fellow, and that thing. All your best friends in prison. And they don't like you very much because he's bad and horrible. And then there's Hattie, the best friend of all. Why did he stab us in the back and twist the blade? I mean, just this morning he gave everybody flowers and presents, and now he goes out of his way to hurt our feelings? Oh, I think not. You can't fool me. Hattie would never betray us. Never! Something fishy's going on here, and I think I don't like it right now at all. It must have something to do with that scary, albeit fashionable hat. Or looks evil. I mean, it's glowing red and stuff. Glowing red stuff is always bad. Everybody knows that. So what dangerous treats lie in store as we continue to unravel this treacherous sweater? I don't know. Use caution as you continue your gallant endeavor. Don't like fail and die and stuff, because it's all up to you now. Why did do that?
The pharmaceutical companies
scary.
killing me by shoddy manufacturing practices.
Yes.
So I think that's right. We get together and, as a free society, and we do these things. We want a non-corrupt judiciary, right?
Yes.
We don't want people to be able to bribe judges.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are certain foundational elements of our civilization, of our society, which are crucial to our well-being, and one of them is the capacity to openly debate ideas and to expose ourselves to ideas across the gamut. And I'm not just talking about political ideas, I'm talking about scientific ideas.
Yes.
So how are we going to win the battle against anti-vaxxers? Like, how are we going to persuade the United States? There's a reason for that.
Yes.
And that's a good reason, a good public health reason.
Yeah, because people who want to sell their blood are usually fucked up.
Correct. And so it's not as safe. The blood supply is safer in countries where you...
Voluntarily.
Are altruistically doing it.
Yes.
Exactly. But the kidney is a harder case. Anyway, he believes that. Anyways, I love debating him, and I learned from him. Like, recently he said to me, and I think I have a better answer. He said he doesn't understand why blackmail is illegal.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But the point is...
Those anarchists and libertarians, all of them need their asses kicked.
Wait.
They really do. Settle
These are
down.
far, exactly. But the thing, exactly. These are like infinite extreme ideology. But the point is, we can learn. There is some ism almost anywhere, right?
Yes.
And the problem comes from excess expression. You know, the problem comes from, the problem comes, when we take things to extremes and we get to, private ownership of roads.
Yes.
Anyway.
And by the way, if you're an anarchist or a libertarian, I'm kidding. I don't really think you get your ass kicked. I'm just joking around. But it is
We have a mob after you.
it's a position that I always feel like could be remedied with psychedelic drugs.
It could be,
I
yes.
really feel like it almost always could be. Like, I get where they're coming from. I understand personal responsibility, the idea that the free market should decide. I get all that. But we already accept that there's some things that we agree on that we should all chip in to pay for.
Yeah,
like roads.
Yeah, or like assessments.
Utilities.
Or like assessment of drug purity, for example.
Sure.
So the very rich could set up a laboratory in their basement, so whenever a doctor prescribes medication, they can see if the drugs are safe and pure.
Yes.
The rest of us pay taxes. And we
Yes.
say we're all going to pitch in together, and we're going to have the FDA, and they are going to certify drug purity, so that when I go to my pharmacist and buy a drug, the pharmaceutical company isn't killing me by shoddy manufacturing practices.
Yes.
So I think that's right. We get together and, as a free society, and we do these things. We want a non-corrupt judiciary, right?
Yes.
We don't want people to be able to bribe judges.
Sure.
That's happening.
Yeah.
So there are certain foundational elements of our civilization, of our society,
The
that are
fuck?
crucial to our well-being, and one of them is the capacity to openly debate ideas and to expose ourselves to ideas across the gamut. And I'm not just talking about political ideas, I'm talking about scientific ideas.
Yes.
So how are we going to win the battle against anti-vaxxers? Like, how are we going to persuade people who believe that vaccines kill people for which there's no scientific evidence?
Oh my
We
god.
could imprison them, like that's force. We could vote, which is sort of what we're doing. We're saying, okay, well, you're a minority group who believes these things, so we're not going to allow you to control policy. Or we could try to win the battle of ideas and persuade them. Ultimately, that's the only path that's, in my view, that gets us to where we want to be.
Yeah, and just an honest assessment of the actual data, like what we really know, and understanding how these scientists come to these conclusions. The problem is these echo chambers, people get involved online that magnify all of these beliefs, and you get radicalized. I mean, I've seen
Also
it.
true.
People get involved in these Facebook groups, these anti-vax Facebook groups, or all sorts of different things. I mean, that's how these flat Earth people get going.
Yes.
They start listening only to people that are involved in this circle. They don't have a greater understanding of the science involved in
Did you just see, I just online there's a cruise to the flat earth earth on the side.
the ice wall.
Yeah, the ice wall. That's a new wrinkle, because the old flat earthers used to think that the water was shown falling off the disk of the earth, like the edge of the earth, it was just a disk. Now, the new theory that there's an ice wall, actually, it's kind of not falsifiable. That is to say, you could get on a cruise and sail to the edge of the earth, and you would find a wall of ice there, so Antarctica. So they caught. It's flat. In other words, they have redefined their theory to make it so that you can't disprove it, right? You don't get to an edge. There's an ice wall, is what they're saying.
I'm burned.
You're aware of hashtag space is fake?
No, I'm not. I have to say, I'm not exposed myself to that.
Check
But
it
yes.
out. Space. There's a bunch of people that believe that space is fake.
Okay.
That it's not real. That there's no real space, and that there's like lights up there, and that this is some sort of a plan by Satan. It's a lot of it's very biblical. It's really interesting. A lot of flat Earth stuff is very biblical. It has to do with the firmament, and they use descriptions and depictions from the Bible. Yeah, it's super bizarre. And what's really bizarre is when you listen to the YouTube videos or these discussions that are done by people that use words that are real, they string them together correctly. They have like full sentences. They appear to be articulate. It's very confusing if you're a dummy. If you listen to those, you go, wow, this doesn't make a lot of sense. He's not.
Oh my
but it sounds like
Christ.
it's making a lot of sense because he's using all these words that are correctly used. There's no ums. He's saying it articulately. There's like everything seems like oh my goodness, this man's exposing. He's exposing the reality, but it's not. It's just fucking nonsense. And if you don't know any better, and that's all you listen to, that's where your head will go. The same with the anti-vax movement. If you only listen to these anti-vaxxers, they're making so much sense. Like, oh my God, it's giving everybody all sorts of ailments.
Yes,
that are on the spectrum.
and they have a theory of how it does that, which is not, it uses, as you say, scientific words, but it's actually not scientifically correct.
Right.
You know, it does this, which then does that, which then does that. They lay out a kind of causal chain, which is false.
And then there's a problem of nuance and perspective because there's so many people to get vaccinated. There's hundreds of millions of people in this country, billions of people worldwide. And then there are instances, rare occurrences, where people have real issues with vaccinations.
Well, there are some where they have real issues. So, for example, there's some vaccines which are known to cause certain neurological conditions. Rare, 1 out of a million or 1 out of 100,000 vaccinations. More commonly is a situation in which you have vaccination is so common that everyone is being vaccinated, and often that occurs near to an occurrence of some other rare condition, so people associate the two. They think, oh, because of vaccine, it's happened. No, it's a coincidence.
Either or, yes, there's both. And there's also, you know, if it's 1 out of a million, you have 300 million people. The 3 million, you know, I mean, 1 million people with an issue is a big deal, right? With 300 million people, you easily could have 300 really big cases. You know, 300 cases where people died from vaccines, and then you bring those in front of people and say, oh my God, and then there's this one, and this one, and this one, and there's 298 more, and you're like, holy shit, all these people are dying from vaccines? You know, it doesn't feel good if it's your child, but when you look at the great perspective of humanity, and you say, well, listen, you don't want a child to get measles. Babies can get measles when they can't even be vaccinated for it. This is one of the reasons why we need to vaccinate children, to make sure they don't get measles. It's a serious fucking problem, and a serious problem that scientists have labored for untold decades to try to
drive for civilization that we can actually stop these diseases. Yes, and save children's lives.
I had a woman yesterday who is an expert, and she's a medical historian, an expert in Victorian-era surgery, Lindsay Fitzharris, and she wrote this great book called The Butchering Art. And in it, there's all these images. One of them she brought up of what smallpox actually looks like when people get it. It's horrible. It just covers people's bodies. We've eradicated it.
What?
People and die from it.
It's actually gone. We don't get it anymore in this country. It's fucking incredible. I mean, it's incredible. But that's obviously neither here nor there. So, this book, Blueprint: The Evolutionary Origins of a Good Society. When did you start this?
About 9 or 10 years ago. And at the time in my lab, we were doing research on friendship. We were doing research on why people have friends. It's not difficult to provide an account for why we have sex with each other. Many animals, most animals, well, I don't know if it's most, but animals either reproduce sexually or asexually, and most animals, I can't remember now, but the relative proportions. Anyway, I'm going to say most animals reproduce sexually, and it's not hard to provide an account for how, for why why sex originated, why we reproduce sexually. It's not hard to provide an account for why we are choosy in our mates, for why we are careful of who we have sex with. But human beings don't just mate with each other, we befriend each other. We form long-term, non-reproductive unions that other individuals can monopolize. Why? That's very rare in the animal kingdom. Very few creatures do this. We do it, certain other primates, elephants, certain whales, and that's mostly it. So the question is why? So I became very interested in my lab in trying to understand the deep origins of friendship. Why would natural selection have equipped us with this capacity? And that sets the stage then for exploring all kinds of other things in our lives, like why we love each other. Why do we when we have sex with a person, we tend to become attached to them, we develop emotional sentiment about them. That's not essential to having sex, that we do that. And then I became interested in other kinds of good things, like not just love and friendship, but cooperation. And teaching is another crazy thing. We take it for granted that we teach each other. But think about this. Most animals are able to learn. So a little fish in the ocean learns that if it swims to the light, finds more food there. So the fish then learns to be tropic, to move towards the light. That's individual learning. Some animals develop what's called social learning. Social learning is really efficient. So I put my hand in the fire, I learned that I burned myself, I pull my hand out, I learned something. I paid a price and I learned something. I could observe you put your hand in the fire. You pay all the price. I gain most of the knowledge. It's almost as though you should put your hand in the fire. So social learning is super efficient, learning from others. But we take it to an even further level. We don't just passively observe other animals of our own species and learn from them. We teach each other. That is very rare in the animal kingdom, where one animal sets out to teach another animal something. So the book is about the evolutionary origins of good society. It's also a kind of response, a kind of pushback to a long tradition in the sciences of attention to the bad parts of our nature. You know, scientists, in my view, have for too long been looking at the origins of murder and tribalism and selfishness and mendacity. But I think the bright side has been denied the attention it deserves, because we have also evolved to love and to befriend each other and to be kind to each other, to cooperate, to teach each other all these good things. And shut up. And please don't. I know. And here's the thing. Here's the sort of one way to think about this. This must have been the case that the benefits of a connected life outweigh the costs. We would not be living socially if my exposure to you harmed me unmet. In other words, if I came near you and you were violent, you killed me, or you gave me misinformation, or you lies about the world, then my connection to you would ultimately harm you. That I should be better off living as an isolated animal. So animals that come together to live socially, the benefits of that must outweigh the costs. Us living as a group. So all this attention to the ways in which our interactions are bad, that we kill each other, that we steal from each other, that we lie to each other, that we have tribalism, all these things, which we do. Every century is replete with wars. I'm not like Pangloss. I don't think like Pollyanna, like, oh, everything's great. That's not me. But what is neat is a kind of optimistic focus on the good parts of our human nature, and the recognition that those good parts must in toto overwhelm the bad ones.
Well, there certainly have to. There's so many human beings. It's obvious that this is working.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we are propagated. We're everywhere on every single patch of land that's occupied.
In fact, you're exactly right. The argument, and that's discussed in the book, the way we have achieved kind of social conquest of the earth, the way our species has spread out to every niche, which is also very rare. Most animals live in one. Grizzlies live in this part of the world. We don't live in Amazonia, and polar bears live in this part of the world. They don't live in Arizona, etc. But our species lives everywhere, and the way we come to be able to do that is by the capacity of culture to learn from each other, to accumulate knowledge. So in the book, I talk about lots of this. A famous set of stories called the Lost European Explorer Files, about how European explorers are lost, they lose their supplies, they wind up dying, and but they're in an environment in which other people thrive and survive because they have learned how to live there. So we've spread out around the world. And then there's a chapter in the book at the beginning about shipwrecks. So I have this. Should I go on? Sure. Yeah. So I have this. So what I'd like to do is, what I try to set out to do at the beginning of the book is, I say, it's clear that our genes shape the structure and function of our bodies. It is increasingly clear that our genes also shape the structure and function of our minds, our behaviors, whether you're risk averse, how intelligent you are, whether you have wanderlust. These properties are properties that depend in part on your genes. But it's also clear to me, and that's what the book argues, is that our genes shape not just the structure and function of our body, not just the structure and function of our minds, but also the structure and function of our societies. And to really prove that, what we would need is something known as the forbidden experiment. And the forbidden experiment is an experiment in which we took a group of babies who had never been taught anything, who were acultural and no culture, and stranded them on an island, and left them on their own to see what kind of society they would make when they grew up, and how they would organize themselves socially. It is a kind of an innate society that are pre-wired to make. Obviously that's unethical and cruel, but actually monarchs for thousands of years contemplated this experiment. So Herodotus writes it about how one of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs wanted to know what kind of language what was the natural language we had in us that we would speak if we were not taught the language. So this pharaoh, it is said, took two babies and gave them to a mute shepherd to raise to see how did the children speak when they grew up. And Emperor Akbar attempted this. There was a couple of European kings that attempted this. Obviously, we can't actually do this. So what I'm doing in the book is I look at a series of other approximations.
Golden
Horde.
Horde.
Looking at shipwrecks, groups of men typically, but sometimes men and women, who between 1500 and 1900, there were 9,000 shipwrecks. Many more thousands of ships were lost at sea. And in 20 of those cases, we found 20 cases where at least 19 people were stranded for at least 2 months. And here's a kind of here's a map of the here's a map of the shipwrecks. These are the all over the world.
So enable hex for this and keep that value at byte. And now look for 09. Now if you're in a co-op, it's going to be 0A. So now we move it away from the spot it was in, which is like right here. And then change your search to 0. There's going to be a lot of changing values, so just spam that a little bit. Then if we drop this back down, you can see there's one changing right there.
Finally, someone made it. Careful, isn't it? Performers aren't cheap. Can I have that one?
Realize our best virtues. We allow people to come, but the Irish and treat them as second-class citizens, or the Italians or the Greeks even. We don't always do that. But the idea that you're putting on the table, which I think is correct, is that you can be an American. This is a special, unusual experiment. You can't reinvent yourself quite that way, and to my knowledge, in any other colony or country.
It's why it's one of the weirdest things that this is a country where anti-immigrant sentiments are running rampant. Yes. When the entire foundation of the country is based on immigration.
Yes.
That's the only way people got here if you're not a Native American.
Yes, it was taken from the Native Americans, and everyone since then is an immigrant or descendant of an immigrant. That's
And even the Native Americans
They came
from
20,000,
somewhere
yes.
else.
Yep, they had a
the
whole
whole
right.
thing is crazy.
Yes.
The whole thing's crazy.
Yes.
It's just the usual thing is the most recent incarnation of the country.
Yes, I think that's right. And I think there are, this ties into the whole set of ideas about American exceptionalism. How different are we? What is the source of our wealth? What is the height of our civilization?
And if you're a libertarian friend and someone who there's room for all these weird opinions.
Yes.
They might not be correct, and they will all be represented as just gigantic soup of human beings. That's 300+ million.
Yes.
It's just the idea that America is like white nationalists in Charlottesville. This is wrong with America. No, it's wrong with America. It's volume. You're going to have certain ridiculous ideas, awful ideas that are amplified in this volume, this incredible mass of humans.
Yes, I think that's right. I think our size contributes to or makes a kind of heterogeneity of ideas more easy. If we were a tiny country, although even in small democracies, like you go to European countries that are tiny, Spain, for example, it's tiny, but it's compared to us. There's a lot of different beliefs from far left to far right. But I think the key aspect you were talking about earlier, which again you're highlighting, which I agree with, is that we want an environment in which people can, the ground rules are clear, so you can't, there's no physical contact allowed, right? So we draw a bright line distinction between words and deeds. So I completely reject the idea that words are violent. Yeah, totally. I totally reject that. And the different words for them, they're two different things. Totally different. So ground rules are, I can't touch you, but I can speak. Other ground rules are that we are committed to open expression. A good ground rule would be that we grant positive intent, we grant good intent. That's to say, I try to put pictures in the most favorable light. First, think about it. Is it what is he saying? What is he saying about that?
Yes.
Now, you may be an idiot, a person may be an idiot, they may be vile, they may be violent, they may be wrong, all of those are also possible, but that's not the first go-to. So anyway, if we set those ground rules, I believe strongly that in the marketplace of ideas, truth will out, and righteousness will out. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in fact, we do this benevolent dictator who comes down and tells us all what to think and do, but it's not the world I want.
Yeah, the benevolent dictator idea is, where does that come from? Is it just because that's really the only way that society is actually functioning for most of the
Well, I think people always fantasize, right? Plato talks about this. I mean, people look around and they think the situation's not so great. I really wish there was a strong man that would come down and fix it. It's very tempting.
This is the evolution towards Trump.
I think in some part, yes, Trumpism is a little bit about this fantasy that we will, that the way out is to have a kind of imposition from above, and I think that's very dangerous, actually. And this, you talked about earlier in college campuses, it's the same principle, right? Like the idea that Big Daddy is going to come down and tell us what to do and fix the situation, I think is undemocratic.
But Big Daddy has to follow the rules of these children. And this is part of the issue with the idea of words equal violence. I mean, this is not a well thought through idea. This is an idea that
words can lead to violence.
Sure.
Words can be painful.
Yes.
They can hurt your feelings. They can be unpleasant. All of that is true. But words are different than violence. They just are. And so I think we need to, as Don Haidt and Greg Lukianoff argue, we actually might want to create other reasons to draw the distinction between words and violence and to cultivate an appreciation for that distinction. And that is by allowing people to speak, we may actually reduce violence because we can identify who has these crazy ideas. Yeah. You know who? So if I believe that someone hates people like me, and I create an environment in which we allow him to say he hates people like me, I think it's horrible that he hates people like me. I'm not defending that he hates people like me, but we might now know who he is, right? And I still favor him. Yeah. So that's their argument that we kind of make that actually this is a potentially additional benefit of creating a free and open marketplace of ideas. Is we identify where the crazy is. If you're all these people who are talking about manufacturers, I'd like to know who are the people that hold these beliefs, because as a public health expert, and I was a hospice doctor for many years, and care patients for a long time in the military, and solutions, a lot of our projects around the world are public health projects. In order to be able to lead people to wisdom, you have to know where's the ignorance. Right. Well, if it's secret, you don't know it. Right. So that's another benefit of fostering this climate of open expression.
Yeah, and the solution to these bad ideas is for someone to come up and give a better idea.
Yes.
Someone to debate or to explain what's wrong with it, and to do it in a reasonable manner. When people start shouting and screaming and pulling fire alarms, like it's the idea of silencing people from speaking, and somehow this is going to help. This is also part of deplatforming.
Yes.
Where people call for deplatforming.
No, I think that's wrong.
Even based on just reasonable people with differing opinions.
No, it's wrong. It's crazy. There's a Patrick Peter, a gay rights activist in England who went to prison for his rights, was been imprisoned in foreign countries for defending gay rights, and he was deplatformed in England a couple of years ago. No, here's the problem with deplatforming. So first of all, it is totally right and appropriate to protest. So if someone is speaking something you don't want, I will strongly defend protest. Stand outside, yell and scream, hold banners up, whatever. You can't interfere with the right of the speaker to express themselves, first point. But even more important, the reason we don't want that is not so much because we're interested in the right of the speaker. It's because we're interested in the rights of the listeners. The people who want to listen to that person have a right to listen to that person in a free society. Yes. So when we prevent them, the harm we're causing is not that I'm silencing you. I'm interfering with the ability of all the people who want to hear you. Right. It's their rights that matter too. So if the deplatforming, it's not about, so-and-so was unable to speak at such and such a place. It's the fact that all the people that wanted to hear so-and-so were deprived of their opportunity to do so. So I think the answer to words we do not like, the answer to speech we do not like is more speech. Yes. It's not silencing.
Yeah, and there's also the obvious situation you put someone in, you know, when you do emphasize and you put them under duress, and the message changes. You make them more combative. And
Yes.
this has often been the argument for why Trump became president in the first place, that people were tired of the argument on the other side.
I mean, I'm not a political scientist, and I follow that literature a little bit. I think there's a strong argument that is one of the factors that contributed to Trump's success. Let's keep in mind, however, that the majority of Americans voted for Hillary Clinton.
The majority of Americans didn't vote.
Correct. But all the people who voted, yes, that's right, that's another whole problem. About 63 or so million, about 3 million more people voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for Donald Trump nationally. So I forgot what we were saying there.
We were talking about people wanting to silence people,
Oh, yeah, so
forcing
one of the
political
things-
correctness,
yeah.
and the rebounding of that is the reinforcing of someone who comes along like
Yes.
Trump, who's the polar opposite of that.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I think that that's another, that's sort of, it's a variant of the argument we were discussing earlier, which is that one of the advantages of creating a free and open society is that you allow, live and let live, and then you tend to you avoid creating kind of suppressed animosities, or you can't help avoid it.
Yeah, because this open communication is so critical, and it's also critical to have reasonable, polite conversation.
Yeah.
That people can oppose each other in their idea, but you should be able to express how and why you oppose that idea without it being this sort of personal
Yes.
vendetta.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, I think we have to accept that there will be people who will get angry. I mean, that's part of having an open society. And I think we need to accept
person.
Yes, I think we need to accept that some people, not everyone will engage in discourse the way you and I might want to engage in that discourse. But I do agree with you completely that ideally we would have a kind of civilized conversation that allowed us to learn and to grow. And I think ultimately that's what we've been saying is better for our society as well.
Well, I think we should acknowledge that people are going to be upset, but we should also applaud people for not being upset. I think there's a higher value to people being able to communicate reasonably.
Yes,
I don't think that that's reinforced enough, and I don't think that's appreciated enough.
I completely you disagree with me on that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this is something that we can do,
Yes.
and we can get better at it.
Well, I think it's like martial arts training. I think that self-discipline is not an easy thing, Joe. And like anything else worth doing in life, it's basically anything worth doing takes effort. It's tempting. It's a go-to strategy that many people have. So I think it's important to note that free speech is difficult. It's not an easy thing. It's a natural inclination to want to silence your opponents, but it's wrong. And it's harmful, and it's actually harmful to you to do that. So I think we need to have an educational system that cultivates that, and cultivates capacity to tolerate an idea that you don't like, to think about that idea, and then to respond to that idea. So I guess what I'm saying is it does require some training. It doesn't come naturally, unfortunately.
But it should be reinforced.
Yes.
And I think there's a way to do that. And there's a way to appreciate that. There's a way to call that out when you see it. It's just, I think the world needs more of it. And if we
need
can
to
figure out a
pop
way to
in
do that,
there.
we will find that our differences
6.
are not nearly as egregious. They're not nearly as
And
disgusting.
well,
as
pop in
Well,
there.
that's exactly what I
Or
would look at. That there's such,
act
when you go to a foreign
two.
country, initially you're overwhelmed by the food and
You will
smells
need
and
a
architecture and
level
things,
with
and
movable blocks, so you can really do any level that has
actually, once you get to know
movable
the people, you
blocks.
see that they're great human. They're like us. They love their partners.
And
they hang out with friends. They work
cats.
together to build a civilization and society. And they schools and they teach them. And they do all these basic
So
things
put
that are a
the
fundamental
blocks
part of our
somewhere.
humanity.
They're different foods, they're different art, they're different architecture. And, this is also possible too.
Yes.
People can live like this.
Yes, and you even begin to see why they live like that. Like initially, you go to Greece and you have resin-flavored wine, you have Vetsina, and you're wondering why would these crazy Greeks put pine resin in their really perfectly good white wine? And then after a while, you start saying, this is pretty good. This is not a crazy thing after all. It's acquired taste. Yes. The first time I had Scotch whiskey, I didn't know what I thought about it, and now I love whiskey. Right? It's an acquired taste. So the first time you drink something like that, you think, yes, they put pine resin in their white wine. They chill it. Should have brought you something else.
It's not an acquired taste.
What's not? Uso?
It's delicious.
Oh,
It's right out of the
piece of
it's
shit.
cold, It's just so
sweet.
good.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Well, it's anybody.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Some things are just good right out of the box.
They're just good.
Yes.
Kool-Aid is just good.
Yes.
I mean, I don't recommend you drink it all the time. It's full of sugar. It's terrible
Yeah.
for you. Damn, this stuff is
Yes.
good.
It's like fried foods,
Yeah.
Sure. Yummy.
A lot of them. Yeah, French fries.
Yes.
Come on, man. Salt, ketchup.
Yes,
like
come
that.
on.
How can I like that?
No, I'm not sure about what I should mention, but anyway, I love Popeye's fried chicken.
I do as well.
I love it so bad. It's awful. And my wife is unlikely to listen to this whole podcast, or I'll skip over this part so she doesn't hear this part. And my sister will be listening probably, and so she will laugh when she gets this part because whenever I see Popeyes, I just pull over and indulge myself. And then terrible.
Popeyes is good, but you know what? If you really want to indulge and you like chicken, Roscoe's.
Is that
Roscoe's
your LA habit? No.
I like putting it
Roscoe's chicken.
usually right here.
Oh, dude, I tried to go the other day with my family. Tried to go the other day with my family on Sunday. It was an hour and a half wait.
On the same plate?
Sunday.
Chicken and
Well,
waffles?
of course on the same plate.
For the sake of you being able to see what I'm doing.
It's a
waffles
family
with syrup on
tradition.
it, too?
Hell yeah, and butter.
So,
yeah, I mean,
and
cheese
leave it
fry,
right there.
Yes, perfectly.
Now,
This is
if
damn
you're playing
delicious.
so
You sound like
much
you're from another planet.
color,
I make maple syrup. I
this
live
is
in
gonna
Vermont,
be
and I make maple syrup. I plant my own trees.
zero
Wow,
nine,
what's
so
I have a, yeah, exactly.
You're giving people a hard time for waffles.
That's value.
Exactly.
Show them. girls
And now
alive.
look for
Get
0,
him out of here. Get him out of here.
Now,
That's not
if
even
you're
a
in a
girls
co-op,
don't.
it's
I saw.
going to be 0.
No. There's one colonel. It's
So,
Norman Tunnel.
now we move it
This is nonsense.
away
Look at that chicken
from
waffle.
spot.
That chicken, that waffles and chicken tastes like cat litter compared to Roscoe's.
Changes your search to 0. A lot of
Chicken waffles. It's not the greens too. Collard greens.
I like collard greens. Yeah, that's fine.
drop this back.
But that's a waste of maple syrup. Take it
See,
from
there's
maple
one
syrup.
change.
Chicken is good. I'm sure it's not.
You
I
could
get it.
keep
I love
scanning
it.
if
I've
you
been there.
want
It's great.
to, so-
Roscoe's.
Okay, I'll have a look.
Yeah, that's
It's way more than an hour and a half wait on a Sunday. How long are you in town for?
I'll be back though.
Hey, just shoot over there right after the
Take
show.
this one.
Go to one on
Now, if
Gower.
you lock into
Man,
right
good. All right, I'll try that.
Now,
So good. And it's also one of those places that
I
didn't
didn't
forever.
say
We used to get it. I found out about it from 1994.
One thing I need to tell you
when I was
is
doing news
with
radio
these, you have to
95-ish. I guess.
click
Have you been LA since you left
You should
Massachusetts?
have
No,
said
I went to New York for a couple years.
Say that now.
Okay, not wrong.
When I was
Anyways,
on news radio, they got it for like
lock this down, and you can do some pretty
what
interesting
is
stuff.
this? Waffles. That's-
We could
that's-
change it
that's-
to
When you're there, you smell it. It's damn.
golden hat, and this
Sorry,
will
waffles.
count if you do this
That's an
story.
incredible
We'll
thing. That's an incredible combination of items.
give your friends a couple too, you know?
Anyway, how do you get to that?
I don't know, that's how you maple syrup stores. No, oh, not going to, yes. Different countries have opened in your mind, so you so you were counteracting my resin-flavored white wine with
Yes.
the maple syrup.
Yes.
Fried chicken.
Well, I'm a giant fan of spicy food. I love spicy foods. I really enjoy Thailand. I really enjoy their style of cooking and their kind of
Yes.
food. And it's
Are you one of those people who eats those the Schofield units on the hot peppers? Like you know, like how hot you
No,
can
no,
you
I
just like
don't.
spicy stuff like hot.
I like habanero. I like
Yeah.
it's pretty spicy compared to the average person. But I have friends that put me to shame.
Yeah.
Like I have a buddy of mine from the Fear Factory, my friend Tom Hirschfeld. Shout out to Tom.
Yeah.
And I used to I ate chili with him. I couldn't fucking
up, right,
believe
yes.
how hard he could
Yes.
go. I mean, this is crazy.
Yes.
I think people just have a different inherent, like it's almost like built into their bodies.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. Some people are better able, like some are faster runners than others.
Yeah.
But it's also training. So you get to you slowly work your way up to being able to tolerate and like those really super hot peppers. I find it very unpleasant. I have a friend just like you who really is into it, like really seeks out the hotness.
Yeah.
I also think it's a little bit like addiction. Like you tolerate like as you get used to like the less hot stuff, now you need more and more stuff in order to get the same. It's not
Yeah.
high exactly. It's high, but
There's a little high to it. Some people say
yeah,
that.
I thought
We could
that's
change
survival
it to
on the y-axis and fraction of fetal children on the x-axis.
golden hat, and this will count if you do this story mode. You will get
Because boys
10
drive
gems.
you.
But wild versus which is again and again you compare these couplets, these pairs. You find that the domesticated version of the animals are much more classy, much more peaceful. They also tend to have fluffy ears, they have piebald fur. So guinea pigs and dogs and cows, all this splotchy black or brown fur. Why is that? They don't usually evolve in so and they come with compare human beings, but they had those animals were domesticated by humans. Like I deliberately allowed the reproduction of this member of the litter and not that member because this member was nicer. So across time we evolved a more domesticated version of the ancestral species.
Ah, fuck.
What a wonderful performance! Gems of 3 will set you free.
over the century, over the millennia, over millions of years, is that weaker individuals in our groups, when one individual became too autocratic, too violent, too powerful, they banded together and killed that guy. And so over time, we were killing the more violent members of our species, weeding out those people. And therefore, the gene pool changed across time, and we self-domesticated. We are more peaceful today than we would have been because we domesticated ourselves. And this is one of the arguments that's also made to help explain the origins of quickness, actually.
And no being cooperation, because it take a few good people to kill the bad person with money and everything.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Recreational sex does occur in bonobos, which is really weird, isn't it? Because they're so similar to regular chimps.
Yes, but they're not the same species. They also have homosexual sex. They use sex to make up. You know, so they're very licentious species. That's exactly right. And bonobos are felt to be a self-domesticated chimpanzee. So bonobos are to chimps as let's say dogs are to wolves. But there was the dogs we domesticated. The bonobos self-domesticated is the theory.
Do they know why or how?
Well, the theory is that they did it, like we were saying, by weeding out, killing the more aggressive members. What we know must have happened is that the nicer guys must have been able to have more offspring. So the gene pool changed over time because of the differential success of the nicer guys. Now, people have looked at this even in human societies. They've looked, for instance, there's a study I talk about in the book, of different pathways to reproductive success amongst the Tsimane, which is a group in Amazonia, and other societies are similar. So you can either be like big and strong, or you can be charismatic and have useful knowledge. In both ways, you have more children. So there are these competing ways in our species of enhancing your reproductive fitness.
Are you aware of Sapolsky's work with baboons? That's a fascinating case, right? Because they were studying baboons in Africa that would eat from human garbage, and a bunch of them got sick and died. And it turns out the most violent and ruthless of them got sick and died, and it changed the entire culture of the baboon tribe.
Well, I don't know that story.
Oh,
That's
it's a fascinating one.
interesting.
They started grooming each other, being kind to each other.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a good example. But there was an accidental.
Yes, it was an accidental, but it lasted for generations.
Yes.
And when he returned to study them, he found they were still this different kind of baboon tribe. Yeah. I'm doing a shitty job, I'm sure, of explaining it, but I love
think you have
I'm so fascinated by his work.
Yes, he's very impressive. And I know that now that you're reminding me, I'm a little familiar with that particular study. I didn't know that it started with garbage, however. But it was a coincidental extermination of the more violent members of the tree.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were removed from the gene pool.
And it changed the entire culture to the point that generations later, they were still using this more
Peaceful ways.
more kind.
Well, it just changed the culture. It may have changed the culture, but it appears we're arguing to change the gene pool. Right. It's like an evolutionary pressure that's been applied. So you have big dogs and small dogs. You don't allow the big ones to reproduce. You just reproduce the small ones.
Yes.
You just small dogs.
Well, I've had dogs my whole life, and one of the things that you do realize, right now I have a golden retriever.
We have a white lab now.
Yeah. And I've had a bunch of dogs. Mastiffs, and pit bulls, and German shepherds.
No small. We have a dachshund too. You don't have small dogs.
My oldest daughter has a tiny chihuahua. He's on. I just want you to just try this one. Just do this one thing. They'll try it for a couple of seconds and then give up and back to the girl style. Yeah. Like, what happened? Like, I didn't feel comfortable. That's the point. This is how you get better. We're just the opposite of that. He listens.
Really coachable, I guess you'd say.
He just understands the technique is everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
And if you understand, if you can learn like 2 or 3 techniques and have like a real high level proficiency, if you just continue to drill him and understand the counters. Like he's not like doing a lot of like crazy shit inside the octagon when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah.
But not Ben Askren type style.
Right.
But what he is doing is a power double. He's got awesome singles on both sides. He knows how to take people down. He knows how to stuff takedown.
Yeah.
Just those things alone. That's all he needed to impose his MMA game.
Yeah, George, to this day, one of my favorite fighters. But yeah, he was like stood out as the guy that like, yeah, I mean, just didn't wrestled better than everybody without having to do that earlier. I mean, guys like Ben Askren, who he's also hilarious, dude. I think Ben Askren's so funny. He's such a troll. I love a guy who just doesn't shy away from it. Yeah. Trolls his boss. Trolls still continues to this day. Just makes a game out of it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a funny dude. What George St. Pierre has is extreme physical ability. Like, he can do backflips. He does a lot of fucking gymnastic stuff. He has excellent command over his body.
Yeah,
technique aside,
you would see him like doing like those like gymnastic training things where he's like doing like super crazy like core strength balance beam type shit. And I mean at that point once you never can over the guys doing that. Other guys in the sport are sort of looking to it's another level of cross training and getting your body prepared for like something that it's not really prepared for. And putting yourself into your comfort zone. I really wish I would have when I was a kid. I wish I would have done more sports. I wish I would have had. But did you play sports when you were a kid? You were like a baseball player, Jack.
I did play baseball. And then I actually quit doing everything else but martial arts because of baseball. I went to see a Red Sox game at Fenway Park. When me and my buddy were coming home, there was like crazy crowds of people trying to get on the tee, which is the train to get home. So while we were walking by this Taekwondo gym, I walked upstairs and wanted to see what it was all about. And as I was walking upstairs, there was this guy named John Lee, who was a national champion at the time and one of the best black belts this guy Ken ever produced. And he was murdering his head guy. I mean, murdering. Yeah. He was hitting it with these spinning back kicks that was making the sound like whoop, and then he hit chink with the chains would snap. Because extend to full length because he was kicking his back and flying through the air. And so I'd never seen anything, and that was as close to him doing that as Jamie is to me right now. Because there was like a little wall, and there was a heavy back there. And the way Mr. Kim and Mr. O'Malley, Michael O'Malley, who's also the head instructor on Mr. Kim was on, they set up the bags right there because they knew that if people were coming and thinking about signing up, and a guy like John B. taking the bag, you're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you do that?
Were you athletic at all?
I wrestled. I wrestled also while I was doing taekwondo for 1 year. It was too much to do two at the same time. But I played baseball, but I wasn't very good. I never ever tried to get on base. I always tried to get home run. The coach said, just hit strangle, we really need this. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I got there and swing for the bleachers. I didn't give a fuck, man. I either struck out or
trying to finger bang a chick at the pep rally.
Yeah. Listen, I hit one home run once, and that was it. I was like, oh, I can do that? Like, I didn't know I could do that. Because as a little kid, I could swing pretty hard. And, you know, they're light bats, and the kids aren't throwing very fast. Everybody else is 13, too. You know, but from going to that one taekwondo gym, watching that one guy, he became like a mentor to me in a lot of ways.
And you went back to that gym specifically. That was the one.
100%. I was like, I never saw anything like that. I'd done a little bit of martial arts by then. I did a little bit of karate, but not much. But I never saw anybody kick a bag. The karate school that I went to, they didn't emphasize that, which it's a very, very important part of developing power. You have to be able to kick a bag.
I don't think there was any bags in the taekwondo school that I went to when I was a kid.
It's a foolish mistake that a lot of gyms make. They emphasize speed and like kicking pads over power. You have to have
the
power.
board. Or just break some ice.
You gotta hit a bag. You gotta hit a bag because the bag resists. If it's 100 pounds, you gotta realize that you're not just hitting this thing. You're also pushing 100 pounds with your foot. You're pushing 100 pounds with your foot. So if you're standing in front of a 100-pound bag, bam! You're not just hitting it hard. You're moving 100 pounds with your hips and your legs and your abs and your core. That's how you go. Yes.
Yeah, you're actually getting a real.
It's a plyo. There's actual physical resistance in terms of weight, and that's how you get stronger. It's the only way. The only way you really develop like destruction power, like that some people.
Can you do that though? Because that's the whole thing where because I was researching like how do you hit harder?
You can't hit hard. You can't hit as hard as some people.
Do you think that you could teach a guy to have knockout power?
No. You either have it or you don't. I think you can increase someone's power, and most people can knock people out. Most people. If you taught them where to hit someone, they hit someone clean, they could hurt someone. Especially most men who actually know how to punch a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between that kind of punching power and say like a Tommy Hearns in his prime punching power, or a Lennox Lewis straight right hand. Like this, you don't have that, man.
No.
You either have that or you don't have that. And some people I saw guys that were like fucking 15, they had that. It was crazy. You'd watch guys that like at a young age they'd hit a pad or hit a bag, and you'd be like, fuck, this is crazy. Like how do you have so much power?
Yeah.
And you don't know why.
You don't know the strength. They could be any. Well, actually, we ADD'd that story, but I was saying when we did that promotion in the street in New York City where we had gear on gloves, a little Mexican kid comes up. Doggy, this kid was 123 pounds soaking wet. Little Mexican kid comes up, and I'm like, I'm my size. I'm 20 at the time, maybe 21 or whatever. But I'm just like, no. By the way, I had never thrown a punch in my life. Now that I actually watch fighting and understand it a little bit as a fan, like I didn't have to stand. I had no idea. Dude, this Mexican kid, he came up, he just faked the body shot and hit me with a hook. And I remember it felt like, because there was no adrenaline. It was a game for me. It wasn't like, it felt like my head was shook. It felt like my entire, I'd never been hit so hard. To this day, I've never been hit so hard in my entire life, dude. I took a knee. I literally took a knee, and that's all I remember. I don't even know what happened after that. That kid just went off being awesome. And then I remember thinking, I was like, I want to box. I want to get into boxing. It'll be fun. And that was the moment I'm not going to box. I'm too big. The way that kid hurt me, the way that felt, no fucking way. No way. If a 230-pound guy were to hit me like...
Especially if you went to the wrong gym and they had you sparring the right way, which a lot of gyms do. They'll throw guys to the wolves just to see if they're worth keeping around. They'll try you. Like right out of the street, they'll show you a few punches, have you hit the pads a little bit, tell you to keep your hands up, and then have you spar. I've seen it happen, man.
Sure.
Like, no, just to let you know. And sometimes, you'll be sparring with a pro, so they won't hurt you. They'll just pop you a little bit, pop to the body, pop. Just trying to get some work in. Just looking for an easy target.
So I took my girlfriend in the box. Just looking,
just touch.
Just touch her. Let her know. Let her know. Hey, it could be worse.
Boxing is the problem with it as a casual thing though is the punches that don't even hurt you. They just rattle your head a little. Those all count. All those count. Those are probably sometimes worse.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of them you don't even notice. If you get hit with one big shot, you'll stop. Like your head gets rattled, you get a headache, you sit down, oh fuck. But you'll stop. If you get hit a few times, you treat it like it's nothing. You just get popped a few times, you're in there, you get hit.
30 seconds later, you got a bloody nose, your lips bleeding a little now, you got snow over your eye.
You don't think about it, but you got hit in the head 30 times. Like you never got dropped, so you're like, I'm fine, I didn't take any damage, but you did. You don't think of that as damage. And now they're understanding that is as much of what you're seeing from CTE is that subconcussive trauma, probably more so because it's so frequent.
Yeah, well, over and over again.
Yeah, man. They say everything, man. Dr. Mark Gordon said fucking jet skis. He said the bang of jet skis. And Muhammad Wade, he's like, that's terrible for your fucking head. But how about Angus Young from AC/DC? I'd like to do an IQ test on that fucking savage.
Banging his head and
I'd like to do an MRI, see like how maybe the fibers of his brain strengthened from 100 years of headbanging.
Maybe. I used to go to like metal concerts and go to mosh pits. I was like a big metalhead when I was a kid, and we were just fucking.
Yeah, you get brain damage.
Just go in there and just swing your hands, get punched, and you're right. You don't think about the amount of just headbanging.
Yeah.
Just banging your head over and over again. Your brain is just smacking into the front of your fucking face over and over and over again.
Angus would on stage play and headbang at the same time.
Yeah.
Like try rubbing the top of your head and your stomach at the same time. You know how you do that?
Yeah.
Now imagine patting your head, and imagine trying to play guitar and headbang at the same time, and then catch all the tunes.
I was in a band when I was in high school, so I played drums. That was we all want to be rock stars. Did you want to be a rock star when you were a kid, or?
Nope.
Nope. You never played no music?
No musical talent whatsoever. Look at all these groupie chicks from the 70s. Hilarious. Look at them.
So
Why don't we
Young,
hear any Me Too stories about, like, even though we're talking about 30 seconds ago, how are we not hearing, like, crazy Me Too stories about shit with, like, rock bands in the 80s and 70s?
I think because everybody knew what they were getting into.
I think they knew they were getting into a lot of times now. But it's just, you think that at least somebody would want to come out and go, like, oh, just so you know, Guns N' Roses ran a train on me in 1987. FYI. And I was really intoxicated.
Maybe it's a different time. Like those ladies had a different approach to things. I don't know.
Look, they were there for the memory. I think the reality is most people, they sort of go like, all right, well, I am responsible for my actions. That's where most people, I don't think most people actually have a victim mentality when they look at stupid shit that they've done in their youth. I think most people go like, I was a fucking idiot. I shouldn't have done that. Well, shit I shouldn't have done.
There's both things, right? There's some people don't have a victim mentality. And then there's also some people who just became victims back then. And they just didn't have a way to express it like they do now.
Yeah.
It's a different, like, it was a completely different world 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. How would you even start to get the message out that you were Me Too in 1981?
Yeah.
I mean, write a letter to a publicist?
What would you do if someone sexually assaulted you in 1981? What would you do? I mean,
go to the cops?
Yeah, you have to go to the
call a
cops.
newspaper, maybe?
They would, you know, if the guy was a rich guy, turn his lawyers on you. Yeah, different world. I mean, I'm not of the Steven Pinker view of progress, but I think that although the world is not perfect, I think it's just way better than
it is way better.
Yeah.
It feels worse because we have the internet and you have access to your fingertips to the most vile shit.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like people are more racist because before you used to have to write the N-word on a bathroom stall. It was the only way to say, hey, here's the N-word. Hey, if YouTube, Reddit, group, whatever it is. And you can sort of get that instant reaction. You gotta go back the next day and there's another guy that drew an arrow to that and was like, yeah, but what about the Jews? And then he kept going down. But now you sort of have that instantly at your fingertips. So it feels like, oh my God, the world's crumbling, everyone's racist, everyone's sexist, but everyone's got an opinion online. And once you get off there, you know, we all coexist. We all work together. We're all doing shit, you know?
People certainly can. Yeah, I mean, people, there's a lot of this nonsense, like, energy on social media where people are just arguing about things all day long, insulting people all day long, and that shit is so bad for your head. To engage in that all day, it feels way better to not engage. It feels way better.
Every time I travel. Anytime, if you see me on Twitter talking shit back and forth, I'm on an airplane board. And I did it yesterday. I won't even name the guy that's a blogger. He didn't even watch my special. This cocksucker just took shots at me because he doesn't like me. And I was just engaging back and forth over and over again. And it's because I'm bored.
Did you feel gross though after it was over?
No, because I just deleted it. I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I said what I had to say. But I also, I don't know, like, there's part of me as well, like, I've gotten, you know, you get so much shit eventually, you sort of get desensitized to it so that you don't really, I mean, you're fucking famous. You get critics, like real critics. Like, your special's been reviewed by real people. I'm sure some people didn't like it. I'm sure. You had to have a bad fucking critic out there. But at this point, you're like, oh, who gives a fuck?
I just think overall, in general, it's better to be who gives a fuck. Because I think there's criticism that's valid that you understand. Like you should be able to know whether you fucked up or whether something was good or not. You should be able to look at it and go, oh, that wasn't my best work, and be honest about that. But then once you're honest about that and you do your best work, like you like it or you don't. The idea that everybody's gonna like it is crazy because people just don't like the same things.
Everybody likes what you're doing. It fucking stinks.
There's someone out there listening to Fleetwood Mac 24/7. Okay, they never heard a fucking Tupac song. There's no Biggie in their car. They never listen to Nas. It is fucking Tusk all day long, every day. That's okay. That's okay too, man. You know, if you're really into Fleetwood Mac and someone tries playing, you know, some Led Zeppelin, and you're not into it and you get angry. Okay, that's not your fault. It's just like, that's not what you're into.
Yeah.
If someone comes to see you and they go, oh, this guy's just not for me. But then some 25-year-old guy is like, I love it. Well, he's not wrong.
No.
Everybody has a different opinion.
He's right, actually, Joe. That guy gets it.
He gets it, man. It gets you.
If you go to a comedy club in general, and if you vocalize that you do not enjoy the show in any way, I sort of look at you as an asshole.
I don't need to do that because you can have an opinion. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, but for you to say that your opinion is more important than the whole show is crazy.
Yes.
Because that's what you're doing. You're either doing one of two things. Either your ego is so inflated you think you're going to correct this person and you're going to stop their jokes in its tracks and they're going to realize the error of their ways and it's going to make them a better person. And you're going to also educate this entire crowd that's been laughing at this awful stuff. That's a foolhardy way of looking at it.
It's not going to happen. Also, if you don't really comedy work, you realize you just pissed off the comic because I was going, fuck, dude, I'm working on this bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying now. I have a new way of wording this tonight, and now I want to do it a certain way, and you just want to fuck that up, you asshole. And maybe I'm going to get there. Maybe I'm going to get to a place where you actually enjoyed the joke, you dickhead, but you ruined it now.
Well, the thing is, people see every time you're on stage, they see you as this is a finished product you're presenting. What they don't understand is, and I'm hoping people get it more now than they ever did before, but some people still don't get it, is that the way we work stuff out is by trying it on stage, and sometimes we take chances. And sometimes those chances come out terrible. And it's not that we're a bad person. We're trying to figure out the right combination of things, and sometimes you try to do it in the moment.
And the best shit that everybody really likes were people who are taking risks. There's all the greats you're talking about, when people look at the top 10 list of comedians, these are people who took some chances.
Risk takers, 100%.
You didn't have a cell phone to watch what they were doing in the club, and the night the joke bombed, where whoever's talking about, Richard Pryor talking about smoking crack, he had nights where that joke bombed.
Yeah.
And nobody's laughing, and there's somebody that went, you know what, my dad's addicted to crack, that really bothers me. But no, it just was different times, so nobody had the outlet to sort of express that. I think that, Patrice O'Neal, in my opinion, greatest comedian to ever live, also a Boston guy, and he talked about it when I think he was defending, it was either Kramer or radio guys. Don Imus.
Was it Don Imus? The nappy-headed hose comment?
Yeah. And he was just talking about how, the joke.
Yeah.
And jokes, whether they're good or bad, they all come from the same place. Yes. This idea, and I'm like, well, I want to, this is something funny, and I'm going to go turn it into something that's going to hopefully make people laugh. The end result is very much a net positive, a room of people laughing.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes you take that chance and it bombs and it hits people the wrong way. And you're like, oh, I fucked up. I said it wrong. I didn't do it right. But it's wrong. It's not wrong. Isn't the right word.
But the problem is we're trying it out with the people. You need the audience to help create the bit.
Yes.
They're in the process. They don't think of themselves
understand it
more. They don't understand it. And so, like, I mean, you don't have to laugh. Like, I know it's not funny if it comes out wrong. But if you get mad at someone for something that's not done yet, or you know, there are points in time where someone can say something that's so egregiously incorrect that at the very least you want to leave the room. I get that. Like, I mean, I've seen people say things on stage.
It's really hard to leave a room for anything. There's not many
I was bored.
subjects.
I thought I was stupid. If it was insulting to my intelligence, if I was frustrated listening to this idiot talk on stage, I would leave the room.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with leaving the room. But there's a big difference in leaving the room and yelling out, "Hey man, what you're saying is not funny. This is not funny. I don't care what these fucking people are laughing.
Yeah.
This shit's not funny. You should stop talking about it." That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Like, you're not in a fucking court where someone's reading affidavits, stupid. This is someone trying to make funny out of life.
Yeah.
It either works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, that's okay. I'll figure it out, or I won't figure it out. Either way, this is just the process. You yelling out something, you know, throwing up your flag of virtue in front of everyone. It's just preposterous. It's like you don't get to do that at a comedy club, and it's right that they kick you out. It's just a stupid way to handle it. And then when guys are like, "I'm helping the show,"
oh my God,
that is the ultimate stupid. No, just because everyone's laughing now because I'm roasting you doesn't mean you're helping the show, stupid.
Yeah, it's usually I'll just have the audience turn on that person. All you have to do is point out to the fact that that's the secret sauce. It's comes to this, like, look, I don't even care, dude. You're making these people, you're making them mad. They're wasting their money. So, and then the audience will go, yeah, fuck this guy.
Well, some people think that they can do comedy, and so that's why they do it.
Like you said before, it's like you make it look easy. If you're a good comic, you're making it look like it's off the cuff. You're rolling with the punches.
Just talking.
You're just talking up there, and then some other guy who maybe is very funny, might be the funniest of his friends,
Yeah.
right? Which, to be honest with you, that's all you need to start doing comedy. He should maybe go sign up for an open mic. More power to him.
Exactly.
But he goes, oh shit, this is easy. He sees everyone laughing. You go, I remember when I was in high school, I would make everyone laugh. It was an awesome feeling. And then they take that shot. And once in a while, it works in their favor. You look like a real asshole. Have you read that happen where somebody says something hilarious and you're like, fuck, dude.
But you gotta be laughing at it. But then the problem is it encourages more people, and then people get drunk. And then as the night goes on, like some dummy holding out this idea, you can heckle you about something. It's got it in his head for like 10 minutes, and finally, blurts it out. You're like, what? You were holding on to that for all that time?
Yeah. It's a hard thing to make a group of people laugh at the exact same time. That are expecting a laugh. That is a very specific. It's also a weird thing. I think aliens saw us doing comedy, they just fucking blow up the comedy club. Like, this is crazy. This is like, I don't know what it is.
It would stop us from killing all the fish first. First thing they did. Hey, how many fish you guys gonna eat? God, there's no fish left. Dude, we keep going. I joke around about this all the time because it's one of the things that freaks me out more than anything about what people do on the planet.
What?
It's suck fish out of the ocean. Dude, I've watched countless hours of commercial fishing nets pulling gigantic hauls of fish into their boats.
Yeah.
And you're like, how many
souls?
do that?
How many souls are in that fucking net?
Fish.
I know. I don't think humans have souls. So
Fish don't even take care of the babies, man. Like one or two fish do. Some of them hold the babies in their mouth. The fish, they just shit out some eggs. The male comes over, jizzes on the eggs. It's like they have such a minimal connection because they know their time is short. Most likely they're not going to survive.
what's the lifespan of a fish if they make it?
It's a good question. But I'm sure it varies.
Yeah,
Sharks live a long time.
Whales live a long time.
Let's say a grouper, like a giant ass fish. How old is an old grouper? I want to say 30.
That old?
Crazy. Yeah, talk about that ocean fish. No, let's go with grouper because grouper is a gigantic ocean fish.
It could be 3 days or 30 years. There's such a differentiation what the answer could be. I have no idea. For me, I know
years. It's definitely years.
30 years.
Ooh, I nailed it. Ooh,
Phil wrote
proud of
it.
myself.
Holy shit.
Total guess. Total guess. Yeah, that makes sense though. Like a deer lives like, if everything goes perfect, a deer will live like 15 years and then get jacked by something.
Named Joe Rogan.
No, not that old.
Giant turtles have like
Almost immortal. Yeah, they don't even know how old those fuckers are. Yeah, they could get 1,000 years old, right? In this case. Really? Something crazy like that? Yeah. I think a giant turtle can live. We should probably do that.
I've tried to look up before. I don't think I don't know how you know. They
Right.
like fucking kill it.
Do you know what they used to do on boats, man? They used to fill the hull, like the bottom of the boat, with turtles. They take the turtles and they flip them on their back because they'll live down there for months on their back because they don't really have to eat all the time. That's how they'd use them for food. So they would have all these turtles.
Live turtles.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were
they
just
would eat them.
alive, so they weren't rotting. They couldn't do jack shit because they were on their backs. And so they would go down there and pick them up, and take a turtle and bring it upstairs and cook it.
Have you ever had turtle soup?
Yeah, I think I have. I said that, but I'm not saying that. Are you lying? I think I have. I think I had it once a long time ago. I can't remember.
I was gonna have it. I was in Florida, one of these like
Frog leg type
yeah,
ones.
it's like a place that's like the best.
You want to have alligator?
Yeah, and yeah, it's like alligator meat and like I tried alligator meat, tried frog legs. I don't eat exotic shit.
I've only tried alligator meat at like one of those TGI Friday type joints. You know, one of those like chain type. It was like deep fried, batter fried. And it
It's like
wasn't
chewy
that
chicken.
good.
Like chewy chicken.
But apparently, when they get it fresh, like if they shoot an alligator and then they take like, the back straps off it and they cook it correctly, it's delicious. Apparently.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, like, when you get it at a restaurant, unless it's like a legit restaurant, probably serving some frozen nonsense.
Frozen alligator. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Dude.
and how they take care of it before it's frozen? I mean, you ever see those swamp people shows where they have boats filled with fucking alligators? I don't think they're eating those, man. I think most of those they're just taking the skins off of them.
And selling it for the leather.
Yeah, that's what's really valuable.
Yeah, dude. I've no adventure in me. I watch you posting videos of you hunting and killing things and then eating it. It's like if you just go back to your Instagram 3 days in a row, it's like I can watch like an animal alive to being on your plate, and it's fucking. I mean, more power to you, dude. The whole thing. I'm I watch it in awe because I could never kill something. Even I
You definitely could kill something. Listen to me. You could kill something, and you definitely could if you wanted to feed your son. There's no doubt in my mind. If you had a gun and there was a deer and you were hungry,
You're starving, yes.
you don't even have to be starving. You just have to have not the best
I'm
prospects.
doing intermittent
for
fasting
food.
right now. It's like 11 a.m. I'll fucking...
What is this, Jamie? 46 grams protein in alligator. Is that a pound? 3 ounces. Holy shit. 3 ounces of alligator. 46 grams of protein. All you gainers out there. Well, of course, it's a goddamn murderous dinosaur.
Got no fat on it. It's just muscle and reptile skin.
They're monsters, man.
Terrifying. That story about that's the other thing about becoming a father that people don't tell you. Everything makes you terrified.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm supposed to work at Disney in July, and I'm like, it was the story of the alligator who grabbed a little kid and dragged him into the... on the property of Disney.
Yep.
And the father just watched his kid get eaten.
Dude, Florida, there's too many alligators. They can't keep track of them. So if you have a body of water and you're not standing
Way
there
to
24/7
bite the
with fucking
bullet so
spotlight and a rifle,
far. You don't even complain about the prison food.
That's some real shit,
Shocking,
man.
because
They'll
that
water, they'll
stuff
cross
tastes
that
like
grass, you
doodle
know they're there,
casserole
climb in that
with
water,
a
you know they're
side
there,
of butt
and they'll be
salad.
underwater for
But
hours,
best
2
of
hours,
all,
and
your
they'll pop their little
riveting
head up, you see the little kid,
performances
and
have the
goddamn, I'm
theater
hungry. That kid's
bursting
close
at
to
the
water. Let's grab
seams
him.
with excited patrons.
down.
And with all this extra cash you're raking in, the theater can afford some serious improvements and really start beefing up these horrifying shows with murdery death to appease the fickle crowd. So that's good. And what's the deal with Hattie? He just creepily looms around the theater all day. Not even looming. Seems like he's been forcefully forced to manage
We were
this
there
place.
like a
Well,
year
it
ago. And
looks
first of all,
that
if you have
way.
gone to Disneyland,
Just sort of
Disneyland
sits
has the
there,
dopest fucking ride in
just
history
as
world.
productive as
That
one
park.
can
Disney World,
be.
man's here.
Yep, living life to the fullest.
Disneyland will have the
Oh,
dopest
slow
ride.
down,
They have
buddy.
this, Falcon
Yes,
ride.
sir.
Those
Full of
are
salt and
totally
pep.
But the
Full of pea and
Avatar ride
vinegar.
at Disney World, Orlando,
Overflowing with
off the
youthful
chart.
energy.
It's
Say
crazy.
something, Hattie.
Oh my God.
Catch got your
This fucking
tongue?
ride,
It's like one of those it's like
You know, people
where you
really
see
seem to
crazy
be
shit
a
and
precious and
put
rare
on,
commodity in
helmet,
this
and helmet
strange
is a
part of
virtual
the
reality
world.
goggles, and it
Seems our
straps you
little
to this
boat
chair,
wreck was a
and this chair's
delicious
like- it
gift
looks like a
from the
motorcycle.
heaven
Yeah, and then you look
gods.
down and
And
you're
these
riding this
bizarre
dragon,
cats
and
are
that's it.
taking
And you
full
go
advantage of
full
us.
HD,
What
3D
cruel
environment,
fate
getting
let
better
them
and better
to
and
roam
shit.
the
I think
grounds of
Transformers
this
are from
scary
Universal.
old
That's
theater,
bad. That's a fun ride.
desperately
The
ruling
Transformers
these
was awesome.
bleak
Harry Potter ride was
premises
dope.
with an
Yeah,
iron
love Harry Potter ride.
paw. And just how long have they been
I think they
orchestrating
got rid of
this
it.
sinister
It was more money
scheme?
on the
I
ride
mean,
than it did
avert your eyes, children. Avert them. There's bony people skeletons everywhere.
No, that
Scary,
ride's
right?
impossible.
No, I'm no
That's impossible.
genius,
The fact-
but I
check that.
definitely
It's
know how
literally
long it
impossible.
takes
That
for a
ride is
body
so
to
old. If they
decompose.
use Chuck E.
This
Cheese
must have been
technology
going on
in
for
that
at
ride, it's
least,
fucking
wait,
animatronic.
scratch
They could
that
reskin it and it
thing
would be
I
a
said.
giant rat playing
So
drums.
do you possess the courage to soldier
drop is
onward
scary.
and
That's the
uncover
thing,
the
yeah, they would drop the
mysterious
my son's
mystery
5, so
behind this
he was
grim
terrified.
world?
Jurassic
Or
Park
will your
Adventure,
hilarious
$110
death
million.
screams be drowned out by the sound of your own hilarious death screams? We shall see.
Whoever
We
made that right now has
shall
a bottle of champagne in one hand, a Coke tray in the other, and they're living in the Bahamas and some shit just laughing about how they got $110 million to make the shitty ass ride.
Yeah.
And they're just living like a baller.
It's it is. It's a different.
And it straps you into this chair, and this chair's like it looks like a motorcycle.
On the property of Disney.
Yep.
Where
Yeah.
the father just watches his kid get eaten.
Dude, Florida, there's too many alligators. They can't keep track of them. So if you have a body of water and you're not standing there 24/7 with a fucking spotlight and a rifle, those cunts can sneak into that water. That's some real shit, man.
Yeah.
They'll sneak into that water. They'll cross that grass. You don't know they're there. They climb into that water. You don't know they're there. And they'll be underwater for an hour, 2 hours. And they'll pop their little head up. They see that little kid. And they're like, goddamn, I'm hungry. That kid's too close to the water. They'll just grab them. They don't have any qualms about that.
No.
They don't know what the fuck you are. They don't care what you are.
Yeah.
They have a brain the size of a goddamn walnut. And they've been alive in that form for who knows how many fucking millions of years.
And they just kill, eat,
That's all they
kill,
do.
eat.
They can go without food for a year, man.
Really?
95 alligators removed from Disney property in Orlando since toddler killed. 95!
That was just like in that last year. This was 2 years ago.
Dude,
They're to remove up to 400 alligators through April like it's a project, like they're building a fucking bridge.
bro, we were there like a year ago. And first of all, if you haven't gone to Disneyland, Disneyland has the dopest fucking ride in the history of the world. Like Avatar.
World is in Florida.
Oh,
Land's
World.
here, yeah.
Right. World, sorry. Disneyland will have the dopest ride when they have this Millennium Falcon ride that opens up. Supposedly it's insane. But the Avatar ride in Disney World in Orlando is off the charts.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It lets you know, like, oh my god, the future of these fucking rides.
It's like one of those like
Virtual reality.
Yeah, it's like where you see crazy shit and you're moving.
Yes, you put on this helmet, and the helmet is a virtual reality goggle, and it straps you into this chair. And this chair's like it looks like a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then you look down and you are riding this dragon.
And that's it.
And you go this full HD 3D environment. They keep getting better and better at
Yeah.
this shit.
I did the Transformers. I brought my kid to Universal
That's
last
not
year.
bad. That's a fun ride.
It was. The Transformers was awesome. Harry
Yeah.
Potter ride was dope.
Yeah.
Love the Harry
Jurassic
Potter ride.
Park's like, what in the fuck is that stupid fake
It
dinosaur?
was the last year. I think they got rid of it. It's the last
They
one.
spent more money on the ride than they did making the movie for Jurassic Park, and it wasn't that good of a ride.
Really?
Yeah, I read that recently.
Come on.
Like $100.
No,
That ride is whack.
Impossible. That's impossible.
But
That
that's
fact
old
check
as
that. That's literally impossible.
But that ride is so old.
They use Chuck E. Cheese technology in that ride. It's a fucking animatronic. They can reskin it and it would be a giant rat playing drums.
I know, it's like remotely scary. It's like, what is
Well, the
this?
drop is scary. That's the thing at the end. They do a drop at the end. You know, my son's 5, so he was terrified. But the Jurassic Park River Adventure, $110 million.
Oh my god, it remains the most expensive amusement park ride of all time and actually costs twice as much as Jurassic Park the movie.
I would guess more than $55 million.
Whoever made that right now has a bottle of champagne in one hand, a Coke tray in the other, and they're living in the Bahamas and some shit just laughing about how they got $110 million to make this shitty ass ride.
Yeah.
They're just living like a baller.
It's yeah, it is. It's different. I mean,
Like Jay-Z and Big Pimpin'. $110 million! The ride is worth $35.
if that was a county fair, I'd be like, all right.
Yes.
That would be the best
That's
ride
a
at a
big-
county fair.
Big ride. You see the dinosaur comes out, looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you never
Not
seen
bad.
a fucking dinosaur.
I got caught smoking weed at University. I had my girl bring my kid away, and I was outside of Jurassic Park. I didn't get called by the police, but I was outside of the Jurassic Park ride, and I was like, all right, bring me to go get a soda or whatever. I'm gonna sit here and smoke my vape pen. And there's like one of the handlers. They have a thing where they have a velociraptor. It's like a person in a costume, but it's an animatronic costume. And they're pretending to be like a velociraptor, and the trainer's like trying to calm them down. The whole display with the kids, and everyone's really excited. So I'm just like, kind of watching it, like getting stoned and zoning out. And at one point, the girl's got like one of those, microphone and face pieces on. She goes, sir, not here. And that was it. And I went, oh. And then I just
Sir, not here.
faded off into the distance. I know.
I wonder if they're cooler about it now.
No, this is a year ago.
Oh.
This is not that long ago.
Wow.
I was very surprised. I was like, this is California.
Well, not only that, what if it was a vape pen with tobacco?
Or CBD or...
Are you allowed to do that?
Probably not. I think there's smoking areas that are designated. But she knew what it was. She saw my face. My mouth was agape watching real velociraptrs walk around. I was losing my mind. It was awesome.
Dude. Oh, get out of here, Stoner.
Yeah.
I was listening to the radio in Utah, and they were talking about how they have to they have to figure out what to do with their drug-sniffing dogs now.
Because there's no reason
There
for
must
them.
be some. Is there a change in Utah? Is Utah changing their drug policy? Because it was funny, just listening to this old dude on just for the fuck of it. I was listening to AM radio, talk radio, and this old dude was talking about how they're going to decommission some of these drug sniffing dogs because they use them on like traffic stops.
There we go.
Medical marijuana in Utah could mean retirement for a generation of drug canines.
Just fucking putting these dogs down.
Well, they also were worried about the police officers themselves losing jobs. Like, when you hear about pot that's making its way into a place like Utah, first of all, you realize, goddamn, pot is really, you can't stop it.
It's here.
The genie's out of the bottle.
It's here.
The revenue's in. Grandma feels better.
Yep.
The Alzheimer's, the people that have all these serious issues that CBD is fixing, arthritis patients, people with like real problems that are not finding any other solution that works for the big cannabis does. They're just giving in, and then they're making all this money. Then you see these old folks that are from a different time, and they're talking about it, and they look at it in terms of like how many police jobs are going to go away,
Right.
how many dogs are going to be
Well, none of them smoke
decommissioned.
weed, so they're like, it's not really my problem.
But it's interesting to watch them look at it as an economic issue.
The problem is you have potheads that are leading the charge, so for a long time it was difficult to take them serious.
Yeah.
You
Still
needed straight-laced guys to come in, and there's a lot of money there. There's so much money in it that you're getting that. But when you have fucking hippies playing hacky sack and wearing puka shell necklaces, it's sort of hard to take them seriously. When the reality is they kind of want to be legalized for recreational purposes, and I don't like. I don't use weed. That's not true. I do take CBD. Literally during that fight, I was using topical CBD the whole time. So I guess
You take oral too?
I do. I take CBD
excellent.
daily, but I don't know. Company CBD sponsors our podcast and festivals. Well, they're also. I'll get you a bunch of products because they're a really great company that supports comedy. They sponsor my tour when I was preparing for my special. They're fucking dope. But I take it daily. I take the oil just because apparently all of the benefits that it has with keeping your body back in homeostasis and making you feel better and getting back in line. I don't know the fucking effects. I smoke weed every day as well, so I'm sure I'm getting CBD effects as well. But in my mind, I'm going, well, I have a bunch of this stuff. I know that since I started taking it, I weirdly feel better, but I can't really connect. You said before you take CBD and you go into another realm.
Well, I was taking 1 and 1. It's like 1 gram of CBD to 1 gram of THC. Like it's 1 part. So whatever milligrams you have, it's like it's 10 milligrams CBD, it's 10 milligrams of weed as well. It's potent.
Yeah.
But I take regular CBD too, though. I take oil. I feel like it's very beneficial and much more potent in terms of its anti-inflammatory benefits than just smoking it. Smoking it does something for you. Definitely reduces inflammation, makes you feel better. It's
I was
good for
taking
sore joints.
the topical I was using.
Topical's good too.
Yeah.
But I think the real combination is topical plus the oil. You don't have to take. A lot of people find that they have better pain relief from 1 versus 1 plus 1, like 1 part THC, 1 part. So it's like edible, like marijuana mixed with CBD. A lot of people find great benefit in that for some reason.
Yeah, I had to trick my aunt because my aunt sold anti-drugs, and if I told her that CBD was derived from hemp, she wouldn't take it. She has bad arthritis, and I gave it to her for that. She loves it, and I told her after the fact. But it's crappy, dude.
It's just a plant, folks, and if you just get straight CBD, it has no psychoactive properties. It's not. The only thing it's going to do is, for some folks, and it works a little bit that way with me, it alleviates some anxiety, just relaxes you.
Yeah. That's why I smoke weed too.
Yeah.
I've been arrested probably 10 times in my life, and every time was for smoking a joint in the street. Every single time, dude.
When you're arrested, they take you in?
Yeah. New York? In a fucking cell. It's crazy.
Still? They're still doing
The
that?
last time I was put into a cell for smoking weed was a year and a half ago. Me and Dave Smith. 2 years ago, maybe. Me and
Did
Dave
you tell
Smith.
them you were Louis J. Gomez?
I told him Louis Gomez. That's when I started using the middle initials. Like, you know what? I learned a lesson.
You know fucking Louis Gomez's must have rap sheets?
Doggy. Every time I come back to the country, I am pulled into a room and they look like they're about to fist fucking with a rubber glove. Every time.
Have you been to Panama anytime recently, sir?
Yeah, and that's it. Come right this way every single time.
Anytime in Bolivia, sir?
But yeah, dude, in New York City, the way it works is it sucks. It's happened so many times. It's the worst. It's just a major inconvenience.
Yeah.
Pain in the ass to get in Canada. I can do it now because they changed the laws, but I didn't go to Canada for like 3 years because of weed. For being arrested for a joint. We're not talking about like I have an ounce that I just bought from my dealer and they found a large amount on me. A joint smoking on the street. What they do is they at first they take the weed and they go, all right, we're going to give you a ticket. Just hang tight, relax. Just to put cuffs on you. This is just to keep you calm and just to fucking get you in the paddy wagon. This is all a process. Then they put you in a paddy wagon. They used to have sweet nights in New York where all it was they would go and try to find kids smoking weed, drunk kids, college kids pissing in public intoxication, and the entire night they would just pick up everybody, fill up paddy wagons, and create criminals. Just create criminals out of teenagers, and we're targeting this why the stop and frisk laws happened in New York. They changed it because they were just targeting black and Hispanic kids. Because they're like, okay, let me see what's in your pockets.
Vastly disproportionate numbers of them being stopped and frisked versus white kids.
Of course, and everybody's got weed in their pocket in New York City, okay?
It's just so stupid that it's still illegal there. Like, how the fuck is that clinging on in one of the biggest cities in the world? How the fuck is that still
Well, it was
going
like the same thing with UFC. It wasn't legal there. It was the last state.
Right.
I believe it was the last state, or maybe second to last. It's because
corruption.
Yeah, the amount of red tape involved, the amount of people that have to be paid off to make any laws happen in any type
One
of
of the
fast
guys
way.
that kept the UFC out, wound up going to jail. One of the guys that was actively campaigning to keep the UFC out, he went to jail for corruption.
Which guy was this?
I don't remember. Fuck him.
Yeah, that was the
We
whole.
dealt with that for a long time. I don't even care. I knew what it was, man. You know, I used to live in New York. I know what it is. There's a lot of that shit still around. It's too big of a city. Too many rats in the holes. You know how many rats are in the streets of New York City, just all throughout the bottom of the subway and running around the sewer system. There's rats.
Yeah.
They just like they become a part of the ecosystem. There's human rats too. There's like creepy, corrupt motherfuckers that have been manipulating shit and getting people to pay them off for protection and all sorts of sneaky fucking city-related shit that takes forever to clean out.
Yeah.
Just to get it out of the streets of New York, it would take forever. They did a good job. I mean, they cleaned up Times Square. They eliminated a lot of the mob, but there's still little mob killings, right? That guy just got whacked.
Just got killed.
Just got whacked.
That happened, and I was like, what? There's the mob's still alive?
Still alive.
They're out there?
Still whacked.
No way.
I know. I thought it was done.
I literally thought it ended in like the 80s. The Italian mob. I had no idea.
I thought so too.
They're all like fucking reality stars now.
Yeah, right? I know, like mob bosses' wives.
Yeah.
Still those fucking shows.
Grown Up Gotti, that was one of them.
Whatever one where this lady was, I remember watching one, this girl was drinking, and she got mounted with this guy, and then the guy told her to go fuck herself. She's like, oh yeah, and she calls her ex-husband up, who said mobster. The ex-husband comes over and talks to the guy. I'm like, can you imagine you're some poor guy at a bar, and some crazy lady starts yelling shit at you, go fuck you, cunt. And she calls, this guy comes over, and you look in his eyes, you know he's killed about 18 fucking people, and you're like, oh, Jesus.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. It's like, you know, you go after a chick, you gotta be ready to fight. If you're just calling some chick a fat cunt, that just be ready. Just whatever's gonna happen. And I feel bad because the guy that she's with now, he's like, fuck. Now I gotta fight for this fat cunt.
I've seen it happen, man.
Oh yeah. We were at a UFC event in Philly years ago. Forrest Griffin, Anderson Silva. Okay, and the guy I was with a chick who was sort of dating. She was a little chubbier, and me and my buddies were there. And these fucking Philly guys were just ready for a fight, dude. Back then, dude, Jersey, Philly was always like 7-8 fights in the crowd. It was crazy. And these guys were just ready for a fight. And I remember she was like there, and they were like right in front of us. She was sort of in between us. And the guy just said, he was like, yeah, fuck you and fuck your fat cunt girlfriend. And literally in that moment, I'm like, well, now I have to fight this guy because I don't even like this girl really. So I was like, but it's a weird thing. So I just pretended I didn't hear him. I was like, that was always kind of like scuffled, and I was like, that. She's like, did you hear me say? I was like, no, what? What are you talking about?
You want to fight for my honor?
Yeah. I've dated girls like that will.
Or you getting your head stomped.
She's like, I'm gonna get a hot dog. I've had girls that I dated that would not want. They would just. Ladies listen to the show. All 3 or 4 ladies that listen to the show right now. Just don't get your man into a fight. Let him decide. Don't start talking shit to another dude. You're putting him in a situation that maybe he doesn't want to be in, and you're never going to know whether or not he wants to be in that situation. You're never going to get the honest story what's going on in his fucking mind right there. Just know we never want you to start talking shit to a dude in the middle of an altercation. Because it's never going to end good.
No, most of the time. Most of the time it's not end good. Especially if blows start flying. Man, people getting knocked out. Some guy got hurt really bad at a Dodgers game recently. He got knocked out, cracked his head off the ground. That's what people need to understand. People die from that shit. You watch movies and people knock people out, the person's fine.
Yeah.
You could get a goddamn murder rap. You punch someone and they fall, and most people when you punch them in the face, they go unconscious. They have no idea what happened. They go unconscious, their head bounces off the ground, they die. It happens all the time. Kevin James, when he was a kid, he was a bouncer in Long Island. One of the guys at the bar, I don't think he was working that night, but one of the guys he knew and worked with knocked a guy out. The guy fell, hit his head off a curb, dead. Guy went up to go in jail for years. Spent years in jail. It's some fucking $10 an hour job where you fight drunks.
Yeah, just getting into some dumb fight, which is.
Thinking it's okay to just tee off on someone's face.
It's also probably pretty rare.
People falling and hitting their head and dying, that's not rare at all. That's really common. Think about what that is.
Well,
You gotta
I saw
understand.
somebody-
I see a lot of people get knocked out. But I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Like I'm saying, dying from hitting their head on a
I
curb.
haven't seen them die, but they could easily.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, in a major city like New York, I bet somebody dies falling and hitting their head off the curb every week. When you punch someone and they fall, think about how far that is, right? Think about the amount of force that's involved. Now, think about if you were standing there and someone hit you in the back of the head with something. Now, think about that something was the fucking world, the earth. It doesn't give it all. Concrete doesn't give it all. The only thing that gives is your head.
Yeah.
Your head has to bounce, and your skull fractures, and you get internal bleeding. Your brain hemorrhages. It cuts off your ability to move. You might have a stroke. You might have. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Getting knocked out and falling and hitting your head off the ground is a terrifying thing. And when you hear the sound of smack of someone's head bouncing off the concrete, it sounds hollow. It sounds like a melon. It sounds terrible, like a hard melon or something like that.
Yeah, you see it happen where people pass out. There's like videos that are out there where they fall over and then they just split their head open.
Oh, it's the worst, dude.
Gruesome.
Falling backwards, though, is something, especially when you get hit. You get fucking clipped on the chin, your head snaps, and your leg shut off, and you just fall and bounce. It's even in boxing matches, man. So the scariest knockouts when a guy gets KO'd and his head bounces off the ground.
Yeah.
In MMA and the UFC, same thing. When guys fall back and the head bounces off the ground. It's like a double knockout.
So I watched that Fight Science thing back in the day that they were doing on Spike TV. It was like a show called, I think it was called Fight Science. And they were just explaining why ground and pound was so much more brutal than a straight up standing punch. And they were just they showed the 3D animation of the head and the fist coming down and then the head bouncing off the mat and then the brain bouncing off the front and bouncing to the back and the fist comes back up again and the brain is just being over and over again.
You can't go anywhere. You're stuck.
Oh, it's terrifying. I got beat up in the 6th grade by an African kid named Papa Tunde.
Look at this. Every day, 153 people in the United States die from injuries that include traumatic brain injury. Wait a minute. Okay. That include traumatic brain injury, so it's an injury that also has traumatic brain injury? I see what you're saying. Those who survive a TBI can face effects that last a few days or the rest of their lives. That's the other thing. Impaired thinking or memory, movement, sensation, vision, emotional functioning, personality changes or depression. These issues not only affect individuals, can have lasting effects on families and communities. Yeah, man, don't get hit in the head. Don't do it.
Avoid it.
Yeah, take it for somebody that's been hit in the head.
Avoid it. Yeah, whenever we're with my son, because there's just there's a weird thing in New York as well, where there's like a lot of tough guys that take this alpha energy where you get on the subway and there's another dude who like make eye contact with you, and you're like weirdly like you're in a weird beef now because you're just looking at a dude in the eyes. And that becomes a thing where you have to like look away. And you have this internal struggle where you're going like, well, no, I'm not going to look away because this guy's looking at me. And then I look at my kids right there, and I'm going like, what is even going on in my head right now? I need to just go to another subway car, just avoid at all costs having to get into a confrontation in front of him, because that's one of my biggest fears in the world, is not knowing what to do.
There's people that live in like Montana that are listening to this right now. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you look each other in the eye and someone wants to fight for no reason. This is the nature of being penned up. That many people. Fucking, there's something cool about it. The cool thing we talked about before, that people are like, you're exposed, even if you're a poor kid, you're exposed to rich people. They're there. They're normal. So it doesn't seem unattainable or unreachable. They're all around you.
That path is there.
Well, there are humans that are they're just like you're around them. But if you live in a place where you're never around them, you never get that. So there's benefits to New York for sure. Culturally, there's benefits. Just the energy of the city. There's so much creativity. So much going on.
Yeah, it's even beyond just the money thing. It is the creativity portion where like literally everybody that's in New York is trying to do something.
Yes.
They're all trying to make something happen.
Yes.
So if they're trying to become a banker, they're trying to become the #1 fucking banker in the country. They're trying to become the best at that. And that energy of success, it's really good. And that's why I'm happy. On one level, I'm happy I'm raising my kid in the city because of that. And the other level, it's like, I want my kid to build a fucking treehouse. He's never built a treehouse. He can't go out of the house without somebody being right
Maybe
there.
you could show him some shit on the weekends. Take him places in the weekends. We could be around the woods. So you could get like the best of both worlds. There's definitely there's a benefit to being in the city, whether you're a kid or an adult. There's definitely a benefit. The negative part is that this depreciation of value of life. There's so many people you don't think of them as being as important. They're a hindrance as much as they are like a nice thing to see.
Yeah. Well, there's so many homeless people too, and there's a homeless woman who basically stands on my corner and just begs for change every day. And my son was with me the other day, and this woman, she's like, "Hey, do you have any money for a sandwich?" And I was like, "No, sorry, I don't today. I have to go walking." And I look at my son, he's like, "Yeah, that's really sad. She doesn't have money for a sandwich." And I'm like, "She has every fucking day. Every day she has." Like, I can't. And I had to explain to him. I was like, well, look, I can't give her money every single day. And I was like, I do have $1 though. I was like, why don't we go back and give her $1? And he was like, no, I get it now. And we both, I swear, he stopped me from giving her the $1.
Well, if the world was just one, if there was only one person for that was the only issue. Just one lady just needs some help. You'd be like, oh, we'll just help her.
Yeah.
But when there's a million of them, you're like, well, I can't help her. I just can't do this. I gotta keep going. I gotta concentrate on my own shit.
Yeah.
And that's a microcosm of what happens in the city. Yeah. If that lady was in a small town, she would be the crazy beggar lady. People would probably like figure out a way to help her.
Bigger cans.
Yeah. Some people, the problem is, it's just like some humans, when you give them that as an option, just begging. Like, there's guys who do it, and there was a whole when I lived in San Francisco, there was a news report thing about this guy was doing it for a living. He's making
a lot of money.
A lot of money, man. Just begging. He's essentially saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's totally legal, and I just make up stories and have people donate money to me, and I think of it as like an occupation. So it was weird listening to him talk about it, because he was telling this lady, who was the reporter lady, he was telling her how she could do it too, and how he was doing it and how he shows people how to do it. But he was making like a decent living.
$200 a day.
Yeah, I'm sure. I remember because I was a kid, but I remember listening, like, oh, this motherfucker, he's just faking it.
I don't, in a weird way, I appreciate the hustle. Look, I watch my mom on welfare. I remember as a kid watching my mom collect a welfare check and sitting in the room, smoke cigarettes and not work. And I remember as a little kid being like, that's not late. I was like, what are you doing? Just work, do something else. We can be in a better situation. Just from way too young having that thought. Right. Okay? But in a weird way, I appreciate the guy's hustle. He's figured out a way to thrive.
Sort of.
It's not nothing to be proud of. You should be bragging about it, but at the same time, like, it's just a different system. It's a different game. If you disconnect from sort of like, whatever we're,
he's a con artist. There's never a good thing having someone who's lying to everybody all the time.
I appreciate a good con artist. I really do.
They're boring.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's boring. It's boring. Just figure it out, stupid. Stop lying to people.
Aren't they figuring out something different?
No, they're just finding lemmings. That's all they're doing. They're finding lemmings. They're finding people that don't know any better. People that what's 3-card money? Come on, I'll show you.
Well, that's what the homeless lady's doing. I've been in New York City since 2001. I'm so desensitized to homeless people that there's no part of me that feels bad. I just will walk on. Sorry, I can't keep on going. But what happens is they're looking for the person who moved there a week ago. They're looking for the tourist. They're looking for the person who...
Looking for nice people.
And they're there. So it's sort of like that's...
But that's not the same thing. Like, that lady might just be crazy. She's not a con artist. Con artists are people lying and pretending that, listen, my car broke down. My wife and kid haven't had anything to eat in 24 hours. And I'm really in a bad situation. I would never do this, but I just ask you, can you just give me $5? And you guys say, yeah, man, sure, I'm sorry. Here's $5. Next person. Hey, man, I need to go take this flight to see my mom. She's buying cancer.
Well, they'll change. Usually they have the same story.
Canceled, and they'll change all the time.
Well, I had a guy do that to me in New York when I first moved there, and the guy was wearing a suit. Young white guy wearing a suit. He's like, dude, I missed my bus back home. Let's see for a job interview. I'm just trying to get money for a bus ticket back home. And I was like, guys, here's a couple bucks, whatever. And the next day, and you can swear, same fucking kid, same suit, same story, because they learn it like a sales pitch.
Right.
So they know the beats up, they know exactly what to say. You see on the subway, when they get on the subway, they have an actual script. So it's like, I don't get the bag, but my wife is blah, blah, blah. And you see them every day going down the cart, and if you ever done a sales job, a good sales script is pretty good. You're just sort of fishing, you're playing the numbers. You're instead of sort of adding emotion to it and changing the story and doing all these different things and putting too much thought into it, you go, I'm just running the script and close 1 out of 20 people I walk by.
Stupid.
Yeah, no, it's not.
The only benefit is that you grow up around people that are full of shit and you learn how to spot people that are full of shit. It's the only benefit. Other than that, it's just annoying.
I agree with you, but I also can appreciate it. I can appreciate a good hustler. A good
hustler goes out and gets a fucking job. You don't just lie to people everywhere with some stupid story about how you missed your bus. Get your shit together, pussy. Stop mooching money from people. That's gross.
Well, what about
It's gross.
What about a guy who sells his CD on the street? That's
a
maybe
little bit different because he's offering something. This is art.
You got a CD player. You do
I
now.
got a CD player. I do have a laptop. I got a refurbished laptop.
This guy, Columbus Shifter, reminded me, I completely forgot about him. He was known as the rapping bum, or Hope is on the way. But 15, 20 years at Ohio State, this guy be on High Street, like the main strip, and he had all these rhymes he constantly go to. It always ended with Help is on the way, but I don't remember a lot of them. But
He always said help is on the way.
he ended like just like his punchline, like Help is on the way. He had T-shirts made about him. I think someone
Really?
actually recorded him at one point in like 2005 or 6. But
You remember when they found that homeless dude that had that crazy radio voice?
yeah, that was in Columbus too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he got a job, right?
He got a job.
Somebody got a job.
Went right back to the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fucked it up. Well, you can't fix people. You can't fix him.
That voice was fire though.
Very good voice.
He had a great voice.
Radio voice.
He got a lot of
Silky
gigs, too.
smooth. And he just wound up going right back to being a homeless person.
Well, dude, I mean, it's not. This is gonna sound very insensitive, but most of the time it's not bad luck.
Right.
You know, it's sort of the decisions you make, and I'm not saying that you can have a bad situation. You can't, you know, there is bad luck in the sense that some people are born into, you know, affluent households, some people are born into poverty, but
This is him?
you know, it's him.
Let's hear it.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
He was a radio guy in my film at the time.
Yeah, and then he found, well,
And don't forget tomorrow morning is your chance to win a pair of tickets to see this man live in concert.
I have a theory. I think doing that for a living makes you fucking crazy. That's what I think. I think if you have that fake voice, eventually you just snap. You know, I can't do this anymore. I can't talk like this. I can't have this fake voice.
Yeah.
Just blow a fuse. Like I blew a fuse.
Have
and
you
start
done
wandering around the
voiceover
street.
auditions? Have you done that a lot in your career?
No. I've voiced over a couple things, but nothing serious.
It's such a weird, like,
Yeah.
other hustle. Like, there's a whole world in comedy where like, guys are every day going out and doing voiceover auditions and trying to be a voice in some commercial. It's so disconnected from creativity. Like, there's no part of. I remember when I first started comedy, I started reading these like books on things you could do because this is before podcasting was even a thing, and it was like you could do stand up, you could write corporate gigs, you could try to write jingles for commercials or write Hallmark cards. That was one of the things.
Really?
One of these books.
Hallmark cards?
This this chick who wrote all these books.
Oh, I know. Judy Brown, is that what it is?
You're so close. It's not Judy Brown.
No.
You're close.
Something like that.
Yeah. So she and
She wrote books on how to do stand-up.
it was workbooks. It was
What
like
the hell's her name?
she's the one who did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a bunch of them, but there was like no real evidence of her being good at comedy.
No, none of them are good at comedy.
Judy something. How do you just fuck? Here's the deal. For people listening to this, don't know what the fuck we're talking about. There was literally no books on how to do stand-up. There was no books. There was a couple books written by comics, and they were almost always tongue-in-cheek. Like Richard Belzer wrote a book on how to do stand-up. It just gave you some like joke advice for the most part. Judy Carter. Yeah. So she wrote these books on how to do stand-up. Everybody bought those books. Everybody that wanted to try to do stand-up bought those books.
Yeah, everyone. You see in the comedy green room still a lot, just like on a shelf somewhere. Yeah, and it would give you like exercises. So she'd be like, go to the newspaper and write 10 premises out of the newspaper today. You know, it's not. Look, the reality is, if you're not a funny person and you're still trying to pursue a path in stand-up, it's not.
Her? Yeah. Get out of here with that shit. Shut that off.
Won't give her the time of day.
I don't know.
Fucking Judy Carter.
Maybe she's funny. I'm just joking.
Impossible.
People are so goddamn sensitive these days.
Yeah.
You'll find that it's like what we do, honestly, a podcast just in the realm of talking shit. This is one of the last bastions of actual shit talking.
Yeah.
When we smoke weed, you sit back and chill. Half the Fight Companion podcast that we do, we want to be completely blitzkrieg hammered by the time it's over.
Hell yeah.
You're talking shit live. And there's not
In real time. And
It's not allowed
motherfuckers,
that
if I
anymore.
put a microphone in front of you for 10 hours a week,
You're gonna say something stupid.
you're gonna say a lot more stupid shit than I say.
Yeah.
Way more stupid shit. Okay.
For sure,
I'm
but that's
doing
not
pretty
the
good.
point. It's like what Patrice said is so pertinent. It's so important. They all come from the same place. Whether it hits or misses, like when you just try to be funny, you're just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to hurt anybody's
And sometimes to be
feelings.
fun, the funniest thing to say is the most fucked up thing, or the thing that's making. Well, I say this about trolls all the time because you know people say mean shit about me on the internet, and I go, well, no, it's not about me. That's the funniest thing to say in that moment. They're trying to be. They're comedy fans. They're trying to be funny. So, and when you step back and don't take it so personally, you kind of go like, oh, I get why that's funny.
It also fits in with what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. So it fits in. They're
Yeah.
jumping in.
You bust balls. And that's the other thing you don't realize.
You're
So,
called Legion of Skanks.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck is anybody expecting from that name?
well, that's why we don't get in trouble. I think.
Yes.
We call it the most offensive podcast enough.
Yeah.
And we say, I mean, the craziest shit you possibly say on a podcast. It's nuts. It's actually
You're never gonna get a network gig.
no. We got a pilot deal with Trip TV last year.
That's a mistake by their part.
Yeah,
We're glad they canceled
they
that.
put the kibosh on that bad boy. Don't you worry. That never made it to even filming day.
You don't need it.
No, we don't. We
You
don't.
don't need it. With the internet today, man, you don't need anything.
No, we're not. You're right. We're never gonna get a TV deal. I tell my
You don't want
agent.
it. You don't want it.
I
Yeah.
told my agent to stop sending me on acting gigs for ABC. I was like, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen? I'm gonna get a gig and I'm gonna get fired from it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to put me in a suit. Once you sort of open that can of worms, you're sort of label the problem. I'd rather work with people that want to work with me and sort of get what I do.
Well, not only that, do you really have aspirations to be an actor?
No,
Or is
I
it
do.
one of those stupid things they rope you into? It's one of those stupid things they
Just
rope you
wasting
into.
time.
Yeah, they rope you into it because, like, Mitch Hedberg had a whole joke about it, but that comedy is one of the weird things that if you like do comedy, they expect you to also act.
Yeah.
You know, I forget the bit.
And it's another
But it is.
completely different
thing.
such a different thing. I mean, even on the cellular level, like how to start off, acting is such a. You go to technique classes, and it's a real art. I really appreciate people who are good actors. It is a majorly different thing. But for some reason, they group them together like actor and comedian. When it's as different as hockey player and comedian.
Yeah, it is. Well, not really, because if you can act, you can be a comic. If you can do comedy, I think you can act. I think it's possible. I think it's possible. More likely, if you do comedy, you can act. This might be my own bias. More likely. Do you want some weed? You have to roll it like a peasant.
I'll roll some weed. I'll bring some weed.
Dude, we get sponsors. Speedweed is dropping off.
Here, it's already rolled out.
Dude,
Speed
we have a
sponsor
war
show?
chest.
I love
See that
Dino.
war
He's a
chest?
fucking man.
He's the best. The war chest in the back, that's all weed, dude. We get high for a year.
I
Never leave it home.
baby boy. I love it. I didn't know you smoke blunts too, which is fucking dope.
Where's the one that we decided? This one? No. We'll get one that's as fresh as possible. That might be it. That last one might be it. Oh.
Well, 1 second ago, you're like, dude, we got weed for days here. Fucking go there, roaches.
Not to what's his face? Action Bronx came in here, and by the time the ashtray was done, I had to take a picture of it. Like, this is ridiculous. This is all his weed.
Oh, he keeps on
smoked like 7 joints. I mean, blunts. He's kept them, big ones, sticks, bats.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a pothead. I'm a morning smoker.
I was saying I wrote last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Took an edible, gave the missus the business, and then afterwards, I couldn't lay down. I was laying down like midnight. All these ideas were rolling through my head. I'm like, I know the right thing to do. I gotta get up and write. And sometimes you write and just bullshit comes out, and there's nothing there. And sometimes you write and just hit a vein, man. Whether it's creativity, vulnerability, life experiences, thoughts, and recent things in the news, everything just comes together, boom, and then you have these ideas. And then those ideas could eventually be bit. That's like those moments when you get an idea and get the inspiration to write. Man, as a comic, one of the most important things to capture. You gotta dive on those.
Yeah.
Because you might have your neck closing bit in that moment.
It's such a hard, that's where the difference between pros who are legitimately, who really care about the craft, and guys like me, who, I need to do it more. I mean, this is the first time doing this special. It was the first time that I ever had to. It was a purpose doing stand-up. It was a fucking hobby before. There was nothing. I wasn't working on anything. I was running a race for no reason. There was nothing. I was doing bits. He was working on it forever. Like nobody's asking for this. I'm not doing late night sets or putting out an album. And all of those little habits, they're great. You definitely know Gary Goldman, who's a brilliant comic.
I've known Gary forever.
I'm sure you do. Unbelievable guy.
I didn't know him from Boston. I met him out here. I think I met him at
He's a fucking man. But he's on his Twitter. He does like a writing tip every day.
Oh, beautiful.
And he's got these really cool writing tips for young comics. If you're a young comic, you should go follow Gary Goldman because he's great. But he has these just great little tips where it's like when you're writing down your jokes, leave a space between each line, so then you can go in and fill in different words later. And it's very specific like that. And I think putting in those little habits and just making it a genuine rule where you say every morning when you get up, I'm going to write for 1 hour. I'm going to commit to that, whether I feel motivated or not. You will eventually reap a lot of benefits. And I think a lot when I started doing comedy, it was like it wasn't. Oh, these are
Just some of the last most recent.
It's spelled written wrong. But I fuck up. It's playing all the time. It's okay, but I'm taking risks. Oh, it's good for him. There's also, I think, there's a Peter called Advice for Writers. That's interesting. Here's the number one thing, though. Here's the number one. Write. Just do it. Just get out there and make it happen. Just start moving. You gotta force yourself to sit in front of a notepad or whatever it is for X amount of time a day. Have a fucking timer. Set it. Make sure you do it. And then if that timer goes off, you're still working. Keep going. If you can, if you feel it, keep going. But make yourself do it. Just make yourself do it. That's more important than anything else. All that other stuff, the other stuff is good. It's all good to have structure and understanding. But the number one thing people have a problem with is doing it. It's like talking about exercise but not exercising. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like I think the other thing is with social media, you have the tendency to say, oh, I'm going to just tweet this. And then you don't really work the joke the same way you would if you were sitting down and trying to work a joke. You're trying to fit it into a certain amount of characters. You're trying to make it funny in a certain way. When you're not going to get the maximum. And that's why I think a problem where I have. I'm like, oh, I'll just go and tweet this or I'll put it on Instagram or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that's another. I think I'm sort of turning a corner now where I'm starting to look at that process more.
That's fine too, man. Tweet jokes are great. Nothing wrong with it. A lot of people become famous for having a really good Twitter account when they say funny shit. Nothing wrong with that. But you got to write for yourself, man. Writing for yourself is everything. It's everything. It's the one thing that we tend to fuck off on. You know, it's one thing I like to reinforce it.
Do you still listen to that cassette and everything?
I listen to him in my car. I have them. I listen to him on the way. I'm working on some new shit. Tries, oh yeah, don't forget that part. Oh, make sure you pause there. Make sure you maybe if you emphasize this first.
And you're thinking of punches right there
better.
too.
Yeah. It's like doing an extra set. It's like say if you do 3 sets a night, but you record 3 sets a night, and you listen to 2 sets a night. Now you did 5 sets a night.
Yeah.
It is like it because you're in that mindset. Maybe even more beneficial. Like not beneficial in terms of like you know that groove that you get in when you just loose on stage and everything's flowing. Like the only way to get there, I think, or the only way I know how to get there, I should say, is I have to do a lot of stand up. If I don't do a lot of stand up, there's always this weird feeling of awkwardness that you have to overcome at the beginning.
Yeah.
But when you do a lot of stand up, right away you can be loose, and that is essential for getting material across the best way. But you probably can get a lot of work done on top of that if you listen more. Oh, I guys only listen to gross. Listen to yourself. Like, shut up, stupid. Your voice, you're so annoying and fake.
We're watching back, special editing it myself. I was with an editor, obviously, but you start to hate it. The more time you have with it, you're taking more things out. Yes. You're noticing more things wrong. You'll eventually whittle it down to nothing. I think that's probably a good sign. My taste is better than I am as a comedian, like substantially. Like I have impeccable taste in comedy. Like the guys who I look up to, Patrice, David Pell, these are the best of the best in my opinion. And that I sort of hold myself to that standard, and I'll never be there in my mind, and probably in most people's minds, but I'll never fucking, those are the best. And you start to hate it, and that's a very difficult, painful process. I think most people, even if you don't stand up, go listen back. Anybody older listen to this. Think about when you still put answering machine messages. So you still do your voicemail. How many times you go back and go, I sound like a fucking idiot, and delete it again and again and again, and you've done it 30 times. And yeah, I think that's just sort of natural.
Yeah, if you care about what you do, you're gonna hate it. Alexander Gustafsson said something like that once. He's one of UFC's top light heavyweights. He was talking about being a professional fighter. That as a professional athlete, he was never satisfied. He still is never satisfied. Nothing's ever good enough. And this is just the mindset that you have to be an elite athlete. And I think anything you're really trying to do, you're gonna pick it apart. And as you're picking it apart, you're gonna find stuff that you hate. You gotta still find stuff that you love too. This like the balance of doing too many sets. You do too many sets and you get stale. You get flat. That's not good either.
Oh yeah. Well, when you're just going through the same thing, you know where the punches come. You feel like they know. It's like
you feel like they know. That's part of it because you know. So it's hard for you to be in the moment because it's like you've heard it too many times and you don't want to say it again.
Well, I think about this like it must be crazy for you because every show you do, there's somebody that probably fucking followed you from the next city. And are you ever conscious that? Are you ever thinking like, fuck, dude, I know that guy. He saw this bit. bit, just for one dude, and for me, one dude, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that bit now. It'll be around 250 people. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And as I start saying it, I scan the crowd, I find his eyes, I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking hack. I stink. I'm so bad. But that's the process that you have to go through, and that's.
Stanhope yelled at a guy to stop coming and sit in the front row, because he did a second show, and I was there for the second show too in the same spot. He's like, what the fuck? You can't do that.
Yeah.
It can definitely mess with your head. The illusion of you being in the moment talking about these subjects is out the window. Someone saw you do it the exact same thing 3 hours.
And that's the magic trick. If you know the sleight of hand, doesn't matter. If you know it's going to happen, you just see it every single time.
Yeah. There's some people that love the process. I met these two ladies in Austin that travel around the world listening to stand-up. They went to see Ari in Iceland, and I think they saw them in the UK too. They're like fans of the process of comedy. They said that they were at the Comedy Store like a week before, and I did a set there, and then they came to this show in Austin because that's where they live. They travel around watching comedy, and they wanted to talk about the process of it. It's really interesting. They'll get to see all these different sets. They'll get to see sets where things don't go so great, sets where you switch it up and things. You'll see that at the Comedy Store all the time. There's people that go there like 2 or 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
It's a rare art form where it one day will be seen by millions, right? You put it on whatever you're on, Hulu or iTunes or whatever the fuck it is, Netflix. If you're on Netflix, you're gonna be seen by millions of people. Like, but 150 can watch practice.
Yeah.
And the same ones can watch practice.
And it's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Like, you mentioned watching George St. Pierre train before, or him being coached. I got to watch GSP training with Henzo Gracie and John Donaher at Henzo School in New York City. This is when I just started podcasting. It's like 9 years ago. I used to do a show called Hammer Fisting.
To give people, that's like watching Herschel Walker play football or get coached to be on the field with him if you were a fan of football.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, I'm
That's
right
like,
here.
I'm talking about, like, as far as you guys are for me, I'm watching them train. I'm watching both of them give him, like, it was really cool. It was a really, really cool thing. Wait, how do we even get there? I'm sorry.
Talking about him being coachable and him listening and you watch him train with
No,
John
how do we even
Donaher.
get to the George St. Pierre? How do we get back to there? What were we talking about before that? I'm sorry.
Marijuana has pros and cons, and here is the con.
Being able to watch it from the training process.
Oh, right. So yeah, with comedy, it's like that. Thank you, Jamie. You guys paid enough. I don't know what you paid, but it's not enough. That process was an amazing thing to watch. Now, if I went to it and I paid $600 for a front row seat and I was like, I'm watching a fight right now, and I'm watching a George St. Pierre UFC champion fight, I would be vastly disappointed with that experience. I would go, this isn't what I'm paying for. I think when people come to comedy clubs, they think they're paying for the big fight night. The big fight night's a special. The big fight night's which you're the album recording, whatever it is. Basically everything leading up to that, but to a certain degree, if you're headlining on the road doing an hour, there's a certain responsibility. They're paying a heavy price ticket for a real show, but they should have at least a little bit of an understanding that they're watching the process. And if they understood it, they would appreciate it more. They would go, oh shit, I heard this guy do that joke before. I noticed the nuance and I noticed the difference.
Some people only want to hear the new shit, but that's cool too. Just sit around and wait.
I used to just fucking do the hits. How cool would that be?
They used to get angry if he didn't do the hits. Like,
Yeah, even still, I think they start calling out Hot Pocket. And
Yep,
he's like,
he has to. I think he has to. I think Bert Kreischer has to tell the machine story still, right? Does he still
30-minute
tell-
story. It's half the hour.
Doesn't he still tell that story? I think he still tells that story.
I'm sure people will be mad.
Bert is taking his shirt off in the original room of the Comedy Store as well. He would save the shirt off for the main room, but now he's taking it to the next level. So he takes the shirt off immediately.
It's at Starbucks.
And people they're way too close to him, so they all get uncomfortable. They're like, what are you doing?
I wish I was comfortable being fat. Dougie, if I could be comfortable being fat, I would be so happy. Because I was a fat kid growing up, and I got in really good shape in my
You've really
mid-to-late
got the
20s.
crowd eating
I
from your
started getting
delicate
exercise and
hands
got really into
now.
it.
There's
And
never
now
a
every
dull
winter I get
moment
fat.
with you at the
Every
helm.
summer I get back
Or
in
maybe
shape,
like
and I just yo-yo
twice.
back
I
and
gotta
forth.
hand it to you.
And
You've
it's
got
cold
quite the
weather, and it's like
unbreakable
you're- yeah,
spirit.
because
I mean, I'm not nearly as brave as
you
you.
don't know, Doug.
If
You're
I
not a
was
fat
in
guy. I
your
don't want to
capable
get
nimble
sports
shoes, I'd say to heck with that
You
here,
don't
my
know what it's like.
friends.
I
They'll
know
be
it's walking
fine.
upstairs
Then I'd pack
and
myself a
having your-
nice
you
bag
could feel your
lunch,
ass
show these
sweating.
cats
You could
my
feel your thighs sticking
favorite
together.
finger, and then I'd make
It's just
like horse
uncomfortable
turds and
knowing
hit
that,
the
like, you eat
trail.
something in
But I'm
public,
not
that there are other
you.
people
You're
that
not
are
horse
self-conscious looking at
turds.
you
No,
and judging you.
sirs.
And I know that 'cause I've been on
are
the
the
other side. 'Cause I
very
watch that from
definition of the
somebody
cat's
who's even if I'm fat,
PJs.
I'm like,
Well, speaking of
what are we
which,
doing?
these
Yeah, why are you
cats
killing
are
yourself?
truly
Nonsense.
bizarre. Why are they
Probably
here?
just
I mean,
wish.
I've got
In the
my
moment, that's
theories.
all.
Perhaps
What
they're
kind of
aliens
that?
from
You
another
get barbecue
world.
chips.
Maybe their
Where's
genetics
barbecue?
were
It's not
pyramids
taste like
gone
barbecue.
awry.
It has a
Or could
taste,
it
and that
be
tastes
that they were
barbecue
once
chip
normal
taste.
kitties?
It's not barbecue.
Normal
Just
kitties
whatever
who
the flavor
evolved
is, yeah.
into
Great
the
flavor.
strange,
Not at all.
unpleasant
Like,
creatures
that's
that
racist.
came before us.
Some of
These
you tasty grape
hideously
bubble gum, like, oh, this is
adorable
great.
abominations with their
Yeah,
beady
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
eyeballs,
So true.
giant,
Orange soda.
bloodthirsty,
That is not
tiny
orange.
mouth
Like, what is
fangs,
that? This is not the
flashy
taste of
paw
orange at all.
claws, and
This isn't like
stanky
orange.
funk breath.
Yeah,
Plus,
that-
they're
that's
awfully
weird.
rude and
Food is
crabby.
so fucking
I
bad,
think
dude.
they all
Hey,
need
barbecue
girlfriends
potato
or
chips.
something.
What the fuck
I'm a
does that
cat,
taste?
see?
'Cause that's a weird
I'm
taste,
grouchy,
right? That does
see?
not taste like
I like to
barbecue.
run
Not that
around
taste,
all
but it does
day
not
and
grow
hurt
me.
people's
Whatever it is,
feelings.
it's some
See?
long words.
Don't take them
and some
lightly.
science-exam
Although
shit that-
sassy and lazy
Yep.
by
Mild
nature,
biscuit
cats
thing.
are
You should
not
awfully
be putting it into
crafty,
your body.
and
Oh,
finding
God,
a
it's
weak
trans
spot
fats
in
in
that
this
bright
shit.
orange furry armor might
It's not
cause
easy.
difficulties.
Still has the trans
Minus
fats.
the why.
Yeah.
They're
Is it
always
trans?
watching
Trans is okay.
children.
Just
I
don't
see them
deviate
lurking
from
in the
sound for
shadows.
face. Yeah.
Lurking
Trans fats are
hard.
furious.
Or hardly
Trans fats
lurking.
are okay.
See?
Trans fats.
People get
On
mad
that
if you say
note,
it too
this
much. Like,
whole
you just get
theater's
offensive
like a
trans.
bad
Is that what you say,
joke.
trans fat?
But how did things
I'm not
get
a
so
talk.
bad?
Also, trannies have great
At
sense of
one time,
humor.
this
So
theater
I've ever
was a
hung out
nice
a lot of them.
place
Well,
with
every
flowers
trans
in
person I
every
know,
vase and
I'm friends
smiles
with
on
two that I'm
everyone's
pretty close with.
mouth.
I know a handful.
Can you believe it? I wouldn't believe it. I mean, if
they
you
have great
told
sense
me
of humor.
that,
Gay
I'd
people
more
have
than
great sense
likely
of humor.
call you
Black
a
people,
liar
Hispanic
and
people,
walk
all people
away.
always protect the groups.
Find finds a
have
place to
great
get ice
sense of
cream
humor
to
to a black
replenish the
room
innocence
and do
you've
racist
had
jokes.
with
What
your
we do is
filthy
racist jokes by
deceits.
young liberal
I
white
like
people.
strawberry. Just
They
keep
love
your
it, dude.
wits
They
about
fucking
you
bounce
as
off
you
the walls, having a
descend
blast.
deeper into the
It's
belly
all
of the
good jokes.
beast. And perhaps you'll find
Yes,
a way
yes,
to
but
put
that's
an
just-
end
but
to
that's
this
being offended. People being
madness.
upset, but they're not going like this person needs to lose their job. I'm highly offended by these jokes.
Yeah.
I never see that. I never see if I went to it and I paid $600 for a front row seat and I was like, I'm watching a fight right now and I'm watching a George St. Pierre UFC champion fight, I would be vastly disappointed with that experience. I would go, this isn't what I'm paying for. And I think when people come to comedy club, I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking hack. I stink. I'm so bad. But that's the process.
The only way to get there, I think, or the only way I know how to get there, I should say, is I have to do a lot of stand-up. If I don't do a lot of stand-up, there's always this weird feeling of awkwardness that you have to overcome at the beginning.
Yeah.
But when you do a lot of stand-up, right away, you can be loose. And that is essential for getting the material across the best way. But you probably can get a lot of work done on top of that if you listen more. A lot of guys don't make listen. It sounds gross. Listen to yourself. Like, shut up, stupid. Your voice, you're so annoying and fake.
Well, watching back the special, editing it myself, I was with an editor, obviously, but you start to hate it. The more time you have with it, you're taking more things out.
Yes.
You're noticing more things wrong. And you'll eventually whittle it down to nothing. I think that's probably a good sign. My taste is better than I am as a comedian, like substantially. Like I have impeccable taste in comedy. Like the guys who I look up to, Patrice, David Tell, these are the best of the best in my opinion. And that I sort of hold myself to that standard, and I'll never be there in my mind, and probably in most people's minds, but I'll never fucking those are the best. And you start to hate it, and that's a very difficult, painful process. I think most people, even if you don't do stand up, go listen back. Anybody older listen to this. Think about when you still put answering machine messages. So you still do it with your voicemail. How many times you go back and go, I sound like a fucking idiot. And you delete it again and again and again, and you've done it 30 times. And yeah, I think that's just sort of natural.
Yeah, if you care about what you do, you're gonna hate it. Alexander Gustafsson said something like that once. He's one of the UFC's top light heavyweights. He was talking about being a professional fighter as a professional athlete who's never satisfied. And still is never satisfied. Like nothing's ever good enough. And this is just the mindset that you have to be an elite athlete. And I think anything you're really trying to do, you're gonna pick it apart. And as you're picking it apart, you're gonna find stuff that you hate. But you gotta still find stuff that you love too. This like the balance of doing too many sets. When you do too many sets and you get stale, you're flat. That's not good either.
Oh yeah, well when you're just going through the same thing, you know where the punches come. You feel like they know. It's like
you feel like they know. That's part of it because you know. So it's hard for you to be in the moment because it's like you've heard it too many times, so you don't want to say it again.
Well, I think about this like it must be crazy for you because every show you do, there's somebody that probably fucking followed you from the next city. And are you ever conscious about it? Are you ever thinking like, fuck, dude, I know that guy. He saw this bit. And just for one dude, and for me, one dude, I'm like, fuck, dude, I want to do that bit now. There are 250 people. I'm like, I don't want to do it. And as I start saying it, I scan the crowd. I find his eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking hack. I stink. I'm so bad. But that's the process that you have to go through. And that's.
I think Stanhope yelled at a guy to stop coming and sitting in the front row, like because he did a second show, and the guy was there for the second show too in the same spot. He's like, "What the fuck? You can't do that."
Yeah.
It can definitely mess with your head. The illusion of you being in the moment talking about these subjects is out the window. Someone saw you do it the exact same way 3 hours.
And that's the magic trick. If you know the sleight of hand, doesn't matter. If you know what's going to happen, you just see it every single time.
Yeah. But there's some people that love the process. I met these two ladies in Austin that travel around the world listening to stand-up. They went to see Ari in Iceland, and I think they saw him in the UK too. They're like fans of like the process of comedy. They said that they were at the Comedy Store like a week before. I did a set there, and then they came to the shows in Austin because that's where they live. They travel around watching comedy, and they wanted to talk about the process of it. It's really interesting because they'll get to see all these different sets. They'll get to see sets where things don't go so great, sets where you switch it up, and things. Like, you'll see that at the Comedy Store all the time. There's people that go there like 2 or 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
It's a rare art form where it one day will be seen by millions, right? You put it on whatever you're on, Hulu or iTunes or whatever the fuck it is, Netflix. If you're on Netflix, you're gonna be seen by millions of people. Like, but 150 can watch practice.
Yeah.
And the same ones can watch practice.
And it's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Like you mentioned watching George St. Pierre train before or him being coached. Well, I got to watch GSP training with Henzo Gracie and John Donaher at Henzo School in New York City. This is when I just started podcasting. This is like 9 years ago. I used to do a show called Hammer Fisting.
To give people, that's like watching Herschel Walker play football or get coached, like be on the field with him if you were a fan of football. You're like, whoa, I'm right here.
I'm talking about like as far as you guys are for me, I'm watching them train, I'm watching both of them give him like it was really cool. It was a really, really cool thing. Wait, how do we even get there? I'm sorry.
We're talking about him being coachable and him listening and you watch him train with
No, how do we even get to the George St. Pierre? How do we get back to that? What we were talking about before that? I'm sorry.
Marijuana has pros and cons, and here is the con.
Being able to watch it from the training process.
Oh, right. So with comedy, it's like that. Thank you, Jamie. You guys hit enough. I don't know what you paid, but it's not enough. That process was an amazing thing to watch. Now, if I went to it and I paid $600 for a front row seat and I was like, I'm watching a fight right now, and I'm watching a George St. Pierre UFC champion fight, I would be vastly disappointed with that experience. I would go, this isn't what I'm paying for. And I think when people come to comedy clubs, they think they're paying for the big fight night. The big fight night's a special. Big fight night's which you're the album you're recording, whatever it is. Basically everything leading up to that, but to a certain degree, if you're headlining on the road doing an hour, there's a certain responsibility. They're paying a heavy price ticket for a real show, but they should have at least a little bit of an understanding that they're watching the process, and if they understood it, they would appreciate it more. They would go, oh shit, I heard this guy do that joke before. I noticed the nuance and I noticed the difference.
Some people want to hear the new shit, but that's cool too. Just sit around and wait.
I used to just fucking do the hits. How cool would that be?
Yeah, they used to get angry if he didn't do the hits. Like,
Yeah, I think they start calling out Hot Pocket, and he's like, he'll do it.
He has to. I think he has to. I think Bert Kreischer has to tell the machine story still, right?
30-minute story. It's half the hour.
Doesn't he still tell that story? I think he still tells that story.
I'm sure people will be mad.
Bert is taking his shirt off in the original room of the Comedy Store as well. He would save the shirt off for the main room, but now he's taking it to the next level. So he takes the shirt off immediately.
It's at Starbucks. Take the shirt off.
They're way too close to him, so they all get uncomfortable. They're like, what are you doing?
I wish I was comfortable being fat. Dougie, if I could be comfortable being fat, I would be so happy. Because I was a fat kid growing up, and I got in really good shape in my mid to late 20s. Got started eating right, exercising, got really into it. And now every winter I get fat, every summer I get back in shape, and I just yo-yo back and forth.
And cold weather life.
And it's you're right, it is, because I don't want to sweat. You don't know, Joe, you've never been a fat guy, and I don't want to hear this bullshit that you were fat when you were a teenager.
Never fat.
Okay? You don't know what it's like.
I don't know what it's
walking upstairs and having you could feel your ass sweating. You could feel your thighs sticking together. It's just an uncomfortable, like, knowing that, like, if you're eating something in public, that there are other people that are health conscious looking at you and judging you. And I know that because I've been on the other side. Because now I watch fat people on Subway eating potato chips, I'm like, even if I'm fat, I'm like, look, put them away. What are you doing?
Yeah, why are you killing yourself with that nonsense?
Yeah.
Probably tastes delicious.
Unbelievable.
In the moment, right? Some barbecue. What is that stuff? When you get barbecue chips, what is
barbecue?
First of all, it does not taste like barbecue. It has a taste, and that taste is barbecue potato chip taste. It's not barbecue
Orange
taste.
dust, whatever the flavor is, yeah.
Grape flavor doesn't taste like
Not
grapes
at all.
Yeah.
But you know, like, if you
That's
have grape
racist,
bubble gum, but if someone gives you a tasty grape bubble gum, you're like, oh, this is grape. Like, bitch, it doesn't taste like a grape.
Yeah, not
That's
at
so
all.
true.
Yeah, it's true.
So true.
Yeah.
Orange soda. Yeah, bitch, that is not orange. Like, what is that? This is not the taste of orange at all. This doesn't taste like orange.
Yeah, that's
weird.
Dude, food, it's so fucking bad, dude.
What is barbecue potato chips? What the fuck is that taste? Because that's a weird taste, right? That does not taste like
It's
barbecue.
not, I tell you this much, it does not grow on the earth. Whatever it is, it's some long words and some scientific sounding shit that
Methylalanine, mylfiscapane.
should not be putting into your body.
Oh, there's gotta be some trans fats in them bitches too.
Come on, Joe. It's 2019.
You're allowed to
easy.
say that.
Oh, you're allowed to say trans fats?
Still allowed to say trans fats.
Let's get in there, though.
You can say trans. Trans is okay. Just don't deviate with new sounds with your face.
Yeah.
And mean the exact same thing. People get furious. Trans fats are okay.
Trans fats.
But people get mad if you say it too much. Like, do you just get off on saying trans? Is it only saying trans fats? Well, not at all.
Also, trannies have great sense of humor. If you've ever hung out, a lot of them. Well, every trans person that I know, and I'm friends with two that I'm pretty close with, and I know a handful. Yeah, they have great sense of humor. Gay people have great sense of humor. Black people, Hispanic people, all people, all these protected groups have great sense of humor. If you go to a black room and do racist jokes, what we deemed as racist jokes by young liberal white people, they love it, dude. They fucking bounce off the walls. They're having a blast. It's
If
all
they're good jokes.
Yes, but that's just they're not getting offended. They'll boo you off stage, but they're not going like this person needs to lose their job. I'm highly offended by these jokes.
Yeah.
I never see that. I never see a black person or a Hispanic person being the one actually complaining about something. It's always some fucking annoying white chick.
Some fucking barbecue chip fan.
Yeah.
What's in that stuff?
Barbecue
What is that barbecue chip?
Barbecue flavor, paprika, mesquite, smoke flavor,
That's what it is?
extract, garlic powder, and maltodextrose. All that kind of shit.
Maltodextrose. That's a sugar, right?
Yeah,
Is that some kind of sugar?
Probably.
It is a weird acceptance. The barbecue chip flavor. We accept that flavor. It's great, but it does not taste like fucking barbecue.
I would never go with barbecue.
Barbecue chips?
Never.
I'll take them every time. How about
Barbecue's like sauce. It's that thick sauce.
Yeah.
I guess. Lick on
Yes.
sauce.
Yeah,
My
I would go
favorite
with
for sure is sea salt and vinegar. You want some potato chips? I'll fuck up some sea salt and vinegar.
I like
That's my favorite.
salt and pepper.
That's good too.
Not bad.
That's good too.
Get the salt, vinegar, almonds.
Those are really fun. Yeah, why sea salt? Why am I so pretentious? I want to smell from the ocean. Sea salt.
I don't know if I can taste the fucking difference. Could you tell the difference with
I'd like
regular
to know.
salt?
I'd like to know if I can. I
no
bet
idea.
I can. I bet Himalayan salt tastes a little different. Maybe. What do you think? Probably, right? Probably like a little different.
You could probably taste the difference between all flavors if you did blind taste test.
I would beg to disagree.
Dude, if you want to cook a steak, especially a ribeye, and you don't have kosher salt, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You want that thick ass.
What make it kosher salt?
I don't know.
Is it actually kosher?
The Jews use magic.
The Jews are praying over it?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Weed. It's weed, Joe.
I killed like at least 4 laptops. That's one of the reasons why I switched to a Windows laptop. I have a Lenovo, not just for the best keyboard, but also because the fucking things are waterproof. Like, how does Apple not have waterproof computers?
Yeah.
You spill your coffee on your Apple computer, that shit is dead.
Also, the iPhone is not waterproof. I watched 5 friends go, yeah, it's waterproof, and just dunk it in water, and then it goes off. Bobby Kelly did that.
so stupid.
My girlfriend did that. We were in Jamaica. She thinks it's waterproof, and she starts taking these photos of the waves coming up to the phone, so it's like half in the water, half without. And it's,
Oh my god.
that's it. Phone
Water
done.
resistant.
Yeah.
Water resistant.
We don't know if it's raining. It's fine.
Yeah. And make sure you have the one that's water resistant. Like, you might have an older model.
Yeah.
Like, I have an iPhone for the ocean. But the fucking laptops, they short out. I've shorted out how many? Jim, how many have I killed?
5, 6, easily.
I at least killed 4 laptops.
One time I'm leaving this gang, so I was drinking red wine. Louis J. Gomez.
Louis J. Gomez.
Just Louis J. Gomez. Drinking a glass of red wine. And I knocked it over at Big J. Big J had just bought a brand new pair of sneakers, like $150 sneakers. Jay's deep down inside, he's trash. So he he needs expensive things to make himself feel good. But these were beautiful white sneakers, just got them. And the wine, the entire glass fell into the laptop. I mean, literally all the liquid disappeared into the laptop.
Right.
And one splash just went splat right on the front of his shoe. Right on the red wine, that's it. And he couldn't be mad because my $1,600 laptop had just been destroyed, so he couldn't be like, oh, my $150 shoes.
Why aren't laptops all fucking waterproof? That's what I'm saying. Like, fix that, stupid. Do they just want to make a lot of money in repairs? Is that what that is?
Maybe. Planned obsolescence. They know people are going to be dumb.
Why doesn't Apple listen? Listen, folks. You gotta make better keyboards. Your keyboards are dog shit.
Also, the volume on the MacBook Air is garbage.
What do you say, Jamie?
I just saw someone tweet about that today. There's like an article someone wrote. Apple doesn't like from their stance. They don't buy that. It's a big problem. The keyboard issue.
Oh, but the
I think
keyboard
it's a
issue
small
is that's a breaking keyboard. The keyboards suck even if they work perfectly. They suck for writing. There's no travel. It's a very short travel, and it's flat. Like, it doesn't feel good for your hands.
You know, I think you just get used to it. That's
It's stupid. You shouldn't have to get used to it. Like, if you like a Lenovo keyboard, it's so much better.
Today.
You know what it is? I think their whole thing was
Apple's
sort
terrible
of
butterfly keyboard, a personal journey.
the feel of it, right? So it feels very smooth when you touch it. When you take it out of the box, it feels...
I'll tell you what it is. It's the way it looks. They like the fact that it looks really thin, really sleek, so they made these keys as shallow as possible. So they just click, 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 so everything's real small and looks sleek as fuck. That's what it is. It's not for function. If they had function, it'd be like a little dip to the center of the key, so your fingers would fit in it normally, and there would be some travel. Because when you have some travel with your keys, then your fingers get a better sense of what you're doing, and you're more precise.
That's the Italian. You need your hands moving around more.
No, you need better precision.
Yeah.
It's more precise whether or not you're touching something. You get better feedback, so you can type better. But I show it in like words per minute. When they show like people who are like really good typists, how many words per minute they can do with a really good keyboard versus a flat, shallow keyboard. So even experienced like high-level typists are way better with like something that has some travel.
If I try to type on a regular keyboard right now, it would feel like it's an alien thing because I'm so used to it now.
Yeah, well, I guess you can get used to it. But I don't even mean like a regular keyboard, like just like a laptop keyboard. It doesn't have to be like some crazy, but just have enough extra travel. There's like a number they think it is like 1.5 millimeters or something like that, and they would like anything between 1.5 and 2 millimeters is good. You get that travel and you get a feeling of it, and it's a lot of feedback. Anything shorter than that is bad.
So you're saying it's actually a better writing experience?
Yes. It's easier. It's easier to write. Like your fingers find the keys better. I'm not a good typer, but I'm half decent. I don't look at the keys.
1967.
I've been doing those. I did those Mavis Bacon teaches typing. I did all those little courses where it's like a game that you play.
Okay.
You ever seen it?
No.
Oh, it's fun. It's really cool. Like they make it like a little game. Like things will go across the screen and you have to type it with your finger. It shows you like a map of where your hands are in relationship to the keys. It shows you like where you should move your fingers. And then there's something will pop up and you're like, oh, that's an L. Here's an L.
Yeah.
And you'll start doing this. And as you're doing this, you get better and better. And then they ask you to start forming sentences. And after a while, you get like a really good sense of where the keys are.
Yeah, I almost felt like the game Guitar Hero, they should have made it with like a real guitar because I feel like they didn't teach people guitar. If they made a game where they just started, you sort of like have to hit those beats and your fingers start getting used to it. I was in typing class in the 6th grade.
thing I just discovered. It's called tap. Like little sensors you put on your fingers, and you tap little gestures, and it types for you. So you don't need a keyboard anymore.
What in the holy fuck?
I don't know if it would be useful. I don't know if you'd like it. I don't know if you could get used to it and actually better. But
It's gonna suck right now. Give me 5 years. It's gonna be goddamn garbage right now. The technology sucks.
This is a Tom Cruise movie. Look at this. This guy moving stuff around with his fingers. This is insane.
it could be cool. I mean, you want tactile feedback, I'm sure, but like just they could add a little bit of a vibration, maybe, and that could be enough. I don't know.
Look, it's entirely possible that these typers, if you left them alone with one of those shallow keyboards, eventually they'd get used to it and they would put their numbers of words per minute just back up to where it was before. But for me, it's just an easier experience.
I don't use any of the new technology like Alexa or those things.
The bitch is listening, always.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's crazy. It's over. I sort of given up. Like, all right, guys, you have an online profile. Everything I type in is online. Everything we say, it's being picked up. Stores are eventually going to have just Alexa and their own versions of whatever that is, where you just say it into the air. It's all listening. It's all going into a database, and eventually, I think what they're going to do is they're going to have the technology to like go through podcasts and find the no-no words. They'll have an algorithm to go back and start listening to what you're not supposed to say. Start taking old content off the internet. That's very close on the way. Guaranteed.
I'm sure. No, we're in the middle of a hurricane in technology. Yeah. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. But these virtual reality goggles typing on his arm.
Yeah.
Why moving things around in some virtual desktop? That's like straight out of a futuristic film, right?
I'm interested to see where it's going to go.
That's Minority Report, right? I mean, Minority Report, they didn't have glasses. They just did it on the screen. And we were like, that is insane. That is insane. But that's like, Windows 13 or something.
Yeah, it's actually not impressive. When you watch Minority Report now, you're like, okay, it's a fucking touchscreen.
We need all those psychics.
Yeah, if you have psychics that can predict crimes.
Hey, what in the fuck kind of weird body slavery was that? Psychics strapped into a tub all day? Like, what was that? Is that what they want? Like, how do they not see this coming? They get roped in being covered in milk and left in that pool. What the fuck was that?
That was a weird fucking movie.
That's a weird fucking movie, right? Like, they needed those people to figure out crime, right? Isn't that how they did it?
That was the idea. But you didn't have free will anymore.
So the idea that those people are like, I forget, were they special? Like, what, X-Men type people?
Precognition ability.
Yeah, they had bad powers. But I guess the thing would be like, well, why wouldn't you go to this guy and say, don't commit the crime? And then the day passes, he doesn't commit the crime, and you...
Yeah, say, hey man, I know you're going to go rob this bank, and it's really going to fuck up your life and everybody else's life, so don't go rob the bank. Then have to get a shoot out of the cops. Yeah.
Have you seen this?
What the fuck is barbecue potato flavor?
This new Amazon store. I don't know if these are fully out yet, but this is the way it's going to work. Like, this guy walks in, he scans his phone on like basically like a turnstile to walk into the subway. That store lets the store know you're there. And you don't pay for anything.
Oh, you walk
grab
out
what
and
you want,
scan?
walk out. And it sort of knows what you grab and charges you off of your account.
This is what's going to happen for everyone that wants a minimum wage raised. This is coming, guys. Nobody can be working in these places.
This is weird. They're going to eliminate shoplifting. This is a weird looking, everything in plastic like that freaks me out. I feel like we're in a movie.
There's a couple grocery stores like that here already. I don't know if you've seen that.
Well, the airport, you don't even deal with people anymore. You just go up and you pick it up and you scan it out yourself.
Yeah.
And
well, Andrew Yang, who's running for president on this universal basic income idea, is one of the things he's doing this for is to educate people the fact that all these jobs are going away. Automation is going to take over many, many millions of jobs in this country, and we have to be prepared for all these people essentially being, technologies remove them from the workforce. They're not needed anymore. So then they have to figure out, what do I do next? And then universal basic income, he thinks, would be the bridge.
What is universal basic income?
The idea is you get a certain amount of money for free.
To live.
Yeah, and I don't know how it works. I'm not an economist. I'm a moron, right? I'm not smart.
Yeah.
I don't understand the numbers. I don't get if he's right or if he's wrong. I'm not the guy. I don't have the time. I'm not going to invest in it. But it's a debate. And the debate is, if this is coming, what do you do about it? It's not whether or not it's coming. It's pretty likely that it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty likely that all these people are going to be out of work. Automation's going to take over for driving. It's going to take over a lot of
Taco
factory
Bell
jobs.
right now, you do not order from a human being. Yeah. You type it into a kiosk, they send it over, and to be honest with you, it's a better experience.
Damn.
It's better. it's cheaper and better. So at what point do you go like, I'm not like, look, that's fine. You know, I understand there's some kid who lost his Taco Bell job, but if it's a better way and it's a better experience for the customer who's spending money,
yeah, I get it, man. The thing is, it's happened so fast, people aren't going to be prepared for it. They're going to think a certain amount of jobs are going to be available, and then a vast number of those are not going to be around anymore. So his idea is, the way you bridge the gap is you give people something that meets their needs, like your need for food and shelter. Just give them enough so that everything else they make, they get to keep, it's theirs, and let them, give them like a boost. And the idea is that doing this would save money long term in a bunch of different ways. It's a lot of theoretical.
Would I pay less in taxes with this?
Question.
If that's the case, then I'm all for it.
Does it always have to, like, here's the thing. We never know. We don't get an audit of where our taxes go, right? We don't have
no idea.
I have no idea where the fuck it goes, right?
Well, it's distributed throughout.
If it went and you knew that it made an impact, it really did make a difference. And like you knew that the people that are taking there's no waste, and they're really trying to make the world a better place.
Oh yeah.
But just like a little bit of your money. You'd be like, oh, okay, you're trying to make the world a better place. And clearly these people are making the world a better place. Yeah. If you knew that for sure and you felt that for sure, you're like, I like the attitude behind this. We're community oriented. We're gonna fix the United States. Here, take some of my money.
That'd be great.
But it's not that.
But then
It's
try to go get your
channel.
license renewed over the phone and see the amount of people you have to talk to, the amount of times you get hung up on, the amount of times you have to call back, and you realize there's all of these wasted jobs, all these people that don't need to be there. Yeah. And it's, to be honest with you, everyone is sort of protecting that. There's an entire industry of people that work 45 minutes per day and they like it that way. They don't want to have it without a real passion. This is what they do. So yeah, everyone sort of, I watch it in the entertainment industry all the time. Like we create these shows and we do these things, and you know, you guys have a very popular show. If this was a studio run show, if this was run by ABC, Your Rogan Experience, change nothing. If they, well, you know what they would do? There'd be literally 20 people behind cameras right now, clipboards, there'd be people on walkie-talkies, there'd be headsets, all of these jobs that don't need to be there, guaranteed. Have you ever gone to there's a lot of studios in LA where it's like just sort of corporate run podcast studios,
yeah, man, it's
and there's 10 people behind the camera, like, what are you doing?
I did Bill Simmons' HBO show. Really nice guy. You know, he has that big podcast.
I don't know it, no.
You know, right, Shane? Yeah. And I was, we basically did a podcast just with cameras, but there was like 30 people there.
Yep.
There are all these people that are doing this and that, like every other studio job.
Yeah. And who's stepping up? Nobody stepped up going, hey guys, I'm not really needed here, just so you know, I'm gonna dip out.
No way, no. There's union gigs too, by the
Yep.
way. Like, if you want to have lighting and you want to have cameras, you have to use these guys. And this is how, I mean, even if you don't need them, you would have to use it. It's interesting. Like, and on one hand, for the longest time, I think people didn't have as many opportunities. You know, you really, if you wanted to do something, no matter what it would be, whether it's a television show or you wanted to be a host of a talk show or whatever the fuck it was, there's not that many paths. There's only like a couple of avenues. There's only a few channels. There's only a few slots ever, right, for all those shows. But now it's just not the case anymore, man.
Yeah.
This is not the case. There's a fucking million different channels. If you get roped into that old mentality, there's still a few of those old vampires that are clinging to that old system.
Yeah.
And they would rather you come do it on television. They'll chop it up every 15 minutes, put a big fat
It's
commercial.
crazy. Have you ever like, because I was on Sirius XM for a while doing a show, and it's just
They
like...
fire you? They fired Apollo. Said, you're out of here.
Yeah, they did. He tweets some crazy shit. He tweets medical job, can't tweet crazy shit.
Like he's Nick Apollo. That's what you get. That's what you hired.
No, I quit.
Something
It was me and Bisping, and Bisping kept on just not showing up. He was like done with it basically, and they tried to match me up with a football player, and I was like, fuck it, me and Bisping are going to start a podcast, and now we're doing literally 50 times as good. I mean, it's not even close, but it's, we have all these, there's 3 producers in the studio. We have, it's just all of like the spirit and the fun part and the entertaining part of it is sort of sucked out of it. They're very specific segments, and it's regimented, and your producers have to know exactly where you're going with the next thing, and you're like, we're not going to get anywhere cool or interesting if we're this regimented.
Yeah.
If you're not allowing us to sort of play, you're not going to really, and this is why I think, you know, radio is getting destroyed by podcasts right now. You see Sirius XM now, they're going, shit, we got to start a podcast network. They're starting their own podcast now.
Oh, no, they did. They bought Pandora.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Is that true?
I believe it's a partnership.
Yeah, I think I heard something like that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Spotify's with Hulu now. I just got an email about that. Like, you get a free Hulu subscription with your Spotify.
it's all crazy. They're also, they don't know what to do now. Now they're like, podcasting, that's the thing. So they're just throwing so much money at all these companies.
They're buying companies, so hundreds of millions of dollars.
$230 million, they just bought one. Another company, $130 million.
It feels like one of those early day tech boom things
Yeah.
where everybody's just like going crazy and spending all this money. It's like, whoa. Okay, what are you doing? Why spend that much money? Like,
How could you
buy
possibly?
it?
By the way, the company they bought is just an idea. I mean, what is it really? We have this idea for this app, and me and my partner, we have our own podcast network called Guest Digital, and we've been practicing what we're doing. Like we have premium content that we have on the app
Do
and
you,
on the
you
website.
guys have people have to pay for some of your shit?
All of the podcasts are free. The latest 15 are free on YouTube and iTunes, and then the on-demand library is a premium with ad-free is premium, so we insert the ads after the fact. Uncensored, they get like a 3 or 4 day pre-release on the episodes. So there's all these benefits for becoming a premium member, and you know a certain percentage of people subscribe to the network with the premium stuff, which is great. But we've been putting this into practice for years now, and now we're watching these companies get bought out for $230 million. We're like, huh?
Yeah, you guys are disgusting. Like, you guys
No,
know
we can't.
It's over. No one's gonna pay for that. You're gonna be connected with you. You guys get too crazy. Get too
You're right.
crazy.
You're 100% right.
But you don't. But that's the beautiful thing. It's like you don't really need that.
No, I
thing.
don't want it. If somebody put $230 million into my company right now, we would have bosses. We would be told we can't say that. Like, are you crazy? Did you guys just have a Bill Cosby rape victim beauty pageant on Legion of Skanks? Did that actually just happen? Which did. It was a great episode, guys. Go check it out. It could fucking.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But the point is that these companies, they're showing that they're understanding there's something going on with the podcasting world. They're just throwing a lot of money at it. I mean, look, if they're buying really good companies and they're making really good podcasts, I'm happy. I love podcasts. I love listening to them. I hope they do well. But it's just shocking. And obviously, I'm not a business person. Maybe there's some sort of
very much a business person.
plan to it. Maybe there's some sort of a grand plan. Maybe there's like some sort of a podcast battleground between like Apple and Spotify, streaming services.
Well, people are doing premium shit too, where they're buying out podcasts and they're only putting it on. You have to be a subscriber for Spotify or whatever else it is. Like just trying to use
music type shit.
Yeah, this podcast grow by sharing. You have to be able to share. You know, people have to be able to download it for free, to fall in love with the content, and then that's it. They'll come buy a ticket, they'll buy a t-shirt, whatever it is. So I think it's a little bit, I think it's a little counterintuitive. I don't think it's a good idea to hide podcasts behind a paywall.
I wonder what they're going to try to do. See, Spotify doesn't have to hide anything behind a paywall, but there are some companies that are trying to do something behind a paywall, and they're paying for a bunch of different podcasts, and they're going to launch it like a network.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Kumi does that a little bit with Compound Media.
We were on his network for a while. We were the first show booked to his network, and I think it's a mistake. And I love Anthony, and I've told him this. I offered to go work with Anthony when we first had the network. I think that he should do what we do. If Anthony put out his shows free, he would be constantly discovered by new people, and then figuring out how to get a higher percentage of people to subscribe to your premium content, and you will continue to grow that number. And it's just literally every time we do a podcast, there's X amount of new listeners that are discovering it for the first time, so you have sort of another opportunity. If people aren't discovering your podcast, it's an issue. But I think they did start doing some free episodes on Compound.
Yeah, they put free ones up occasionally. Like, he's a really brilliant guy. He's a fun dude, too.
He's one of the funniest,
crazy.
one of the funniest people. Period. I love broadcasting with Anthony. It's a legend. It's a legend. I mean, you know, I didn't even grow up on Opie and Anthony. I never listened to Opie and Anthony once in my entire life until after I knew Anthony. And I started listening back to old shit like Patrice and Norton's great friend at Norton.
Dude, when they were all on together, those are some of the best episodes ever. You know, Patrice, Norton, and Anthony just going crazy about things.
Yeah.
Fuck. Great show, man.
Yeah.
Opie and Anthony taught me how to do a podcast in a lot of ways.
I've heard you say that.
It was like a hang. I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be that structured where someone's got like a list of questions and they're rattling it off. Like, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, a hang is fun. You know?
A hang, even when it goes bad, it's funny.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's what Opie and Anthony figured out, which was great. It's like when it's bad, it's even better.
Yeah.
Because when somebody bombs or there's a joke that goes well, then the entire room just smashes them. Yeah. And people don't know. I don't know if you've ever told a joke that didn't go well in a room of people. It's awful. And then have the best comics in the world start trashing you live on air while millions of people are listening around the country. Oh my God, dude, it's so good.
It also enforced the camaraderie between comedians in like that kind of form. We'd all get together and see, like, you'd meet a bunch of different comics at the show too. You meet guys from like you might be sitting with some comic from Philly.
Right.
You know, you get to know people that way.
Yeah.
That they did that for sure. That like that definitely like it enforced it a little bit. You know.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you know, you're sort of having 3 or 4 people that are really smart, that are good at radio, good at broadcasting as well, be able to react in real time. You're gonna get these things you just couldn't get it anywhere else. You know, it's such a yeah, and those guys were some of the best at it. You know. The whole way it went down, you know, at the end of it kind of sucked.
Well, really, it's not just the birth of podcasting because of that. It's for a couple reasons. Opie and Anthony, in my opinion, are like the birth of podcasting. One of them is Anthony built his own studio in his basement, where he would do karaoke holding a machine gun. He's fucking crazy.
So he was, you know, his logo was, it looked like a swastika from afar.
No,
I swear to God, he's a psycho.
way.
Again, he stopped leaning in to the white supremacist stuff. I'm trying to be friends with you.
Does he think he's doing it for he's a
He thinks it's funny.
He thinks it's funny.
Well, he's also a 60-year-old Italian guy from Long Island.
What is that?
If you talk to most 60-year-old Italian men in Long Island, they're going to have some fairly controversial views on race and politics in the country. And, you know, I think when he left Sirius XM, he leaned a little bit too much into the political side, and he sort of got, you know, now he's pegged as like a right-wing guy, but I'm a fucking Puerto Rican kid who was raised...
Well, I think he's definitely right-wing.
Well, he is right-wing, but I'm just saying, I don't think that... that's not what I look at. When I broadcast with Anthony, I don't talk about politics.
Right.
We just talk about whatever. We talk about fucking stupid shit, potato chips.
Well, he'll talk to you about anything. He'll talk about politics, too. He's not a dumb guy. He's
No,
a
not
very
at all.
smart guy. He's just crazy. He's fun. You know, look, it's not perfect. No one is.
Yeah. I don't look at people that, number one, I don't give a fuck about what anybody's political views are. I would never hang out with somebody or not hang out with them based off of what their political views are. If that is their entire identity, then it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Because then you're probably an issue to them, right?
Well, so many people are, so many people unnecessarily.
Yeah.
There's so much unnecessary conflict. You know, I mean, some of it's good, but some of it's just not. You can be friends with people you don't agree. Me and Nick DiPaolo disagree with like 75% of shit. I love the guy. I always love hanging out with him. I've known him forever. Never do I say, God, it's Nick again. I love it when he gets mad about shit. Yeah, well, you don't know what fucking Obama did.
Yeah. That's right. He's on that Cameo website, and you can just pay him to trash your liberal friends.
Oh, that's funny.
It's so fucking funny. He'll just like, what, you like fucking Hillary, you fucking faggot? In his kitchen.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Wife beater on.
Yeah. But look, Patrice, you know, I remember I watched, my son's mother was in labor for 30 hours. Fucking crazy long labor. Overnight. The next morning, she's like lying down, and he's like in the little fucking other room or whatever. I'm watching like a fan-made Patrice O'Neal documentary, and he's just saying like the most heinous shit about how women aren't shit, and about how fucking a bitch, you know, she needs you. And I just watched my son's mother push my son out of her for 30 hours. It was fucking, I mean, the whole experience was so mind-blowing. And in my mind, I could never in a million years do what she just did. I had this whole other appreciation for what a woman is. It's like it blows your mind when you got kids. And then Patrice is fucking up there just, this big fat black guy saying horse shit because he's fucking, but it's the funniest shit on the planet.
Yeah.
The absolute funniest shit on the planet, and you can laugh at it. You don't have to get mad at it. I don't agree with half the shit. Most of the shit that he says. All that fucking, look, dude, I'm an idiot. I don't go after women that are below me. I don't go after women that are above me and that sort of elevate me and make me want to be better. I think it's a little check and balance system I have for myself, you know? But you don't have to be so connected to whatever the message is. You can literally take it for face value, which is, it's just really funny, like undeniably funny.
Yeah, he was a monster. And he had points. Really good psychological insight. He knew what made people tick. He knew what made people say stupid shit.
Yeah.
He knew what made people stumble. He was a master at understanding like how to get off controversial ideas.
Yeah.
You know, he was, but his contribution for a lot of us was he had an extra level of I don't give a fuck. You know, like you'd see on roasts, he'd roast and he was like I don't even know why I'm up here. You're not even on my level.
Yeah, it was Charlie Sheen.
Yes, yeah.
Charlie Sheen roast. Yeah, he just went off script through the paper.
Yeah,
And he just
brilliant. He murdered. He's a killer, man.
And he only did that one because I guess he agreed because he said that was the only guy who was interested in roasting. He was like, I'm not doing it for the paycheck. Charlie Sheen's a fucking G.
Yeah. Well, it's just that he's, you know, he just had this don't give a fuck style.
Yeah.
And we all, I think, speaking for myself, I appreciate the don't give a fuck style more than any other style of comedy. For me, my favorite shit was like, first of all, Joey Diaz, but then we go back to the greats like Kinnison and Hicks, and these guys didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They went off, and it was the most fun to watch. As a person who's an audience member, for me, it was the most fun to watch.
I agree. And I think, you know, that's the shit. We grew up on that, and then society changes. And I'm like, no, dude, I've been working on this for so long. Please let me. I have to change my entire foundation of what I think is funny now because, and it's almost, and that's why I think guys at Legion of Skanks and the special.
What did you guys name it, Legion of Skanks?
Me and Big J. Okay, so Big J would constantly cheat on his wife, and it was like a regular occurrence, and she knew it, and everyone knew it. And one time we were there and we were hanging out, and we were about to leave her in an argument. She's like, "Fuck you! Why don't you go hang out with your Legion of Skanks?" And me and Big J, we were both playing Guitar Hero at the time. That was like a big game at the time. We both looked at each other, we were like, Guitar Hero name, and that's what we named our band initially. Guitar Hero was Legion of Skanks, and then we're not that creative, so we wrote a script.
How long ago was this?
Probably 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago, the name, and then that was the Guitar Hero band. Maybe even more. Probably more. Yeah, actually, way more. Because it was right when me and Big J became friends. And then we wrote,
Legion of Skanks is a great name. It's probably one of the all-time greatest names of anything, right? You stop to think about like bands or television. Legion of Skanks.
Yeah.
That is a great name.
Thank you.
That's a great name.
Yeah. Well, I got to give it to Big J because he recognized it immediately, and then every project we ever did since then has been named Legion of Skanks until the podcast worked.
It's a good move.
Yeah. And it's, you know, people know what they're getting. They get it, dude. They get it. And to be honest with you, people want that type of humor. That's the other thing. Is like it's the new alternative. Is like dirty, edgier, ballsy shit.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Look, if you like punk rock, you should be able to listen to punk rock. But if you like the kind of comedy that some people like, aggressive, like outlandish comedy, if that's what you like, then you should be able to enjoy it or not. It's up to you. It's like you don't have to like it, you don't have to listen, you don't have to watch. It's not that it makes you immune from criticism if people don't like it, but you know, everybody's got different tastes.
And to be honest with you, if I want to sit here and deconstruct everything that could trigger me in life, I'm just not a bitch. I don't sit here and I'm triggered every moment by the amount of shit that I've seen in my fucking life. Everything triggers me. Everything triggers me. And every movie that I watch, if there's some fuck up scene, I can go, oh, that reminds me of some fuck up shit. But you have to appreciate those things. Don't you sort of want everything to be represented? And even with comedy, we look at this, rape jokes is like a big no-no topic, right? You can't do rape jokes anymore. And I understand
you know Method's bit, right?
Which one?
Well, I can't say it. Shit.
Oh, because you can put it on a special?
I'm sure he is. I'll tell you about it after.
That's the first time I met him, by the way. I was over there in Montreal like years ago.
Oh, many moons at that little place. The comedy works.
Yeah.
Jimbo's joint.
Yep.
It's a great little spot, man.
Yeah, yes, rape jokes will work. I close my special with a rape joke.
How dare you? How dare you try to pass that off to America? But I can't do the bit, but the bit's excellent. Remind me and I'll tell you about because it's one of those premise working to premise.
Yeah, so it has to be a very high level. But the woman in the crowd who was raped a month ago was like, I'm going to go to a comedy club to feel better. She's not wrong if she's triggered, but she becomes wrong when she tries to take away the experience from other people. You have to walk away. You have every right. And I feel bad. I've had girls come up to me after shows and be like, hey, just so you know, that really bothers me. This is why, right? And it's a rape joke, whatever it is, right?
How many rape jokes you got?
Oh, at least 70% of my act. I do.
Really?
No, I'd say no. I do close my act with a 10-minute rape joke.
Yeah, you said that, but I mean, how many rape jokes, like overall, do you have?
Sounds just like a rape, or is it?
No, bits.
I mean, really, just that one rape. It's a long bit, though. So there's a lot of jokes within it. And I'm being raped in the joke most of the time. Okay. So that's, I think that's why it's the guy being raped. It helps. But I don't want to ruin the bit either. But I think you have to, I respect the fact that people can be triggered. But it's a very strange thing to me because, for me, I'm always trying to find something really funny from this dark shit, right? Whether it's a personal experience or whatever it is. And the way we're looking at it as comics is we're trying to find something really positive out of something really shitty. Then you like a movie, which is just, maybe it's a fucked up scene. There's not, I mean, look, it's a positive piece of content.
Can't tag it to one person talking.
Yeah.
You know, it's a scene. We watch people act out a scene.
You're right.
There's something very personal about one person talking. That's why this is how some people would look at it. Like, you should talk about things that you really care about while you're doing that. Because you only have a certain amount of time to do it. You know? And sometimes you have a bit that's just not worth it. You know, like the way people react to it, it's just like, even though you have a point, it's like, even working this bit out, people get so upset. It's almost not worth it.
No, it has to be a net positive. The crowd has to be laughing. Yeah. So there's no, I will defend somebody's right to tell a shitty joke, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I understand, if as a performer, you have to gauge the audience. You put your finger in the air and go, okay, which way is the wind blowing right now? The reality is you can't say things you used to say. You can't say faggot on stage anymore. In a crowd in New York or LA, you can't say that word. The crowd will tighten up and shut down. You'll ruin the rest of whatever that joke is. So it's
you obviously haven't seen Diaz recently.
Did he say faggot a lot?
Say whatever he wants.
Oh, he's awesome.
We'll say whatever he wants. But I got a point.
I have a joke about my dog, and I used to say my faggot dog because he's looking at another male dog's asshole in the joke, and people would shut down at that word. And it's really, to be honest with you, New York and LA, that's where the biggest faggots live. The rest of the country is cool. If you go anywhere else, they don't really give a shit about words like that. But in New York and LA, it's become a particularly hard thing to, there's certain words and certain things. It's not even the content necessarily. It's just those words that sort of set people's sensors off.
Well, there's always going to be a bunch of words like that. What's really interesting is what does happen when you stop people from saying it, because it's kind of counterintuitive. Because those words become these forbidden words, just
Give them more
dangerous
power.
words. There's so much more power if you don't. And I just don't think you ever get to tell people that you can't say certain words that you used to be able to say all the time. You know, I mean, the idea behind those words is still the same. Like if you say to someone, you shouldn't say retarded anymore. Even though that used to be like a term that they would use for things being slow.
Take my
like their
dainty
growth
hand
being
as I
slower,
whisk
their
you
growth
back
was
to a
retarded.
time long
But now it's even
forgotten,
used as a
long
technical
before
term,
the
like in the growth
the
was
poop
retarded.
hit the
People would get
fan
upset at you.
here.
Yeah, don't
The
use that
year
anymore.
was
Now that's forbidden town. Even if it doesn't mean what they think it means. It's talking about a person with Down syndrome. Like
whatever.
hearing the R
Self-made
word.
billionaire,
You talked about your special. That was a great day.
and
Like, just, he sounds from your face like, what are you doing? It's just,
Furbottom
he's
set
making
out
these
to
different sounds
create
with
the
your mouth.
biggest,
It just sounds. Well,
richest, most thrill-inducingest theater ever. And he did, and it was the talk of the town. Trust me, if you weren't there, you were most assuredly square. People were seriously like, what, you weren't there? What are you, a nerd? Opening night was a thing to behold, as Lord Furbottom organized the grandest, jaw-dropping show ever seen. There was explosions and dancing girls who exploded, exotic animals who exploded, incredible feats of magic and wonder with fantastic production values all around. Furbottom sat for days on end, marveling at his breathtaking creation and packing handfuls of delicious, buttery popcorn into his mouth. But alas, his illogical contempt for intermissions ultimately caused his demise. During the show, Furbottom passed away, having pooped himself to death on the way to the bathroom. Legend says he clenched his butt as hard as he could, but his little cheeks just gave out. Furbottom left nothing behind but his beloved theater, his precious kitties, his hat, and of course his broken corpse, which was lovingly drifted out to sea and immediately ravaged by sharks. And that, children, is the legend of Perham Furbottom, a respectable and apparently delicious
That's because the thing where
but the
you're
show must go
feminizing
on,
the man,
right?
and now that's offensive to women. Fuck you, bitch.
Thousands
Now
of
that's
years,
offensive. Calling my body
perhaps,
pussy,
had
and you
passed
get to
from
take
head
defense
to
on that?
head,
That's some
leader
crazy
to
woman shit.
leader,
That's
and
actually
the
right there.
theater
That's
still
how crazy women
operates
are.
to this
It's not
very
because they're not,
day.
it's crazy some
And
women
what
are.
a
It's
piece
like-
of crap it's
some
become.
men
I bet
fucking crazy
Perham
dealing
is
with a
rolling
giant
over in
number
his
of
sharks
people,
right
but people
now.
find
I mean,
a little
everything's
thing with
poorly
pick on
run
it
and the
and
whole
go
place
after it like
stinks
that.
like pee and feet. And with everyone
I don't know.
involved
And then
walking a
there's
fine
very
line
funny, there's
between
no
moodiness
words
and full-blown
that
insanity,
possibly
it's only a matter of
offend me
time
that
before
ever-
something truly horrifying happens.
Well, some people
But
are
try to
looking
keep
for
a sunny
it, right? I don't
disposition
actually
as you
think
sink
they're
further into
I think
darkness,
it's like
yeah?
when you see like
Nobody
a
likes a
Puerto Rican kid get himself
crybaby.
worked up into a fight where he's like, what do you say? What do you say? And he starts like have to psychologically fucking get himself into this brawl. That's what I think people do online all day. They stoke themselves up and they don't really care. Nobody actually, if they really gave a fuck, they would go out and do something.
Well, I think a lot of them do care, but they're just expressing it on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever they're doing. I think a lot of them do care, but I think that
It's fake caring. It's too easy to pretend to care now. That's the problem.
I think
Back in
people
the day,
just
you had-
enjoy the conflict. They enjoy it.
I think so. I feel shitty. I feel so gross inside when I go back.
So, like, here's the thing: we never know. We don't get an audit where our taxes go, right? We don't have
No idea.
I have no idea what the fuck it goes, right?
Most distributed
But
throughout.
if it went and you knew that it made an impact, it really did make a difference. And like you knew that the people that are taking it, there's no waste, and they're really trying to make the world a better place.
Oh, yeah.
But they just like a little bit of your money. You'd be like, oh, okay, you're trying to make the world a better place. Like clearly these people are making the world a better place.
Yeah.
If you knew that for sure, and you felt that for sure, you're like, I like the attitude behind this is very community oriented. We're gonna fix the United States. Here, take some of my money.
That'd be great.
But it's not that.
But
It's
try
give
to
us this money,
try
or
to
you go
get
to
your
jail.
license renewed over the phone and see the amount of people you have to talk to, the amount of times you get hung up on, the amount of times you have to call back, and you realize there's all of these wasted jobs, all these people that don't need to be there. And it's, to be honest with you, everyone is sort of protecting that. There's like an entire industry of people that work 45 minutes per day and they like it that way. They don't want to have any type of real passion. This is what they do. So yeah, everyone sort of. I watch it in the entertainment industry all the time. Like we create these shows, we do these things, and you guys have a very popular show. If this was a studio-run show, if this was run by ABC, Joe Rogan Experience, change nothing. You know what they would do? There'd be literally 20 people behind cameras right now, clipboards, there'd be people on walkie-talkies, there'd be headsets, all of these jobs that don't need to be there, guaranteed. Have you ever gone to there's a lot of studios in LA with like sort of corporate-run podcast studios?
man.
There are 10 people behind the camera. Like, what are you doing?
I did Bill Simmons' HBO show. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
You know he has that big podcast.
I don't know it now.
You know him, right, Jamie? Yeah. And I was, we basically did a podcast just with cameras, but there was like 30 people there. There are all these people that are doing this and that, like every other studio job.
Yeah. And who's stepping up? Nobody's stepping up going, hey guys, I'm not really needed here. Just so you know, I'm going to dip out.
way, no. There's union gigs too, by the way. Like if you want to have lighting and you want to have cameras, you have to use these guys. And this is how, even if you don't need them, you have to use it. It's interesting. On one hand, for the longest time, I think people didn't have as many opportunities. You really, if you wanted to do something, no matter what it would be, whether it's a television show or you want to be a host of a talk show or whatever the fuck it was, there's not that many paths. There's only like a couple of avenues. There's only a few channels. There's only a few slots ever, right, for those shows. But now it's not the case anymore, man.
Yeah.
It's just not the case. There's a fucking million different channels. And if you get roped into that old mentality, like there's still a few of those old vampires that cling to that old system.
Yeah.
And they would not you come do it on television. They'll chop it up every 15 minutes, put a big fat
It's
commercial.
crazy. Have you been like, because I was on Sirius XM for a while doing a show, and it's just
They
like.
fire you? They fired Apollo. They said, you're out of here.
Yeah, they did. He tweeted some crazy shit. Dude, if you're a corporate job, you can't tweet crazy shit.
Like he's Nick Apollo.
I love Nick.
That's what you get. That's what you're hired.
No, I
Can't ask
I
me
quit.
something.
It was me and Bisping, and Bisping kept on just not showing up. He was like done with it basically,
Oh.
and they tried to match me up with like some football player, and I was like,
Jesus.
fuck it, me and Bisping are just gonna start a podcast, and now we're doing literally 50 times as good. I mean, it's not even close, but it's they have all these 3 producers in the studio. We have it's just all of like the the spirit and the fun part and the entertaining part of it is sort of sucked out of you. Very specific segments and it's regimented, and the producers have to know exactly where you're going with the next thing, and you're like, oh, we're not going to get anywhere cool or interesting if we're this regimented.
Yeah.
If you're not allowing us to sort of play, you're not going to really. This is why I think radio is getting destroyed by podcasts right now. You see Sirius XM now, they're going to ship there for the podcast network. They're starting their own podcast now.
Oh, you know they did. They bought Pandora.
Did they?
Yeah. I think so. Is that true?
I believe a partnership.
Yeah, I think I heard something like that as well.
Purchase or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Spotify's with Hulu now. It's got, you get a free Hulu subscription with your Spotify.
it's okay. So they're also doing it now. Now they're podcasting. That's the thing. So they're throwing so much money at all of these companies.
They're buying companies for like hundreds of millions of dollars.
$230 million. They just bought one. Another company, $130 million.
It feels like one of those early day tech boom things.
Yeah.
Where everybody's just like going crazy and spending all this money. Like, whoa. Okay, what are you doing? Why spend that much money?
How could you possibly? By the way, the company they bought is just an idea. I mean, what is it really? It's like we have to give this app, and me and my partner, we have our own podcast network, Podcast Digital, and we've been practicing what they're doing. Like we have premium content that we have on the app and the website.
People have to pay for some of your shit?
All the podcasts are free. The latest 15 are free on YouTube and iTunes, and then the on-demand library is a premium with ad-free is a premium. So we insert the after effect. Unintentionally, they get like 3 or 4 day pre-release on the episodes. So there's all these benefits from becoming a premium member, and a certain percentage of people subscribe to the network for the premium stuff, which is great. But we've been putting this into practice for years now. And now we're watching these companies get whatever $230 million. We're like, huh?
Yeah, but you guys are disgusting. Like, you guys.
No, we can't. It's over.
No one's gonna pay. Nope. They're gonna be connected with you. You guys get too crazy. It's
you're
crazy.
right. You're 100% right.
You don't, but that's the beautiful thing. It's like you don't really need that.
No, I don't want it. If somebody put $230 million into my company right now, we would have bosses. We would be told we can't say. They'd be like, are you crazy? Did you guys just have a Bill Cosby rape victim beauty pageant on Regional Gangs? Did that actually just happen? Which did. It was a great episode, guys. Go check it out. It gets fucking.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But the point is that these companies, they're showing that they're understanding that there's something going on with the podcasting world. They're just throwing a lot of money at it. I mean, look, if they're buying really good companies, they're making really good podcasts. I'm happy. I love podcasts. So I listen to do them. I hope they do well. But it's just shocking. And obviously, I'm not a business person, so maybe there's some
very much a business person.
plan to it. I'm not, though. Maybe there's some sort of a grand plan. Maybe there's like some sort of a podcast battle going on between like Apple and Spotify, streaming services.
Well, people are doing premium shit too, where they're buying out podcasts and they're only putting it on where you have to be a subscriber for Spotify or whatever else it is. Which is strange because the podcasts grow by sharing. You have to be able to share them. People have to be able to download it for free. They fall in love with the content, and then that will can buy a ticket, they'll buy a T-shirt, whatever it is. So I think it's a little bit, at least a little counterintuitive. I don't think it's a good idea to hide podcasts behind a paywall.
I wonder what they're going to try to do. See, Spotify doesn't have to hide anything behind a paywall, but there are some companies that are trying to do something behind a paywall, and they're paying for a bunch of different podcasts, and they're going to launch it like a network. Yeah. I mean, Kumi does that a little bit with Compound Media.
We run his network for a while. We were the first show booked to his network, and I think it's a mistake. And I love Anthony, and I told him this. I offered to go work with Anthony when he first started the network. I think that he should do what we do. Anthony put out his shows free. He would be constantly discovered by new people, and then it's figuring out how to get a higher percentage of people to subscribe to your premium content, and you will continue to grow that number. And it's just literally every time we do a podcast, there's X amount of new listeners that are discovering it for the first time, so you have sort of another opportunity. If people aren't discovering your podcast, it's an issue. But I think they did start doing some free episodes on Compound.
Yeah, they put free ones up occasionally. Look, he's a really brilliant guy. He's a fun dude.
He's one of the funniest people, period. I love broadcasting with Anthony. It's legend. I mean, I didn't grow up on Opie and Anthony. I never listened to Opie and Anthony once in my entire life until after I knew Anthony. And I started listening back to old shit with like Patrice and Norton's great. I'm friends with Norton.
Dude, when they were all on together, those are some of the best episodes ever. Patrice, Norton, and Anthony just going crazy about things. Fuck. Great show, man. Yeah. Opie and Anthony taught me how to do a podcast in a lot of ways.
I heard you say that.
It was like a hang. I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be that structured, where someone's got like a list of questions and rattling off. Like, that's not fun. Yeah. Like a hang is fun.
A hang, even when it goes bad, it's funny. Yeah. That's what Opie and Anthony figured out, which was great. It's like when it's bad, it's even better. Because when somebody bombs or there's a joke doesn't go well, then the entire room just smashes them. And people don't know. I don't care if told a joke that didn't go well in a room of people. It's awful. And then have the best comics in the world start trashing you live on air while millions of people are listening around the country. Oh my god, dude, it's so good.
It also enforced the camaraderie between communities in like that kind of a form. We'd all get together and see. Like, you'd meet a bunch of different comics at the show too. You meet guys from other. You might
fuck off.
Right. You get to know people. Yeah. That they did that for sure. That definitely it enforced it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you're sort of having 3 or 4 people that are really smart, that are good at radio, good at broadcasting as well, be able to react in real time. You're gonna get these things you just couldn't get it anywhere else. It's such a and those guys are some of the best at it. The whole way they went down, at the end it kind of sucked.
Well, really, it's not just the birth of podcasting because of that. It's for a couple reasons. Opie and Anthony, in my opinion, are like the birth of podcasting. One of them was Anthony built his own studio in his basement where he did karaoke holding a machine gun. He's fucking crazy.
So his logo was, it looked like a swastika from afar.
No.
I swear to God, he's
no
psycho. Like, if you stop leaning in to the white supremacist stuff, I'm trying to be friendly with him.
You think he's doing it for he's and ha-has?
It's funny. But he's also a 60-year-old Italian guy from Long Island.
What's he put?
If you talk to most 60-year-old Italian men in Long Island, they're going to have some fairly controversial views on race and politics in the country. And I think when he left Sirius XM, he leaned a little bit too much into the political side, and he sort of got, now he's pegged as like a right-wing guy. But I'm a fucking Puerto Rican kid who was raised.
He's definitely right-wing.
But he is right-wing. But I'm just saying, I don't think that That's not what I look at. When I broadcast with Anthony, I don't talk about politics.
Right.
You just talk about whatever. Talk about fucking stupid shit. Talk shit.
Well, he'll talk to you about anything. He'll talk about politics. Dude, he's not a dumb guy. He's a very smart guy. He's just crazy. It's fun. You know, look, it's not perfect. No way.
Yeah. I don't look at people that, number one, I don't give a fuck about what anybody's political views are. I would never hang out with somebody or not hang out with them based off of what their political views are. If that is their entire identity, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Because then you're probably an issue to them, right?
Not so many people are to so many people unnecessarily.
Yeah.
There's so much unnecessary conflict. You know, I mean, some of it's good, but some of it's just not. You can just be friends with people. I mean, Nick DePaulo disagree with 75% of shit. Love the guy. Always love hanging out with him. I've known him forever. Never do I say, God, it's Nick again. I love it when he gets mad about shit. Yeah, well, you don't know what fucking Obama did.
Yeah. It's great. He's on that Cameo website. You can just pay him to trash your liberal friends.
Oh, that's fun.
It's so fucking funny. He'll just like, what do you like, fucking Hillary, you fucking faggot? It's in his kitchen.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Life beater on.
Yeah. But look, Patrice, you know, I remember I watched, my son's mother was in labor for 30 hours, fucking crazy long labor, overnight. I remember the next morning, she's like lying down, he's like in the little fucking other room or whatever, and I'm watching like a fan-made Patrice O'Neal documentary, and he's just saying like the most heinous shit about how women aren't shit, and about how fucking a bitch, you know, she needs you. And I just watched my son's mother push my son out of her for 30 years. It was fucking, I mean, the whole experience was so mind-blowing, and in my mind, I could never in a million years do what she just did. I had this whole other appreciation for what a woman is. It's like it blows your mind when you got kids. And then Patrice is fucking up there just this big fat black guy saying horseshit because he's fucking, but it's the funniest shit on the planet. Yeah. Absolute funniest shit on the planet, and you can laugh at it. You don't have to get mad at it. I don't agree with half the shit, most of the shit that he says. All that fucking, look, dude, I'm an idiot. I don't go after women that are below me. I like to go after women that are above me and that sort of elevate me, make me want to be better. I think it's a little check and balance system I have for myself, you know? But you don't have to be so connected to whatever the message is. You can literally take it for face value, which is, it's just really funny, undeniably funny.
Yeah, he was a monster, and he had points. Really good psychological insight. He knew what made people tick. He knew what made people say stupid shit.
Yeah.
He knew what made people stumble. He was a master at understanding like how to get off controversial ideas. You know, but his contribution for a lot of us was he had an extra level of I don't give a fuck. You know, he was on roasts. He'd roast, and he was like, oh, I don't even know why I'm up here. You're not even on my level.
Yeah, it was Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
Yeah. Charlie Sheen was, and he just went off script through the paper.
Yeah.
And just that was
brilliant. He murdered. He's a killer, man.
And he only did that one because I guess he agreed because he said that was the only guy that he was interested in roasting. Like, I'm not doing it for the paycheck. Charlie Sheen's a fucking G.
Yeah. Well, it was just that he's, you know, he just had this don't give a fuck style.
Yeah.
And we all, I think, speaking for myself, I appreciate I don't give a fuck style more than any other style of comedy. For me, my favorite shit was like, first of all, Joey Diaz, then they'll go back to the greats like Kinnison and Hicks. And those guys didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They went off, and it was the most fun to watch. As a person who's an audience member, for me, it was the most fun to watch.
I agree. And I think, you know, that's the shit. We grew up on that, and then society changes, and I'm like, no, dude, I've been working on this for so long. Please let me. I have to change my entire foundation of what I think is funny now because, and it's almost like that's why I think guys like Legion of Skanks and the special.
What's your guys' name at Legion of Skanks?
Me and Big J. Okay, so Big J would constantly cheat on his wife. And it was like a regular occurrence, and she knew it, and everyone knew it. And one time we were there, and we were hanging out, we were about to leave, and we were arguing. She's like, fuck you, why don't you go hang out with your Legion of Skanks? And me and Big J, we were both in Guitar Hero at the time. That was like a big game at the time. We both looked at each other, we were like, Guitar Hero name. And that was when we named our band, initially Guitar Hero, was Legion of Skanks. And then we're not that creative, so we wrote a script.
How long ago?
Like 10 years ago? 10 years ago the name, and then we Guitar Hero band. Maybe more, probably more, yeah, actually way more. Because it was right when me and Big J became friends. And then we wrote, yeah.
Legion of Skanks is a great name. It's probably one of the all-time greatest names of anything. Right? You stop and think about like bands or television. Legion of Skanks.
Yeah.
That is a great name.
Thank you.
It's a great name.
Yeah, well, I gotta give it a big get because he recognized it immediately, and then every project he ever did since then has been named Legion of Skanks until the podcast worked.
It's a good move.
Yeah, and it, you know, people know the getting. They get it, dude. They get it. And to be honest with you, people want that type of humor. That's the other thing is like, it's the new alternative. It's like dirty, edgier, ballsy shit.
Well, what we were talking about earlier. Look, if you like punk rock, you should be able to listen to punk rock. But if you like the kind of comedy that some people like, aggressive, like outlandish comedy, like if that's what you like, then you should be able to enjoy it or not. It's up to you. It's like you don't have to like it, you don't have to listen, you have to watch. It's not that it makes you immune from criticism. People don't like it, but you know, it's
that's it. And to be honest with you, if I wanted to sit here and deconstruct everything that could trigger me in life, I'm just not a bitch. I don't sit here and I'm triggered every moment by the amount of shit that I see in my fucking life. Everything triggers me. Everything triggers me. And every movie that I watch is some fucked up scene. I can go, oh, that line gets some fucked up shit. But you have to appreciate those things. Don't you sort of want sort of everything to be represented? And even with comedy, you look at things like rape jokes is like a big no-no topic, right? You can't do rape jokes anymore. And I understand
you know Metzger's bit,
right?
right?
Which one?
Well, I can't say it. Shit.
Oh, did you put it on a special?
I'm sure he is. I'll tell you about it after.
I think the first time I met you, by the way, I was over at Metzger in Montreal like years ago. You don't remember at all.
Many movies at that little place.
Yeah.
Comedy Works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimbo's joint.
Yep.
That's a great little spot, man.
Well, yeah, yes, rape jokes will work. I close my special with Jennifer, too.
How dare you? How dare you try to pass it off to America? But I can't do the bit, but the bit's excellent. Remind me and I'll tell you about because it's one of those premise, like once you say the premise.
Yeah, so it has to be a very high level. But the woman in the crowd who was raped a month ago and was like, I'm gonna go to comedy to feel better. She's not wrong if she's triggered, but she becomes wrong when she tries to take away the experience from other people. You have to walk away. And you have every right. I've had girls come up to me after shows and be like, hey, just so you know, that really bothers me. This is why, right? And it's some rape joke, whatever it is, right?
How many rape jokes you got?
Oh, at least 70% of my act. I do. Really? I know. I'd say no. I do close my act with a 10-minute rape joke.
Yeah, you just said that. But I mean, how many rape jokes, like overall? Yeah.
How many times did I say the rape, or is it?
No, like bits.
I mean, really, just that one rape. It's a long bit though, so there's a lot of jokes within it. And I'm being raped in the joke most of the time, so that's that's why it's not being raped. It helps. But I don't want to ruin the bit either. But I think you have to. I respect the fact that people can be triggered, but it's a very strange thing to me because for me, I'm always trying to find something really funny from this dark shit, right? Whether it's personal experience or whatever it is. And the way we're looking at it as comics is we're trying to find something really positive out of something really shitty. And then you look at a movie, which is just maybe it's a fucked up scene. There's nothing. It's a positive piece of
You
content.
can't tag it to one person talking.
Yeah.
It's a scene. You watch people act out a scene.
You're right.
There's something very personal about one person talking. That's why this is. I mean, it's not. This is how some people would look at it. Like you should talk about things that you really care about while you're doing it, because you only have a certain amount of time to do it. And sometimes you have a bit that's just not worth it. Like the way people react to it, just like even though you have a point, it's like you can work this bit out. People get so upset. It's almost not worth it.
No, it has to be a net positive. The crowd has to be laughing.
Yeah.
So there's no, I'm not gonna. I will defend somebody's right to tell a shitty joke. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I understand. As a performer, you have to gauge the audience and put your finger in the air and go, okay, which way is the wind blowing right now? The reality is you can't say things you used to say. You can't say faggot on stage anymore. In a crowd in New York or LA, you can't say a word. The crowd will cut you up and shut down. You'll ruin the rest of whatever that joke is. So it's
You obviously haven't seen Diaz recently.
maybe they say faggot a lot. That's great. He's awesome.
Say whatever he wants. He's got a point.
I have a joke about my dog. I used to say my faggot dog because he's looking at another no dog's asshole in the joke, and people would shut down at that word. And really, to be honest with you, New York and LA, that's where the biggest faggots are. The rest of the country is cool. If you go anywhere else, they don't really give a shit about words like that. But in New York and LA, it's become a particularly hard thing to, there's certain words and certain things. It's not the content necessarily, just those words that sort of set people's sensors off.
Well, there's always going to be a bunch of words like that. What's really interesting is what does happen when you stop saying it. Because it's kind of counterintuitive. Because those words become these words, just taking those words. There's so much more power if you don't. And I just don't think you ever get to tell people that you can't say certain words that you used to be able to say all the time. I mean, the idea behind those words is still the same. Like if you say to someone, you shouldn't say retarded anymore, even though that used to be like a term they would use for things being slower, like the growth being slower. Their growth was retarded. But now if you even use it as a technical term, like in the growth is retarded, people will get upset at you. Like, don't use that anymore. Now it's a forbidden sound. Even if it doesn't mean what they think it means. Talking about a person with Down syndrome, they don't like hearing our word.
Yeah. You talked about it in your special. I thought it was a great bit where you're like, just these sounds from your face. Like, what are we doing? It's just you're making these different sounds with your mouth, so it's just sounds.
Well, it's a byproduct of speech being a shitty way to really clearly convey intent. And that's why when someone's good at speaking their mind, we kind of get you get a real sense of we enjoy it. Someone's good at speaking their mind. If someone sucks at speaking their mind, if they're clunky at it, that's not enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. And there's too many people that there's no barrier of entry, and we're exposed to a lot of horseshit very quickly now. Whereas, like, I think back in the day, comedians had time to grow in a club. Even Bob Saget, right? Bob Saget was like a dirty, fucking filthy comic who ended up getting on the cleanest television show ever, right? The dad, Danny Tanner was, but then if there was cell phones out back then, he would have never gotten that gig.
Well, I think he stopped doing stand-up for a long time because of that too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He did stand-up while he was doing that show. I might be wrong, but if he did do it, maybe he did like a...
An abridged.
Yeah, PG-13 version or something. No, I don't know. Is it worth it? Is it worth it censoring? I mean, I think one day, it seems like the more time goes on, the more words they're sneaking into network television. You hear a lot of shit every now and then. I think you're allowed to say shit and asshole on a network show now.
Yeah.
Just like a big episode once on
CBS. You can say shit in my asshole, though.
No, you can't say that. Yeah, that's just too...
You call somebody a dick with camera in front of your dick. That's the idea, right?
Yeah. You can call someone a pussy, I think, too, which is weird. That was on the way out.
Yeah, that's the thing where you're feminizing a man, and now that's offensive to women. Fuck you, bitch. Now that's offensive. I call my buddy a pussy, and you get to take the offense on that? That's some crazy woman shit. That's actually right there. That's how crazy women are.
It's not how crazy women are. It's how crazy some women are. It's like some men are fucking crazy too. You're just dealing with a giant number of people. But if people find a little thing where they can pick on it and go after it like that.
Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing. It's very funny to me. There's no words that could possibly offend me. That could ever.
Right.
Well,
some people are just looking for it, man. Right?
I don't actually believe they're offended, though.
No, I don't do it.
I think it's like, when you see like a Puerto Rican kid get himself worked up and you're in a fight where he's like, what do you say? And he starts to have to psychologically fucking get himself into this brawl. That's what I think people do online all day. They stoke themselves up. And they don't really care. Nobody actually, if they really gave a fuck, they would go out and do something.
I think a lot of them do care, but they're just expressing it on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever they're doing. I think a lot of them do care. But I think that
it's fake caring. It's too easy to pretend to care now. That's the problem. It's back in the day you
enjoy the conflict. They enjoy it.
You think so? I feel shitty. I feel so gross inside when I go back and forth with somebody. We were talking about that before. You feel shitty. And I deal with it a lot being an entertainer. So I imagine when people deal with back and forth online that it's sort of a shitty feeling. They don't necessarily want that. They sort of want the accolades for their opinions.
They do. They want that. But they also, it's addictive. It's the conflict. It's addictive. It's like you're almost like playing a game. you know, you're saying something shitty to them, they say something back to you shitty, and then they insult you, you insult them, and you post a Google article that refutes their Google article. It's conflict. You know, and some look, you can serendipitously, is that the right word? Yeah, serendipitously.
Oh.
You can stumble across some brilliant piece of something on Twitter, and you definitely can learn something, and you definitely get some information.
Fuck yeah, look at the facts.
Happens all the time. You can also get sucked into some abortion debate that eats your life for the next 7 days.
Yeah.
And you start trying to figure out who's right or who's wrong, and what position to take. Abortion is one of the most human subjects in that humans are we're so weird in so many ways. We're so unusual and irregular, and we're inconsistent in a lot of the ways we look at things. The abortion one is crazy. You're literally talking about stopping a human life while it's inside the person, and then you're talking about whether or not you have a decision to tell someone they can stop a life inside the life. And everybody's like, that's not what it is. That's not. People try to redefine it. It seems like a strange thing. But no, it's a woman's choice. It is a woman's choice. But what is it? A woman's choice to do. You have to decide whether or not a life stays in her body and becomes a person or not. And when you get to decide, this is not a simple, clean thing. It's a simple, clean thing in my terms, in my mind, in terms of what I'm able to tell anybody what to do, and I wouldn't want to. But if you just look as a human, if someone is having an abortion and baby is a healthy baby that's pretty close to being born, like, when is it okay? I think most people think it's okay when there's like 2 cells, right? There's only 2 cells, or 4 cells, or then they start dividing. But at one point in time,
There's a line where it's funny. There's a line
outside of the woman's body.
And also, you think about this, like, wherever that line is, everyone, right? Let's say you're pro-choice. You have a line where 1 second ago it wasn't okay, but in this exact second it is okay. Right. Which is sort of fucking crazy itself, you know? So it's like
crazy in terms of if you talk about late-term abortion. Well, that's how late. Yeah, how late is this? Like, what are we saying? I mean, and it's a terrifying thing for people. This idea that we can make these decisions and rationalize them and decide for a person whether or not they should have to raise a child or whether they can stop it because it hasn't seen air yet.
It's such a fucking and you can change up data changes. You everything because I saw my kid's heartbeat. Every birth instinct I had to have a baby kicked in. I was like, we're having this fucking baby. That's that. Because when we went to the doctor, we weren't 100% positive we were gonna keep my son. It was a debate, much more on her, and it really is Latinos. We just fucking want to spread our seed because I just shot right in. That was that. And then I saw the heartbeat, and I was like, that's a baby right there. I'm watching. It's just a little flickering on the screen, but I'm like, what do you want to say? That's a heartbeat. Yeah. However, you know, there's crazy shit.
There's a lot of religious stuff attached to it. You know, people don't want anybody to enforce their own religion beliefs. That's what abortion is. You know, and especially when you're dealing with something that's like just a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, like people think of it as just a cluster of cells. Like, why is it so bad to stop this in its tracks?
I also think of it as a cluster of cells. If I had to put myself into a category, I would put myself in the pro-choice category.
I think we need to decide. First of all, men can't get pregnant. Men can get pregnant. I used to have a joke about it. You'd be able to get an abortion on your phone. Literally, it'd be an app. I just have to think about it. It's true. Men like, they had a cold. Pull out your phone. Fuck this kid. It's too annoying.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. It's not that we should be able to tell a woman whether or not she can or she can't do it. It's just looking at it for what it actually is. I don't think we have any right to tell a woman what she can or can't do, but looking at it for what it is. It is not a clean thing. It's a strange thing. It's why I say it's one of the most human things, because it's what even
other
if
animals
it's
don't have that debate.
pro-choice, you can't deny
I
what it is.
had a cat when I was 11, and it was just weird garbage. So she like fucked her son, so she had a bunch of retarded cats with backwards legs, and I watched my cat eat those kittens. So it's pretty human. The debate, it would have been a conversation with humans.
I've seen that. What the fuck?
She's pro-choice?
No, that's not pro-choice, right? Choice with the babies? She carved a hole out of his baby's head, just chewing on it. I looked at it, I never bothered hamsters. That's right. Pretty rap. That dirty little thing killed the baby.
Yeah.
What in the hell? They get some sort of a disease, apparently. And if they get that disease, they'll often just kill their babies. Hamsters, too, were rough. We were little, too. We were like 6, 7. My sister was like,
that's an awful way to learn about death.
They eat their babies. We were so happy that they had babies. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be amazing.
Little thing, by the way, baby hamsters are like little fingers. They're just cute and pink, and they're just fucking, their eyes are closed. And
yeah, so men can't take this disease. That's what's right. Yeah.
I don't know any of those pets. I don't know. I'm not a pet guy as it is.
Looking at the article about it, it just says that, like, especially for some other stress too associated with rearing babies with too much candy.
I get it.
It's killing them all. I don't know if that's right, but
That's hamsters?
yeah, it's fit with my hand.
It happens a lot with animals. Dogs, cats, they kill their babies. They eat them sometimes.
The most fucked up are bears. Bears, they'll go into dens, look at the babies.
Other babies, other animals. Oh yeah, well, the predators. You watch the predator shows, like a bunch of fucking hyenas. They're always looking for like a baby antelope.
No, but baby bears. But bears eat bears.
Oh, bears eat bears.
Yeah. Cannibals. They eat little cubs. Aw, beat shit up.
Aw,
no,
that's sad. And bear death seems pretty horrific. I never even saw that movie, The
Revenant.
The Revenant, where like the parents' most brutal scene
That's
ever.
the fake one.
Yeah.
That's the Grizzly Man.
They have video of you eating them?
No. Grizzly Man
He
is
just
about
disappears.
a gay guy that moves to Alaska to save the bears, and one of them beats him and his girlfriend. It is a crazy film.
Yeah.
It's a Werner Herzog documentary. Unintentional comedy. I mean, I think the way it's edited, he had to know. There's a certain point in time where it's like obvious comedic timing. The way he edited it seemed like a lot of it was tongue-in-cheek, but it's about a really crazy guy. Timothy Treadwell, who lived with bears for like hundreds and hundreds of days,
Yeah.
and had all this video footage of him like really close to big giant grizzly bears.
Yeah, I
and
know the
shit.
story. It was like, it became a sort of meme. We'll do that. Eventually, I get a run for bears. Like, you know what?
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Great.
I'd love to watch it.
Bears eat cubs.
there's video of this guy at the Russian zoo who jumps into the bear cage, and there's this video of this bear eating this man, and it's just, it looks every bit like the most horrible thing in the world. Like, that is the way that I don't want to go. Don't know how would you want to go. It's like, I know how I don't want to go. It's being eaten alive by a bear.
Because they will eat your guts first. We'll still be alive, but hearing your guts first.
Yeah.
They're so big. Okay, a grizzly bear, we don't even understand how big that is. It's got 900 pound super dog. You know? I imagine a 900 pound dog is still a bear.
I get very scared because I know you run with your dog in the hills. Have you,
Got cats.
yeah, like cougars and shit? Have you had to deal with any of that shit?
No. I always run with a knife though, just in case.
You heard the story with the guy, because there was the rumor a couple years ago that you choked out a cougar or whatever. It was like a mountain lion, and there was a guy who
Did in Colorado.
he killed it. Every time it was a baby.
Yeah, Ryan Callen and Brendan Schaub were shit all over that guy. They were saying it was a baby. They called it a long time ago. Didn't they? They called it, like, Renella was saying it was 85 pounds, and I was saying, I heard it was 85 pounds. And then Jamie Googled it, and he found 35 pounds. And I was like, bro, that's not impressive.
Yeah.
And then now they're saying
It's still fucked him up though. The cat's still like, he was so fucked up. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that a baby cat would think that killed one person? Imagine being something that cocky, like you with your face, running up to like a giraffe and go, oh, I got this fucking thing.
Giraffe? I can kill a giraffe.
I think so.
You don't think so?
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus
that's
Christ. This bear's just mauling this guy. Did it kill him?
That was Khabib's former training partner.
Jesus Christ.
He doesn't always go well.
Oh my God, it's tearing him apart. Okay, stop, Jamie. Stop this. Did the guy die? He must have. That was like it's gonna be.
He left.
Wow. Oh my God. Bear's probably never killed anything before. Probably just been eating meat that they gave it. He's probably, what do I do with you?
Yeah, he's just bad at killing, so he's just doing it longer and more painfully. It's like being stabbed with a butter knife.
Yesterday was said to be comfortable.
Oh.
He had a severe head and leg injury.
Yeah. Because Corey. Now we'll go on tour.
Badass. Look at the story.
Think so?
Yeah, in Russia.
Yeah. Did we? Yeah. A bear attack happened. This guy's parents are down through it. It's like a freezing trap.
Pro Pressure had that story. They did a whole other fucking session.
It would be another 45 minutes.
The machine versus the bear.
Yeah.
The machine versus the bear.
I can see it now. Might have to write something. Do better wrap this up. It's 3 p.m. That's fine. So tell people one more time where they can get your special.
You can enter iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and directly from our website, catdigitalnetwork.com.
And you are, is it Gomez Comedy on Instagram?
Gomez Comedy Instagram, Lucia Gomez on Twitter. Yeah, listen to the pod. It's like a few pods doing with this thing as well. I'll
That's
probably
fine.
be
Right. All right. Beautiful. Lewis,
man. Thanks,
good, brother.
my brother.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the show, and thank you to our sponsors. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing out there? I hope you're well, and I hope that cybercrime is not a part of your life, ladies and gentlemen. You can keep it. They don't really work that hard in any other sport. I mean, it's a crazy sport.
I remember in high school, we walked into the wrestling room, and it's a bunch of gross dudes, like in a sweaty, hot room. And there was like basketball was right next to it. I walked into the basketball, there's like dudes in tank tops and some like cheerleaders. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Idiots. Little did I know.
Little do you know. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, still, I think, the most important skill, because you get to dictate where the fight takes place. I mean, there's no one skill that really overpowers all, except for the ability to hold a guy down. But the ability to hold someone down, control them on the ground, is so critical, and everything else you can learn from that. Submission, ground and pound. But the difference in like an elite wrestler like yourself, a person that doesn't have that skill, it's so hard to bridge that gap.
You know, to learn later in life. GSP is one of the few people that just like, I'll just pick this up and be amazing at it. It's not GSP, and then I'll become a gymnast.
I think that's the thing with him, though. He had such physical ability. We were talking about this almost on the last podcast as well. He used to do that karate blitz. You know, so he was so used to that lunge and stuff, and so he incorporated that with a block double. And he's so physically strong and such a smart dude, and so good at learning things. He just figured out the essential techniques that he needed to master. He just got better and better.
Way back in the day, obviously UFC 1 was a kind of a discipline versus discipline kind of grudge match, and kind of lifelong wrestler. That's a nice way to tune in, actually, and taking pride in all the wrestlers, taking names, and growing within the sport, and obviously with the evolution of the sport. It's a different dynamic, and obviously each athlete coming from their own discipline is really fun for us to work with as practitioners, having those things for culture. But wrestling is obviously a core component to what each athlete's doing, and when I'm working with athletes and talking through their weekly training plan and how to feed and fuel for each of these types of training sessions, and hearing them bitch about how hard those wrestling practices are, I always get a little bit of pride there. Like, yes, it is hard, and imagine doing it for 3 months straight for college wrestling season and grind that out. But it's definitely been fun for me to watch wrestling as a component of MMA grow and be able to contribute to the sport on a different level.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I've always looked at it is pressure makes diamonds. You know, there's no other way. Those hard-nosed dudes, they come out of those environments. Like, if you think about guys with crazy determination and mental fortitude, there's a giant chunk of those you can attribute to wrestling. So there's a lot of them in kickboxing and everything else as well. It just seems to be, it's such a unique sport in terms of hardening, like, your mental toughness.
For sure. I mean,
I wouldn't do it.
I mean, we at Performance Institute, we always talk about mixed martial arts as the decathlon of combat sports.
Yeah.
And I think our philosophy is to try and understand all the respective components that make the world that make up. I think if you're in the UFC, you've got some certain X factors that allow you to be world class. Wrestling is a huge component of that. But what we try to do is understand limitations as well. Because in the decathlon, you only get as good as you can get right?
Right.
So if you're a striker, if you're a grappler, or if you're a wrestler, we're trying to support each of those to understand how we can elevate the whole thing.
Now, how much input do you put into fighters, if any, into how they incorporate their skills and how they combine their skills together? Because you guys offer like coaching on technique and approaches.
So break down the philosophy. we don't do sport-specific coaching, so physical therapy, sports nutrition, strength and conditioning, sports science, and then dunking overseas all those to make sure that they work. So our philosophy, anything that doesn't make you an octagon is
fuck off.
So what I do is I just go over what your training schedule looks like with you, and then, where do we feed accordingly for this practice? And then Roman, our sports scientist, when can you be recovered enough for this practice? And that's, that's the philosophy. So it's not specific. If you think about it, if you guys are fighting, and Performance Institute's working with both of you, we make you as big, strong, healthy, have the easiest time making weights, go into your fight as fueled as you can. But if I start saying, hey, you know what? He's pretty susceptible to leg kicks, then it becomes, now we can't support every athlete. So when you talk to people, it's just like, here's how to do the most of the practices, right? Here's the way to lay this out. But just your training blocks. I don't think a lot of people understand like basic training periodization leading up to your fight. And then that's the other problem with UFC. You don't always have 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Sometimes you've got 4 weeks, and it's like, all right, well, where's your weight? Where are you at? Where's your scale? Where's your conditioning? How can you put those things together in time to get you ready on,
But never specific like instruction on how to deal with the
never,
fight.
never.
That's it's almost like for a young fighter to have the access, first of all, just access to the physical facility, just all the different modalities you guys have, and the strength conditioning stuff, and the fact that you can. One of the most impressive things was the camera setup around the octagon, so you can film sparring sequences and technique sequences, and the fighter can back them up and rewind them and watch it. And you see how you drop your leg here, see how your chin is up in the air, and all these different factors.
Well, philosophy, right? You have to get close to game speed once or twice a week. So for 15, 25 minutes, you're gonna risk injury. You're gonna take physical damage that you're not getting paid for. Make the most out of it, right? Like, review it, treat it like a fight. Think about it, it's like 2 to 4 times a year. So that's a very limited amount of actual footage they have. But if you start recording your sparring sessions, treating them like a fight, like, oh shit, this one I did that wrong, then you're gonna end up more like 80, 90, which is baseball, basketball, even football. You have 20 plus games to review.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for young fighters also to see themselves doing certain techniques. Like, they might not notice. They might think they look better than they do. Like, it's good.
My coach is full of shit, man. And then you loud film all that.
I'm like, yeah, oh, okay, I see what I'm doing wrong there. It's hard sometimes to mimic, without actually seeing yourself. Now, you guys, you've been Forrest Griffin from UFC. No one can ever take that from you, sir. How's it feel? Feels good?
Yeah, sure, good. Yeah, I'm moving on. I'm over it. And now I'm VP of athlete development.
Oh my.
So it's much more important.
You're still Forrest Griffin.
There's a lot of champions. There's only one VP of athlete development.
We're still trying to find that job description to figure out what he actually does.
I change it daily. Don't worry about it.
You've been involved from the beginning of this, right?
Yeah. So it was going on about 2 weeks in. I heard this was happening, and I was like, oh, hey guys, I work for you, doing community outreach right now, but I've been trying to figure out the best way to train for mixed martial arts for the last 18 years. They give me a shot at it. So yeah.
Now, when you say that you're trying to figure out the best way, is there a best way?
Yes, for everybody, right? And unfortunately, it's those bullshit answers. Everybody's different, man. Everybody's got a different ability to work. Like Usman might have X amount, before he physically breaks down. Just look at him. He's a fucking Ferrari, right? He needs more hand work. Whatever. Everybody's a little physically different. The key is to get some objective feedback to know, hey, all right, I'm in the red, I'm good, I'm not,
Right. Do you guys do it on heart rate variability? Like, we need to determine whether or not someone's recovered
Tell me
enough
about a
to...
mega wave.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of different ways to do it. And the most basic level is just speaking to a guy and getting subjective feedback, right? How you're feeling is one of the best questions that we can ask an athlete. But yeah, I mean, we're blessed and we're privileged with pretty high resources at the UFC Performance Institute, so we have some pretty involved technologies. One of the ones that we use is a system called a mega wave, and that gives us real insight and removes the subjectivity, where we can get objective understanding around physiology, particularly looking at the DC potential of the brain. So really, the DC potential of the brain is an assessment of the autonomic nervous system. Yeah. So if you look at the parasympathetic and sympathetic balance of your body, we're talking science now, I apologize, but ultimately that's one of the things that's really impacted. There you go.
Jimmy pulled something up on the screen here.
John
You
Smith.
can see the windows of trainability. This is fascinating.
Yeah,
so Mega Wave, is it something you wear?
Yeah, so ultimately it's a 3 to 5 minute assessment. You wear something that resembles a heart rate strap lying at rest. We also have electrodes on the third eye of your brain, essentially. So we're picking up cardiovascular stress, and we're picking up the autonomic nervous system, and things like heart rate variability, which I've already mentioned.
So this isn't for everybody. Some people love it, and they say, hey man, this is, again, these are just tools, right? So different tools for different people.
Right, yeah, for sure.
It's a first thing in the morning message. Understand you're recovered, how well you're recovered from the day before, and those windows of trainability.
I think it all comes back to what Bart says. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is understand individual responses, right? At the end of the day, everyone's on a pathway of performance mastery to be a world champion. And people respond to the workloads, the intensities, the volumes in very different ways. If we take a basketball team and put them all through the same workout, you've got 15 different guys that are responding in very different ways to the same workout. So we're privileged in that we work with an individual sport, and that's our mantra. So we're looking at every single athlete as an individual, and we're building our programs, our strategies, and our information in an individual way.
So you guys have been doing this now for how many years?
We're coming up on 2 years on May 22nd. Is that second anniversary?
And do you have like a log of all the different cases you work with, so you can kind of review like what methods were more effective than others, and you're constantly trying to improve this protocol? Or
yes.
How do you guys write it all out?
I mean, we've obviously been involved with numerous fight camps, but we're also working with fighters that are not in camp. Last year, we presented this journal, our first journal, which is an overview, a cross-section of all the data that we accrued in our first 12 months, and we continue to aggregate that data. Now, one of the privileges that we have at the Institute is we get the opportunity to work with just under 600 fighters on our roster, so we can create real clear cross-sectional awareness of what different weight classes look like, what the challenges are to a fighter, and then the fighters can compare and contrast themselves against their immediate peers in their weight class. So that's one of the most powerful benchmarking tools you can create.
this Omega Wave technology, can people buy that?
Oh, yeah, it's just a commercial product off the shelf.
And it looked like it worked off an app? Like you put an app in your phone?
Yeah.
Doesn't everything.
Seems like it. Seems like
Yeah,
it's the future.
but again, we use many different types of technologies. You know, things like force plates can look at neuromuscular responses, and some of our nutrition variables will change across time. So it's not just one tool that is giving us all the answers. The Windows of trainability concept is something that really helps us on a day-to-day basis to understand, can you go into a strength or power type session today and really maximise the opportunity to create adaptations. Another day in your endurance, it might be an endurance emphasis. So what it allows us to do is just give kind of kudos and freedoms to the athletes to understand where's the best approach and where you're going to optimise the response.
Every other sport is easier to train for than MMA. You think about it, I was a defensive end. Every defensive end needs the same physical ability. You think about the combine, the NFL combine, for instance. They've figured out over a million years what they want to test for, and like the guys they run the same, they jump the same per position, right? So quarterbacks don't need to necessarily be that fast that they can throw, right? But for everybody else, the numbers are kind of the same for our sport, and they've collected, I don't know how many data points at this point, but it's a lot. So they're anonymized, normalized, so you know what average looks like. So you can give a guy like Anthony Smith, say, hey, look, man, and I bring him up because he's mentioned it before, he's been outspoken about, working with the guy. Hey, you know what, your force power measurements, they're pretty average for 205. You're not a weak guy. You could think about going up weight class. So it's just objective information, so the athletes and hopefully the coaches can make those choices.
Do you think they would benefit from more weight classes?
Oh, that's a great question. So I thought 65. I looked at the percentages, and then I was talking to actually Dana and Sean, and I was like, well, this guy's gonna go 65. This guy's gonna go 65. Everybody's gonna go. So is it gonna help? I mean, there needs to be a percentage difference, but I don't know. I think people would just say, well, shit, now I have to do an extra 5 pounds. But again, so from a PI standpoint, that's not really a decision we have to make. What we need to do is collect as much data as we can on that.
For individual fighters, right there.
And then also to provide that information to third-party commissions.
There's just so many.
There's the gaps these days.
I know what you're doing. Like when you go from 85 to 205, it's 20 pounds. That is an enormous jump. So how do you decide what guys between? Like how do you look at a guy maybe weighs 215 and you go, damn, dude.
The numbers. Like what's your power? What's your speed? Like, are you a good athlete for that weight class? Right. What's your arm length? How does your arm length and the way you fight, right? So if you're a Tyson S guy, you can have short arms and you wrestle a guy like a Glenn Maynard style, right? That's fine. You don't need super long arms, but if you're not a wrestler, you don't have the head of maybe.
We've actually had a number of athletes over the last year come to us specifically, and sometimes matchmakers, who are saying, hey, this guy wants to go down, come take a look, meet with the PI staff, see what you guys think. All those things that Phil said are really valid. We do have a lot of battery tests, both in the nutrition space, around body composition, around metabolic function. Oftentimes, bad weight cuts will diminish and depress the metabolic rate, the resting metabolic rate, as well as it progresses over time or in training. And then, like you said, some of the energy systems, a lot of the strength and power diagnostics. How does an athlete compare to the norms and the standards that are set for that division? So first thing that I look at is how does their body fit into the division? Everybody's body is broken into 3 components. If you think about it in terms of bone, muscle, and fat. And if somebody's fat-free mass, it's everything except for their fat, is bigger than 99% of the athletes in that weight division, it's not going to be a good fit. So a big thing is benchmarking and understanding how somebody's body fits into the division compared to others. So that's kind of step one. Then we look through all these other different metrics to see how they compare, and then we have a conversation. So my job is never, especially working with independent contractors, they can use us or they can not. And we are a resource to consult and have conversations with them about what makes sense on a scientific level.
Can I ask you how that works? Is like, say someone like Henry Cejudo, someone wants to do his camp after UFC performances. How would you schedule it with you guys? Tell you I'm going to be here for 8 weeks. You set up camp in Vegas. We'd like to do it at the gym.
So it happens all the time, whether it's a week or 8 weeks. That filters into every single member of our team, so actually we're doing more and more on the ground at fight events. That gets filtered up to Duncan, and then Duncan handles the coordination of that.
Yeah, but he could literally be there with, say, if he was going to fight Marlon Moraes. They literally could be in the performance institute at the same time.
For sure, and that happens. I mean, we're split on a facility where
they're never in the same zone at the same time.
So you schedule
the guy wouldn't be doing MMA in the octagon. You schedule them first come, first serve.
Do you ever anticipate a problem, like with guys that are supposed to be fighting each other, like what just happened with Masvidal recently, like where an actual fist fight breaks out?
Man, you find most of these guys want to get paid to fight, not paid to fight.
Right, but when you see
like cameras aren't on, they're not so.
That fight, yeah, that's good.
The other thing is, when you leave into a fight, my thought was you cannot let that person think they intimidated you. And if that means you actually have to hit them, maybe it does. But the idea is that I can't let you think that you have an answer.
Right. In any other sport, so no one would ever want to see that. Like, they're like, you gotta stop that. But in fighting, it's like, oh, they're just doing extra fighting.
Yeah, right. I was like, you guys are getting paid.
Yeah, look at this basketball player sucker punches another basketball player in the face at some sort of press conference. Like that, like Masvidal did. And you're like, what? No way. But in fighting, like, oh, they're extra fighting.
But you don't get extra money. You're extra credit.
But you kind of do.
Well,
let's be honest. Masvidal for that performance was going to get extra money. He was stunning knockout of Darren Till, was one of the top guys in the welterweight division. The weight came, it was crazy. So he got it from that, and then to tee off on Leon Edwards after the fight like that, it's like another one. It's part of that is very good for him. Unfortunately, like I don't want him to do that. I don't want to encourage, but if you want to think about like fighters' popularity, building their family. He's an I don't give a fuck, I'll punch you in the face guy. And they're like, well, a lot of people are. No, he's a real I don't give a fuck, I'll punch you in your face guy. They're real. They really exist, and he's a world-class fighter. Like that's sellable. It's unfortunate. I wish guys wouldn't ever fight at the press conference. Like Cormier and John Jones, I fucking hated that. Tell me that didn't someone. sold a shitload more. How many times did Connor throw that dollar? Oh, how many times did you show that even in the promos? I hated when that happened. It was a terrible thing that Connor did that. God damn, that sold some tickets.
That's a fine line, right? That's kind of a funny
way
thing.
over the line.
Yeah.
People that weren't even involved got cut.
Yeah.
You got hit with glass.
I don't mean that. I mean use it, promoting it.
Yes.
Do we just try to avoid it and hide it, or do we let people know that this is a real thing?
They call all people involved. Go look, this business good. 15 minutes. I'm gonna show that volley smash. Oh, and that's Will Harris's company. Is that the gentleman? What is it called?
Anatomy of a Fight.
Yes, that's his YouTube show. I often thought was a UFC show. I didn't even know he had his own show. There's so many good guys right now. We're putting out good content. So it is Will Harris, and he came in here with Marlon Smart, super nice guy. But his footage is his footage of that dolly smashing it. But you can see over and over again. Thank you.
I think the embedded guys from the UFC were on the bus as well. So the inside.
Nice.
We'll go the outside.
Jesus Christ. You know,
the performance institute's awesome.
Anyway, sorry about that. Hey, listen, man, this is how this show works. It goes off the rails occasionally. It is what you guys have set up though is kind of an unprecedented thing in the combat sport world. There's never anything like this for boxing. Where boxers can go.
It's closest to the Olympic model. So we went around benchmarking, got 60+ facilities, and you notice like a lot of the people that we hired work with, international Olympic sports, and that's kind of our athlete model, right? So Olympic athletes, they might go to Colorado Springs for 2 weeks, or for 4 months, or for a week, and do like a skills camp or something. We have the same model. You come in 3-4 days, and then go home with like a program, a diet, strength conditioning program, PT program, your training load goals, etc. So you leave that, right? And then maybe you want to move your life to Vegas, you got family, kids back home, so you come out 3 days every other month, and they can actually monitor and tell you this is how your training's going. It's just again, just data on whether it's working or not working, as opposed to my old boxer goes, oh yeah, no, I think it. I don't know what you ate, but it's good for you. I was like, I ate cookies last night. Should I just eat cookies every day and push hard? I don't know.
Yeah, the scientific approach of getting those little extra percentage points of improvement is really what it's all about, and it could really be the difference. And it's such a crazy sport because it's so wild and unpredictable, and I mean, you can speak to this better than anybody. The results may vary. Right? It is a wild goddamn sport.
One of the best camps I ever had was I was fucking amazing in the gym. I was like, I am so good right now. I'm beating everybody up. This is amazing. But it's a 14-week camp. Start falling apart.
There's no other sport that there's many degrees of freedom as mixed martial arts.
Right.
If you think about execution, well, just in terms of stylistic background, weight classes, you don't even know when Dane's going to give you a call to the next fight. Let's look at Usain Bolt, right? There's a reason why Usain Bolt is a 100-meter champion and he's not a 60-meter champion, right? Our guy, if you look at mixed martial arts, that is 6 to 36 seconds of high-intensity work followed by 2 to 3 times as much low-intensity work repeated throughout a 5-minute round. 77% of fights are won in those high-intensity efforts, right? So that's where the fight is won and lost. We don't know if that 6 seconds is going to be the first 6 seconds of the fight or the last 6 seconds of the fight. So Usain Bolt knows that he's going 100 meters, right? Our guys don't know if they need to be the best starter, the best finisher. So you've got to prepare for everything. So all these degrees of freedom, these external variable things that come into mixed martial arts, make it the most complex sport to figure out and build a structure and a development pathway.
It's so interesting too that so many different fighters have a completely different approach. Like you've got low volume, high power approach like maybe Tyron Woodley. Then you got a guy like Nick Diaz who just smothers guys. He just stays on you and keeps punching you and talking shit to you, and he sees you starting to lose your breath and keeps coming after you, and he can push your pace because of his long-term cardiovascular condition. Right. I mean, and you can't tell him he's doing it wrong. No, he's not. So everybody's doing it a different way.
Sometimes your physiology, right, is going to determine the way you fight, right? Like the arm length, John Jones, the leg arm length. Can't fight like that because I'm not going to be at the end of everybody's punch just out of reach. I'm going to be getting hit by everybody if I start throwing those beats,
Yeah. And also, it allows him in training to get better. He's always got this advantage. He's like constantly getting better. And he's also the best I've ever seen at utilizing that reach. He's very good at keeping his opponent exactly where he needs him. And in his range, and when they close up, he's very good at being defensive. I mean, that's what the best fighters do, right?
Yeah. Fight where they want to go.
But it's just so interesting to see that everyone does have a different approach that they make work with their body structure.
It's quite unique because we've looked at a lot of physiological assessments, and when you take the data and you compare and contrast, for example, people with grappling and wrestling backgrounds versus striking backgrounds, you can take something like power and you can differentiate between those two. So, all right, I want to get a competitive advantage as a striker, I need to improve my strength work because wrestlers are already stronger. We can look at the strength characteristics, and our data shows that the guys that come from a wrestling background are far and above stronger than the striker, which you would expect, right? But if you look at things like, can you differentiate at 15 in the world versus the wrestling in that weight class, it takes away any comparison. And at the end of the day, ultimately in a complex, chaos-based sport, skill is always going to be the best determinant of performance. So we're not saying that the physiological variables aren't important, right? But it's really hard to tease out where you need to push your strategy and where you need to optimize your training. Because in a homogeneous population of world-class fighters, it kind of gets absorbed and it becomes invisible by the difference.
We usually are a little more specific. Correct. You just told me what not to do. What do though?
Well, and that's where the individualization, personalization for every single athlete comes in. We find their strengths and some of their gaps where it might be the lowest points scoring component of their decathlon of MMA. And if it's a deficiency that maybe hasn't been taken advantage of yet, but will, that's where we fill those gaps so that they can start to fill those holes and become more complete, more comprehensive. That might be strength, power, it might be energy system, it may be anything, orthopedic. We have, we're trying to assess every component of preparation that can support or limit that athlete's performance in the court. In terms of how all those things work together, it's really vital that if somebody's working on strength and power, they're not beating their body in a way that's actually limiting their ability
it.
Because then that is the adaptation that we're looking for as responsible training. And that's a really critical point where nutrition is a foundation that supports the development of all the other adaptations that are required to become that complete mixed martial artist. So as the strength and conditioning plan is being laid out, as the physical therapy plan, as the recovery plan, all of those are coming to fruition. The nutrition, obviously, is really near and dear to what I'm doing, is really critical at supporting the adaptation so that we're not pulling the athlete in two different directions in terms of the adaptation.
No, but in terms of when you take fighters and athletes into your performance institute, have you guys ever worked with young, junior, like amateur mixed martial artists or kids that are coming up? And did you ever do stuff like that and show them, like, give them a peek at what it's like to see, like, the world-class fighters?
Well, we don't at the Performance Institute in Las Vegas because we're very much aligned to supporting our current roster, and it's a facility and a philosophy that's been designed to support our current roster. What we're doing in June of this year, however, is opening up a facility in Shanghai, China, which will have a completely different business model. In terms of that, will be very much a developmental program for guys that aren't currently in the UFC. So obviously we're trying to improve the talent standards in China and develop that market and break that new territory. But the mechanism of doing that is going to be very much through talent development in the Performance Institute. So over there, we will have MMA coaches and grappling coaches and striking coaches. We don't have that in Las Vegas because we're currently working with guys that are already on the roster.
Well, it's such a unique sport in the fact that even though it is one thing when you get into the UFC, the paths to get there are so widely different, and you really don't know what the right is the Crow Cop path the right way to do it, or is the Daniel Cormier path the right way to do it? No one can say, and different fighters will win on different nights with different styles. It's one of the only sports where your path may end. You could say that if someone is an elite kickboxer or an elite grappler, that going in with that one major advantage in that one skill set could take you very, very far versus an overall game approach that some guys have where they're really good at everything.
Right, and the true specialist, if you look at the day, the true specialist of GFP for this sport still hasn't necessarily risen to the top in the sport of MMA. You still see guys that are stylistic entities, and that's their X factor that keeps them at the top of the league.
Yeah, and then there's execution, which is creativity, and their ability to perform under pressure, their ability to maintain their cool during camp, but they never overtrain, and then they stay in a good space, they stay in a good headspace, girlfriend problems, or boyfriend problems, and then they get to the final night of competition with the most in the tank. That's an art in and of itself, right?
So when you first asked about, something else that I
fuck
love, training partners, right? So bring your training partners to the UFC guy, and we've had, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 guys that came in as training partners and are now on the UFC roster. So that's why I'm not an asshole anymore. That's what you never know.
It's also, you get the chance to see these. I mean, every guy has to start somewhere. Every girl has to start somewhere. You get a chance to see these people that maybe never get this invitation there, and they see the holy ground. Like, God damn.
Well, to your point, too, about the facility, world-class facility, the services, we would argue, are even better than the facility. But training
Graham's hat
coaches,
sure is a mystery. It vexes me so. It truly does. But where did it come from? Hell, children. Some say the hat was blessed by a voodoo witch doctor, and then cursed by another voodoo witch doctor like 20 minutes later. Others claim Perham was adventuring through the treacherous caves of the Nightmare Princess when he found the hat perched atop a giant ruby, a ruby that naturally formed into the shape of a skull, a human skull. But you know what I think, children? I think the hat is haunted by all the souls of its previous owners, all of their dreams and failures mashed together in a frantic, poisonous scramble of grumpiness and conflicting viewpoints. But I'm the dumb one, right? I mean, you got these voodoo, nightmare, princess thingies, easily the biggest crocks of stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. But I'm the dumb one, that's fine. And not just anyone can don the hat, you know. It calls out only to those who embody the exemplary qualities required. Charity, bravery, handsomeness, gentlemanity, inoffensive smell, etc. And of course, proper head size. Guess that explains why cats can't wear it. Plus, whoever heard of a cat in a hat? That's preposterous. And heavy weighs the crown. He who wears the hat calls the shots, and in a time long forgotten, maintained balance and ensured that everyone was plump and happy and wanted for nothing. All good things come to an end, children. Well, that's not entirely true. I figure pizza will always exist. But this hat, let's just say its days of benevolent guidance are long over with. You might as well flip it over and use it as a toilet. I mean, Hattie hasn't lifted a finger to spread the wealth or encourage smiles, and the theater staff is really starting to feel unappreciated. Oh look, this smoldering unrest has given birth to a precious little storm cloud. Oh, look at his little raindrops. And if things don't change around here, this little cloud's gonna grow up into a big, giant, scary cloud and spray us all with a drenching downpour of horrifying madness. Don't lose sight of your mission. Hattie needs you more than ever now. And I know things look bleak, but even the word hopeless has hope in it. Plus, if you rearrange the letters, it spells peace launch. The last part was probably unnecessary, I'm sorry.
And we're not winning fights. That's obvious. That comes with the X factors. That comes from the fighters, their passion and their commitment to their sport. But what we're trying to do, back to your original question, I think around this 1% is so hard to measure. But what we're able to do is to help them to do it more consistently and to do it longer into their career, so that they can optimize, they can maximize their ability to train, to adapt, to perform, and give themselves the best chance to be successful on fight night.
Yeah, there must be so many fighters that come from a discipline, whether it's judo or something along those lines, and then they start fighting MMA, so they get a boxing coach, and they have a few guys working with them leg kicks, but they don't have a nutrition guy, they don't have a recovery guy, they don't have someone who understands like deep tissue massage. They gotta find that guy. They gotta find someone to organize a diet for them. They gotta figure out how to eat healthy, proper And these things are so difficult for fighters to put, especially when you don't live in a place that has something like an American top team or some gigantic institution.
Yeah, I mean, there's fighters, even top fighters on our roster, that potentially hire a nutritionist for a short period of time in the fight camp, no, for an 8-week period. This should be a 52-week fight camp. We should be considering our development as fighters and as athletes, professional athletes, 52 weeks of the year. You know, and I think that's what our philosophy is, as Clint has already talked about, in terms of plugging the holes and being able to offer the services that you need as a particular athlete. So there's a lot of gyms out there, American top team, aka they've got their own guys. That's great, Jackson. They've got their own people, but you know, there's plenty of people on the roster that have an MMA coach and a grappling coach, and that's it.
Yeah.
So the Performance Institute, we feel we can help them support those guys.
You bridge gaps.
Right.
And we're not trying to displace the programs where athletes already have resources, but I don't know of another MMA gym globally that has the capacity around assessment that we do. So yeah, we have some really great practitioners, but Bo Sandoval, our strength coach, and his team cannot write programs for 570 athletes. It's not possible. But what we can do is assess those athletes, provide that feedback back to their strength coaches, and have conversations about how those coaches can use that data to support the development of that athlete. And that goes across the board for all of our performance services.
Well, it's a pretty amazing resource because if you're a young fighter and all you have is access to people around you, if you're fighting the UFC, you get to have access like instantaneously to this gigantic group of people. Where it's like when Forrest, when you were coming up, you were a real pioneer. I mean, that was not available to a guy like you.
No, I mean, I tell the story all the time. But so I was actually a little bit ahead of my time. I had an actual strength coach that had letters behind his name. He went to college to be a strength coach, not that was like an ex-bodybuilder. I had a relatively good nutritionist who at least had a degree in chemical biology. I had a good physical therapist, but I didn't really have. I was my coach. You know, at the end of the day, I was the head of performance. So I go do jiu-jitsu. You know, jiu-jitsu coach wants you to go hard, and you go kickbox. So you're gonna go light, but kickbox. So and then and now nobody's the strength coach and nutritionist are on different pages. So I think just understanding that everything has to work together, which I didn't really understand.
But what I'm saying is that you kind of had to pave a path. Because when a guy like you was doing all that stuff with a real legitimate strength conditioning coach, a real legitimate nutritionist, how many other people were doing that at your time?
Not that many, but I got to be around good people like Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell. Those were kind of guys I got to hang out with and say, well, he does this, he does that. Chuck actually went into that much of this stuff, but Randy was. Chuck was I know what I'm doing, okay? All right, yes, sir?
Yeah, he just did, I'm sure, savagery. When you step back and look at your career, like how amazing is it to be able to step off from there and do something like you're doing now for the UFC Performance Institute, which is very meaningful for young fighters. I mean, you really do get a chance to give back with your experience and your understanding of the right way and the wrong way, the mistakes that you've made. I mean, it's huge.
Well, that's the whole genesis kind of from my role in the PI. Like, here's the 10,000 mistakes I made.
Yeah.
You're gonna make mistakes too, but these are the ones you don't need to make. You know, again, the sport's changed, man. It's 25 years old. Every other sport's so evolved, been around so long. Our sport changes all the time. I forget who was talking about it, but even best fighting 10 years ago probably could compete with best fighting today. You know.
But I mean, what I would say as well is not only for the fighters, Boris is a huge resource for us. The best piece of technology we have is the door handle that leads from my office to Boris' office, right? Because ultimately, he's a massive resource for us that are not necessarily coming from an MMA background and are trying to support the MMA community, to bounce ideas off, to essentially beta test things from a perspective. And he's a huge part of the Performance Institute philosophy because we can use and pull upon it.
So here's another funny thing. When we were putting together the team for the PI, I kind of shied away from people already doing MMA. I wanted combat sports. Everybody that's done it has done judo, boxing on an Olympic level. They've done combat sports, but I wanted like a fresh set of eyes coming from a different, because I know really good MMA strength therapists. I know pretty good MMA. You know good, but you get that fresh set of eyes. Nutrition actually was a little different because the rest of the world does not understand wake up for an MMA fight. It's not like we go to episodes, you go to any kind of facility, and then you say, I'm going to lose 8% of my body weight, and then you compete on Saturday. They're like, no, don't, just button high weight class. I'm like, yeah, that actually isn't going to work out for me. They just won't comprehend it. Though, no, you'll perform better. Like, no. So,
some fighters do. That's another thing about having a limited amount of weight classes. When you jump up, you go to trash.
He's crazy, man.
Yeah.
He's like 174, 175 on fight day.
Yeah.
Fight guys 190.
Yeah, but with a lot of energy.
Yeah.
What's interesting is at his age, I think it's probably a good move. Yeah, I think it's probably a good move though. At his age, I mean, he's back from UFC Ultimate Fighter 1.
Dude, insane. We knew though, like on the show, he was the one to go forever. Like, we knew when I was there, like, I don't know, he's just great.
It's so much enthusiasm. Still,
he's not gonna stop.
I mean, when he beat Mickey Gall that way, I was incredibly impressed. Well, like this kid might test him. He didn't test him at all. It was amazing. The prime Diego Sanchez performance. 15 years into the game. I mean, it doesn't even not just into the UFC. Yeah. He had amateur fights or professional fights rather before the UFC. So he's been in the UFC for 15 years now, or at least 14, right? 2004, 2005 was season 1.
Yeah, we shot in 2004, 2005, so yeah.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 years, which is amazing. He's so enthusiastic about it still.
Yeah, I'll keep my face for his mantelpiece on his fire or something. Carriage clock, just to recognize 15 years.
Yeah. It's a long time in combat sport. Long time.
So that's the other thing, man. That is not the norm. That's a deviation. I don't think you got it right. I made it 9 years in the UFC, 8 years actually. And, I didn't have that many fights. I broke down, I fell apart. It's pretty average. I was like, well, it was me. And then when you look at the data, it's like, oh, no, I'm just average. 35, that's when you start falling apart.
When you look back now, with what you know now and all the athletes you've worked with at the UFCPI, do you think you would have done anything different?
Oh, my God, I can't even think about it. I don't even think about it. Oh, yeah. It's so dumb. Why would you spar 8 rounds? Why would you spar 8 rounds? There's no 8-round fights for it. What are you doing? You literally just did slower for it. It's already slow. I don't know.
it's again, being a pioneer like you were, there wasn't really a whole lot of guys before you that were operating.
I had the other pioneers, like the Randys and the Chucks, and that's what they were doing. So I figured, oh, that'd be tough for them to do what they did.
That's the craziest thing
They're
about
champions.
MMA.
I'm not going to question them.
Boxing had already figured out you shouldn't beat the fuck out of each other every day. They already kind of figured that
Well,
out.
and the other thing they figured out is, you would work with, I would spar Vander like Chuck, Randy. In boxing, they don't spar with other equals. Past a certain point, in camp, well, think about it, you know, they start, like, is Floyd Mayweather sparring with, I don't know, really good people his level? No, definitely not. He's
Fighting with
people
good boxers and he's tooling them.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think...
Have you heard of them, though? They're not famous and rich, so they're not the best in the
right.
world. They're not elite. Whereas you think about, like, Jim, like our gym, like, I'm just Randys, because I don't want to talk bad about it. They're fighting other champions every day.
Right.
Maybe
dangerous as fuck.
Yeah, maybe drill together, sure, learn from each other, roll, wrestle, like, control your training.
Especially guys in the same weight class as you that may someday fight you.
Yeah.
And there was no guidebook.
Yeah. You know, guys like Keith Jardine and Shad Evans figured out, they're like, all right, we already had to fight each other. We'll train together now, so we won't have to do it again.
Right. That's a good move. If it worked out. The level of guys now is so extraordinary to see. Like when you see the elite champions of today, you just have this insane level of fighter. It's really, as a person who's been involved in sport as long as I have, I still never cease to be amazed at the level of talent these guys coming out. These guys coming out, they can just do everything. And they can do everything at such a high level, and you're realizing you're seeing the results of kids that started out learning MMA when they were only 5, 6 years old.
Yeah. You know, I have a personal gym, and I remember Ronda Rousey was like, man, she's going to change my bottom line. All of a sudden, I got a mat full of young women, like just training, like really legit fighting. I was like, this is amazing. Thank you, Ronda.
Yeah, she for sure changed it. Gina Carano changed it a little bit before her. You know, people had this idea like, oh, be pretty and fuck people up. Like, oh, that's a totally different kind of girl. That's a superhero, like a real life superhero.
How she plays that movie.
Yeah, but it's just incredible too that the sport, when you look at women's MMA, like particularly Amanda Nunes, the Cyborg, that fight, that is as crazy and exciting as any fight you'll ever see in your fucking life. And Amanda Nunes bombed on one of the greatest, if not the greatest, women's MMA fighter of all time and KO'd her in the first round in spectacular fashion. Like, if you're not a fan of MMA or women's MMA after watching that.
Yeah, like that's funny you mention that. I just think about Holly Holm. Like, what's she doing? She's had a million fights. Like, what is she doing so right? Like, she's a GSP couture. She's just a genetic specimen. And I think she, she just again she does that 52-week fight camp idea.
Yeah, you don't see her ever get in that shape. That's not happening. Yeah, I still think she got a raw deal in the Durandamy fight.
She got clocked. Pretty late.
2 times hard after the buzzer.
Absolutely.
2 times. And no points taken away, no nothing, and we were shocked. Like, that's crazy. And then on top of that, she dropped her. She dropped her with a head kick, and she dropped her with a straight left. Like, in my opinion, she did the more damage in that fight. I was shocked. But that's, I mean...
MMA judge.
Yeah.
Never got.
That's crazy.
We cannot help you with that. It's Performance Institute.
Performance Institute. We got some data. What I was getting at before when you were talking about little kids, and I was rather talking about kids coming up and amateur fighters, it would probably be something that would be really beneficial having some sort of a program like that in America, where kids can understand the right way and the wrong way to do it, so they don't have to repeat these problems and these mistakes that have already been gone over.
That's your background in the British Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, if you...
Set that up.
Would that be something that the UFC would ever think about doing in the future? Because if they really wanted to ensure that they had a good pool of high-level talent, it would certainly add to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no clear performance pathway into the highest level of the UFC for the sport of martial arts. So,
but there's guidelines for training that I think might not have.
And every gym has a curriculum, and what we're trying to do is obviously add to that curriculum from a training perspective, a recovery perspective. But ultimately, what's the best pathway? And as you've already contested to, people are coming to this sport with so many different backgrounds. So, are you going to chop that access route to the UFC in half, or are you actually going to promote it and find many ways to get into the UFC? I think we can look at things like the Olympic Games. Does the MMA ever enter into the Olympic Games in greater pathway? Who knows? And I'm sure the UFC are looking into that type of thing in the future. Trying to be ambitious. But right now, it's hard to define what's the optimal way, and what's the optimal route into the UFC.
It is really, that's one of the more interesting things about it, like we were saying before. You really have any combat sport path, boxer, wrestler, anything can get you in there.
I'm sure it's the same for other disciplines of martial arts, but I have a lot of experience in kind of youth wrestling development. And when MMA came along, there was a little bit of a fear we're going to lose a lot of athletes to MMA. And we did originally lose a lot of athletes on the Olympic level to MMA. John Hendricks is a good example. Seeing young wrestling star with MMA became UFC champ, not becoming Olympic. But what it's really done is it's created this popularity in wrestling, in no small part to, I think, some of the feedback you provided around wrestling being so vital to the development of mixed martial arts. But there's been a real boom, I believe, in youth wrestling and in youth and high school wrestling, because people realize and recognize that this is a pathway into becoming an elite mixed martial artist. Of all the athletes that are in the UFC, there's a very high level of champions right now that were 2008 Olympians. But if you look at the roster and how many people wrestle in high school, it's staggering. And so just getting the space, not only technique and grind mentality, but the strength that you double legging somebody from when you're 5 until you're 18, you develop strength that you can't develop when you're 22. And this core strength and the ability to do that is a way to get into it. And I know that other disciplines are likely receiving similar windfalls, but in terms of developing that curriculum for development, and that's definitely part of what we're interested in alleviating some of the big mistakes, but there's still innumerable ways to get into it.
Think about when you were doing jiu-jitsu. You had to struggle to find people to roll when you started, right? Sure. It was there's 6 guys you're rolling. Now you can go anywhere. Like you can be doing a show in any just look up and go drop in on our local jiu-jitsu club.
Yeah, it's packed. John Jock's noon class, they had 60 people in it. 6-0. what the fuck? There was nowhere to move.
There's your talent development pathway to the UFC.
Yeah.
It's those kids' classes, right?
Yep. Yeah. It really is interesting too, and it's dependent upon if a kid lives in an area that has a strong jiu-jitsu program or a strong Thai program. Oftentimes, that's what dictates what path they get into the sport from.
Yeah. Good women's wrestling program.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Wrestle Like a Girl. I'm on the advisory boards on not only women's MMA but women's wrestling as well. And there's what's really interesting working on the kind of the clinical side of what we do with the PI is every discipline has its own not only sport culture but physiology that goes with it. As we talk about the strength dynamics for wrestlers. Are going to be different than the reactive strength for our strikers, and then nutrition and just overall lifestyle type sport culture is really interesting coming from the different disciplines that you came from. Boxers, they do the road work, they're doing a lot more fast morning training. Wrestlers that have obviously a weight cut culture that they bring with them and have a little bit more experience there. A lot of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu players, especially from Brazil, have their sport culture, so it's so intriguing being able to, we work with one sport, but with so many subcultures within that sport, and really interesting to get to work with them. Obviously working with the female athletes like you alluded to earlier adds a whole another layer in terms of the dynamics that we're working with in terms of physiology with our athletes.
Yeah, I was just like the female physiology and the weight cut. That's just the whole. Like, you really need to go to school for that.
Yeah, I would imagine that's a big difference. No, you help them organize their weight cuts. I know you work with Kamaru Usman for his cut for his last fight.
So with Kamaru, we absolutely worked with him all the way through the fight.
Did you guys know he had a broken foot?
He was looking around, but
No, we did. And if we did, we wouldn't have mentioned it. But no, I had no idea.
And
How crazy is that guy?
I didn't know. That's awesome. I was actually happy he was in the building for the whole time, and I didn't know that. I was happy. I was like, yes, good. But what happens in the walls stays in these walls. Because if there's a space like the Performance Institute and it's run by the UFC, the UFC pays me to fight people. I'm worried that that's going to get to that.
Right.
So
of
that was one of the biggest things when we started this. Like, I don't want to know. Like, I'm the liaison from them to the other side of the half. I don't want to know whose weight is what. I don't want to know who's got a nagging injury. That's your, some of that is actually HIPAA, information. That's your private stuff, though. Even if it's just how strong or weak you are, if you're having a bad day, I don't want that to ever get out of a wall, right? So that's you're a conspiracy guy.
What does that have to do with conspiracy?
Yeah, guys always think the UFC's out together. Me too. I always thought like, they're gonna find out that I got this or that, and
Well,
so,
the
they won't find
stress,
out for me.
the stress of preparation for a fight. I mean, people are always worried, especially there's little tweaks, something going on, something with the hands, something with the legs, something with the knee. It gets out, people find out about it, hear about it, target it.
Yeah, that's okay.
So Kamaru and every other athlete we work with comes in with sensitive injuries, and we have a private treatment suite within the Performance Institute, the PT area, so they can come get private treatment. And then in terms of supporting him for his weight cut, that starts 10 weeks, 12 weeks. For Kamaru, 3-4 months in advance.
How much are you trying to get him down to before the day of the cut?
So every athlete is going to be a little bit different based on what their background is,
What he's comfortable cutting for.
Yeah, what their historical weight cutting practices have been, how hard they've been on the body. So we're assessing somebody like Kamaru for the metabolic rate, where they fit in terms of their body composition into that weight division, their lean tissue versus their fat tissue. Those that have a higher degree of lean tissue are going to have muscle has more water than does fat and bone. So you can push the body a little bit further for those that have higher lean tissue. And so all of that planning preparation starts many weeks in advance. And having heard Kamaru on the show a couple weeks ago, a lot of what we do with an athlete that doesn't have a history of missing weight. They may have a hard time making weight, but oftentimes they're making it harder on themselves because they're pulling the body in two different directions, like we talked about. If they're training in one way and feeding in a different way, what they're doing is they're just undermining it and kind of digging a hole that they can't get out of by the end of the fight. And that fight camp gets really long before we talk about.
What do you see in terms of the way they fuel themselves? It's like the biggest error.
Sticking to one style of feeding, regardless of the training style that they're engaging in. So MMA athletes, they have to do high intensity training, strength and conditioning. They have to be doing sparring. They have to be doing pads rounds that are crazy hard. In every athlete, each one is going to have a different intensity relative to their body type. And so if somebody's doing pads at 9 or 10 out of 10 in terms of intensity, and they're doing that fasted or they're doing that without carbohydrates available to do that work, they can't hit those training intensities repeatedly, and then they can't adapt as a response to that training. So they end up just getting slower and more beat up instead of faster and more powerful. So if they're doing high intensity to fuel the body in the specific way that supports that training effort, and then the longer term adaptation to that bout. Additionally, if they're doing low intensity, we can adjust our fueling strategies based on what that dictates. If it's a kind of a base aerobic training session, or if they're doing skills and drill, we want to be feeding the body differently than if they're doing the high intensity sparring, strength and conditioning, or pads, or whatever that may be. So for every athlete, we're looking at how their body uses substrate, the energy that they're using the substrate between carbs and fat at each of these intensities. And then we also need to we need to base our recommendations on where their body fits into the division. If they're 20% out from their weight division 4 weeks out, then we're going to have a little bit of a more aggressive strategy nutritionally because weight becomes a primary factor. If they're 10% out 4 weeks out, then we're going to have a little bit of a different conversation of prioritization around the fueling strategies. And all of these conversations integrate within our strength and conditioning program so that we're working in concert and tying in the workload into our own system as well as the training load that they're engaging with their skill-specific training.
Now, when you vary the diet that you give them, depending on the workout, what is that based on? Is that based on hard accepted science of carbohydrate versus protein versus essential fatty acids? How do you determine that?
So we use a philosophy, a system called metabolic efficiency. You can call it metabolic flexibility, I've heard it called as well. And essentially the body we'll use different substrate at different intensities. And at low intensities and at rest, the body can and likely should be adapted for our sports athletes to fat at rest. Now, it depends on the sport type. Again, if we're a shot putter or if we're a 100-meter depth sprinter, then we're going to be much more dependent on carbohydrates and really the creatine phosphate system. We're not even getting into the glycolytic system. And Duncan can talk about the energy systems, but essentially, we're reliant on glucose and ATP for energy at those lower intensity bursts. Right? So to hit repeated max or sub-max efforts, we require blood sugar. And without it, we will deplete our initial stores, and then we can no longer hit 90 or 95% of our max. We start hitting 80 and 70 and 60 and diminishing our ability to do these high intensity efforts.
Now, do you guys see anybody come in and try to fight on a ketogenic diet? Because I know quite a few guys were doing that for a while. I know Brian Caraway did it. Matt Brown? Yeah, that's right. He has 5. He varies it, I think.
Yeah, well, I talked to him. I think he did one pretty pure. And then he did, he did one where you might take in 60 or 80 carbs, but then you work them off to stay ketogenic. I don't know.
Some of those guys, like
Christ.
ultramarathon runner, he does eat ketogenic most of the time, but then on days at big races, he'll consume a lot of sugars.
Yeah. And again, I'll influence certain spirits. Yeah. So essentially, the more we can regulate blood sugar at rest and low intensities, then we can expand and to support the development of that kind of aerobic oxidative system. And by adapting to use fat as a primary substrate, we're doing a number of things. One, we're balancing blood sugar at rest so that we can really limit the insulin spikes and essentially adipose development. In addition to really driving the body towards the oxidative aerobic system. And then as we increase in what we do is we assess how the body adapts through the training intensities, and we'll repeat that kind of on a monthly basis to see how the athlete changes. And then as we increase in the intensity of the training effort, then we will adjust the ratio of fat to carbohydrates as a fuel substrate.
I thought it was going to come up organically, but it didn't. The Trifecta Fight Prep System, you guys and your team are going to 22 events this year.
Indeed.
Take it away.
All right.
What are you doing?
So
I'm shooting a promo here, Joe. Step back.
So essentially, we're assessing and then we're programming based on each athlete's needs. So, like Thor said, one of our most valuable partners at UFC Performance Institute is a meal prep company called Trifecta Nutrition, and they essentially have an all-organic meal line that can be developed a la carte, ordered a la carte. So with Kamaru, as an example, we worked together for his past 2 fights, and many athletes, like I said, are not fueling the type of training in a way that leads to their long-term adaptation, but can lead to overtraining early in the camp. So what we really want to do is to understand how that physiology works, and then program and then provide those athletes with the nutrition, whether it's on-site at the UFC Performance Institute.
At the event as well, as I was getting at, like 22 events they go to. So you think about, like, I would literally smuggle oatmeal into Brazil, like you're stealing food. They like you get the the little thing that says an organic little pass. They can go to those fights and actually feed you throughout the week.
Oh wow,
that's where I was going.
Okay. So that's incredible. So they would, like, you got to fight in Stockholm. They would come to Stockholm. With
if it's one of the 22 events.
Oh, okay.
So,
but if it's one of those 22 events, they would go and you could get the UFC PI to fuel you through the entire event.
So there's a number of levels. So I'll get there in just one sec, but essentially we'll take them through the fight camp, fuel them for adaptation, so they show up to the event. We know exactly where they are. They're fueled, and then we can take them all the way through the fight. So 22 events. Most are domestic, except for some the pay-per-views that are international. So of the 22, the only international ones are the pay-per-views. The others are the ESPN events, and those are pretty much exclusively domestic. But what we've done is we outreach all of the athletes that have crossed paths with us at the Performance Institute. So it's not roster-wide yet, as we're working through a lot of the operation stuff. As an example, we aren't able to get into the kitchen at every hotel. So then we're working to find a community kitchen, trying to find contacts at local universities.
So you guys would actually cook them yourselves?
So Trifecta hired a chef. So Trifecta, they're our partner. They've been amazing in terms of trying to feed our athletes. We identified this as a real need that we run a marathon with these guys, right? Kamaru, as an example, we worked together for 3 months. We get them to a week before the fight, and then it's like pat them on the butt. It's like good luck, right? As we know, fueling is impactful all the way through the fight, including 30 minutes before. And so instead of patting him on the butt and saying good luck, Trifecta hired a chef who I previously worked with. He worked with me at Cornell University for a year. He was an intern with me. He worked at Exos for 2 years and then at a 2 Michelin star restaurant here in LA. And Providence is the name of it. And he got hired. He's their executive chef and is building out the fight week meals based on me and my team's program. So we work with every single athlete that we've connected with at the lab. It's gotten up to, on average, between 14 and 16 athletes at all the events that we're working. And we provide comprehensive fueling. So all of the food calories that they put in the body from time to step on foot on Tuesday for fight check-in, all the way through pre-fight, including all the supplements, NSF third-party tested supplements for supplement safety, make sure they're not getting adulterated products. We're keeping track of everything that they're consuming on the supplement side. We don't sit in the sauna. We're not there to be a weight cut coach. We are the sports dietetic team to support them on a programming and on science evidence-based level. So we will consult with their teams around what's the safest, what's the most effective way to support an athlete making weight. And then we instantly, once they make weight, we have supplies that was developed, prepared by our chef that morning and the night before to support rehydration, electrolytes, to optimize the gut repopulation of gut microbiota, as well as balance the osmolality so that they're not getting gut cramping and issues that happen when you ingest a ton of sodium and glucose causes a lot of water rush into the gut. And then we essentially feed them all the way through, like I said, breakfast, lunch, and then pre-fight to support their performance.
I'm an outspoken critic of heavyweight. I don't necessarily think it's the best thing for the sport or for the athlete. I mean, I think one of the benefits that we would get out of having more weight classes available is fighters to get in the weight class where they're optimally down. Has there ever been any discussion? I know you guys have had discussions about ED usage and how to stop adulterated supplements from getting fighters and making people test positive, but what about some long-term goal of potentially eliminating weight unrelated eliminating PEDs?
So as we already talked about, I come from college wrestling. Tragically, in 1997, 3 college wrestlers died.
In Florida, of course. It's always Florida.
Was it?
2 of them.
One was at the University of Michigan, and I'm not exactly sure where the other 2 were, but
Let's pretend it was Florida.
Let's say Florida.
It feels like Florida.
Florida's just gonna shake their head anyway. I'm not even gonna check.
I'll accept it.
but the NCAA dramatically overhauled their weighing rules from the day before to the day of. And there are a lot of similarities in terms of the types of athletes that are wrestling versus the types of athletes that are competing in MMA. But we work in and we work with professional athletes. And we work for a professional fight promotion. And the dynamics of a professional fight promoter is completely different from the NCAA. And the level of autonomy with our independent contractors versus the NCAA athletes is different. And we, as the UFC, the performance institute, we have the health and safety of our fighters in mind at all times. And that's priority number 1. And I've had to literally call the ambulance on athletes that I've seen not doing well because of health considerations.
Now, you personally, how do you feel?
About weight cutting? I would like to, I personally would like to make it safe. There are less than ideal, I think, safety concerns that we've all heard of and a lot of us have seen. And from my perspective, the closer that you can bring it to the fight, the better. But because of the promotional nature of the UFC, it's limited. And then we have limited ability to affect change with the UFC because the commissions really are the ones that are
I don't
really
mean to sound
making the rules.
like that asshole, but dude, pick your weight class, make the weight, or just say, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I gotta move up, right? It was always hard for me to make 205, but I didn't really want to fight heavyweight. And I made it, and towards the end of my career, I walked around like, I used to get pretty big. I was like, hey, I don't want to do that. I want to be a professional. Be a professional. It comes back to the whole, I keep saying the 52-week fight down. All right? Like, you need to get 20% over your fight weight. If you're 20% over your fight weight, that's not your fight weight. Just
making very good points.
There are weight classes, all right? Maybe there needs to be a weight class like every 10%. Well, every 10%. So I think percent's a lot more important than weight. The other thing is, maybe in time it'll happen. There's 570 athletes. It's not enough to fill that many weight classes. And then, you're a boxing guy. Well, when you get a weight class, I'm just going to run around and we're going to have fights every 3 pounds. And then it becomes a little...
I don't know if that's necessarily the...
Then there's like 27 belts. How much value do they have?
Really clearly is that it's unnecessary risk. It's an unnecessary risk. To have a guy dehydrate himself or a girl dehydrate themselves, literally to the point of going to the fucking hospital. 24 hours for a cage fight is insane. If you could eliminate that, why wouldn't you? That's the number 1 thing. I think there's no benefit whatsoever to making people dehydrate themselves 24 hours before a cage fight. It seems crazy.
Yeah, no, nobody's going to disagree with you. What's the best way to figure it out?
The best way to figure it out is to, first of all, you can definitely avoid a lot of struggle and tragedy by figuring it out, right? I mean, the fights that happen where fighters in several organizations cut weight and died during that process. That's heartbreaking. If we could avoid that. It's already a dangerous sport as it is.
We are collecting data at the Performance Institute. We all have some opinions around what works best in terms of reducing the extreme weight cutting, creating some competitive parity in the cage. I think is a really critical point, so that it de-incentivizes that weight cutting process. Yeah. If you can't be as big in the cage, well then there's not as much of a benefit. The problem, it is a very complex problem, and the regulation in mixed martial arts is such that you're the promoter and we abide by the regulations of every single state athletic commission. And so we're collecting data so that we can understand the issue better. We're working to come to an understanding to then share with those that are the legislators of the system so that they can help make it safer as well. Because it's not just a unilateral decision where we tell our employees this is what to do. We have 570 independent contractors, so each of us has some strong beliefs and opinions in this space, and I value yours, and I really respect the passion you bring to it. This is my passion as well. That's why I came to the UFC. It's to impact this culture, and hopefully on the policy side as well. But it's a very, very complex system that we're working to kind of infiltrate or to affect from the inside.
I truly understand that it's complex, but if you wave a magic wand and not have weight cutting, wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, but no, nobody's disagreeing with that.
So why not listen to the UFC can do that? They can do that. ONE FC's doing it. It can be done. You just have a program. You make sure that people move up a weight class. They don't. You have hydration tests. You make sure that they're never really taxing out. Like some guys we've seen. I've seen guys shuffle to the scale because they couldn't walk. We've all seen where guys are literally on death's door 24 hours before a cage fight. That's crazy. If you could eliminate that,
I commend ONE FC for trying. There's holes in that system, just like there's holes in any system.
They're always going to try and game the system. Nah, they're trying to game the system as well.
Well,
they're seeing on a stick that you or I could go buy in Walmart. Those aren't that easy to do. Those aren't hard to do.
The hydration tests. Yeah. No, they're not. No, you're 100% right. I mean, but it's more protected. It's more difficult.
They have a far different regulatory system than we have. Yes. We have 50 independent state regulators. We have down in Brazil. We have different regulators. It's very complex, and I think that we obviously here at the table and at Performance to have that as a primary kind of area of focus. But we're working to affect the system.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sum it up. What Quinn and his team are doing is, let's see the data. Let's collect the data. Let's figure out what it looks like. What Donna's been doing for the last couple of years, collecting every fight weight. Let's see. Let's look at the data, figure it out from there.
Yeah. It's just such an unfortunate aspect that again has been there from the beginning, at least from the time the B classes started being instituted. But it just seems to me that, boy, if there's a way to avoid that.
UFC 6, they had it right. The giant guys, wasn't that the one with the giant guys?
Oh, that was Adam versus
Goliath,
Goliath, right?
Yeah. We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
The cage fight is pretty hard by itself.
Yes, it is. I just,
We don't call it cage fighting, we call it octagonal struggling. You got PC that shit up.
Yeah, well, you see cage fighting, people go, what? They say, oh, mixed martial arts. Oh, you mean like the UFC? I love Ronda Rousey. I'm a big fan.
Hey, it's about your messaging sometimes, man. Yeah, I've
Now,
accepted that.
Do you guys have long-term plans for expansion of the treatment and different things you do? Do you have is this something that you guys are constantly working on, improving?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The sports science landscape is vast, you know, and we try to keep abreast of all the latest technologies, the advances in theory and philosophy. So, yeah, that's at the heart of everything we do. You know, we're trying to stay at the cutting edge of sports performance. So
how does that? Do you have to go to conferences and find out what the latest stuff guys are doing? And
I mean, you know, I did the math this week actually. You know, I always say the church is the building, the church is the people. Our staff has got a combined experience in pro and elite sports of 106 years. We've got 18 Olympic Games supported within our staff alone.
Wow.
Okay, so our people, our staff are what is so precious to the Performance Institute, and we're very proud of our staff. They're respective world leaders in their own individual areas. But yeah, of course you have to go and speak to people. Of course you got to listen to seminars and collect and gather information.
They love their conferences, I'll tell you that.
What you got to have to do is process it. You know, there's a lot of pseudo science and bro science out there. You know, so you love that word, right?
Yeah, it's a real problem.
Yeah. So you know, the ability to process it is what makes a difference.
No, not everybody can be fortunate enough. I didn't have to be smart. I just went out and found a bunch of smart people.
Do they make you take notes when they make you sit on these
I
conferences?
honestly used to really like try to upskill myself and everything, and at some point I was like, just hey Clint, come here, I got a question.
Now, in terms of like recovery stuff, I know you guys had a hot pool, like a sauna or a jacuzzi, rather, was right next to a cold plunge. How much of that stuff do you guys do, and what equipment do you guys keep?
I mean, again, Bo Sandoval, who's our head of director of strength and conditioning, puts it intimately in terms of in the UFC, everyone's training hard. You know, you're not training harder than the guy next to you or in the gym next to you. What is the key is how fast you can recover and train again at the intensity that you need to, day after day after day, and be robust enough to tolerate that. So recovery and regeneration is just as important as the training and exposure. In fact, your body obviously changes and adapts during the recovery and regeneration process. So yeah, listen, we've got hot tubs, we've got aquatic capabilities, we've got cryotherapy, we've got compression, we've got everything you would expect in a world-class facility. What we're starting to do is really try to be a bit more prescriptive around that. As Clint's already talked about, you know, it makes no sense to us to look at a high neuromuscular striking session where you're hitting mitts or hitting bags and use the same recovery strategy as a high metabolic grappling session. These are totally different physiology challenges. So you have to be prescriptive and to be a bit more strategic in our approach. But at the end of the day, what is core to recovery is such a personal thing. You know, some people don't like getting in the cryotherapy chamber. Some people can't swim, so they're not going to get in the water and do hot cold plunges. It's going to stress them out more. So you know, hey, go in here and potentially drown and help you recover.
But it's not that deep.
Well, it's not that deep, but there's some people just got the fear of water because you can't swim. You know,
what do they do about baths?
Well, shower, crazy. You'll know when you smell them, I guess.
You guys have a sauna on premises as well?
Yes,
yeah,
we do.
And do you guys go from the sauna to the cold plunge?
Me, personally.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a great benefit of that, right?
For sure. And again, you've had Andy Gaffin on, you've had all these Brian McKenzie, all these people, the breathing experts.
I did most of both though, so.
There's a lot of information now around recovery, but it's still a massive grey area.
What about massage? Do you have that on staff as well?
Absolutely.
Do they do like rolfing, that kind of like deep tissue? How often do you guys recommend that for athletes? Because the Soviets for a long period of time was really shocking when we found out they were massaging their athletes every day. And there's debate as to whether or not that's good or bad. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think what Heather, who's our director of PT, will tell you is that the fascia and the fighter posture and the way fighters are putting their bodies through particular challenges obviously creates a lot of muscle tone, it creates a lot of tightness in the fascia, and just methods and mechanisms to free that up to allow the joints and you know, the articulation of the body to work effectively is huge. If you have greater than I'm trying to remember the numbers, but a 10 to 20% imbalance in the joint within your body, you can have a 70 to 90% chance of injuring that joint, right? So just the difference in terms of symmetry and balance within the body and its influence on injury is massive. So why not be proactive in trying to utilize manual therapies and recovery modalities rather than working in a reactive process and waiting for the injury to happen? And again, that's core of our philosophy, is that there's been a big shift in the barometer for some of the fighters that come through the Performance Institute. You know, the clinic and the therapy is somewhere where you go when you're injured. Well, you know, what we do is we promote it just as much as the strength and conditioning piece.
So when you talk about range of motion, are you including flexibility exercises? Do you guys talk about that stuff as well?
Oh, sure. But again, it's fighters tend to be pretty flexible. So again, it's on an individual level, but most people can kick you in the head in the UFC. They're pretty flexible.
Individual orthopedic assessment, right? So, hey, this is tight, that is tight. All right, we need to loosen you up. We're going to put that in your routine, right? So everything is needs analysis driven, right? So, you know, Brian Ortega don't need to be any more flexible. He just needs to maintain his current flexibility.
So it completely varies. If you got like a stiff wrestler, someone who's like never really worked on.
Yeah, think about combat posture, that internal rotation, that combat posture where you're constantly throwing. Just chronically doing that year after year is going to set you up for some amount of tightness in terms of fascia. So again, I don't want to get outside my scope of expertise, but we're very proactive in promoting fighters using modalities proactively rather than reactively.
So say if a fighter came in and they did a hard grappling workout, and after the training, what would you recommend and how much time? Because there's some thought that the body should exist in an inflamed state post-workout.
Depends on the phase of training.
So, yeah, right, and also for a certain amount of time. And then there's more of a benefit going into cryotherapy after like an hour or so. Where the benefits from the
Yeah, so again, if you're off camp, what are you trying to do? You're trying to break down your body so it can be overloaded and recover better. You know, you're using that sort of compensation to take it to a new level of adaptation. In camp, when you're sharpening the knife ready for the fight, you want to remove any type of fatigue because you're getting close to the fight. You need to optimize your training and obviously peak to the performance of the fight night. So you're going to be you've got to periodize your recovery as you would periodize your training load in camp or off camp. But yeah, there's different approaches and different modalities that you've got to utilize. So if you look at grappling and the metabolic demand that goes into the wrestling and the grappling, you know, that's a lactate kind of response. That's a circulatory issue in terms of those metabolites that circulate around the body. You've got to remove those, right? So is that going to be something like a muscle pump type recovery strategy that'll help it remove it through the liver and into the lymph system?
You mean like one of those compression?
So yeah, it might be a compression pan or it might be hot cold. You know, if you go hot cold, the vessels will expand in the hot and they'll contract in the cold. You get a natural kind of muscle pump.
And how many times do you ask fighters to do that? When they do a hot cold thing, do they do it? Is there a sequence?
Yeah, I mean we have a preferred methodology. Right now it's about 3 to 4 minutes, 4 times each. Right, finishing go back and forth 4 minutes, finishing the cold. You look at other experts and other professionals in the field, they'll say sit in the cold bath for 20 minutes. You know, so there's still not the science, not the data and the information out there to really support.
How do you optimize? How do you know whether or not it's having that much of a benefit compared to not doing it? Just
talk to them, make a way, feedback.
Yeah, number one subjective, do you feel better? You know, there might be no science around cryotherapy. I'm not suggesting not, but there might be no data and no science on it. But if the guy walks out 3 minutes later and feels like crystal mind and his body is fresh, it's kind of work, right?
Yeah, well, the norepinephrine, the raising of the levels of it due to extreme cold exposure, I think that's been proven. I think cytokine development, that's been proven. Yeah, cold shock proteins and heat shock proteins, both of them, that's all proven stuff.
Right.
In terms of measuring the actual inflammatory markers of the body, but some people don't like it.
I'm just making the point that if you like that stimulation, you like that sensation, you walk out, you can forget the physiology. It's now wrapping into psychology, and that's still part of the recovery.
It's beneficial for sure. What are you saying?
Sure, no, I was gonna say.
I will sidetrack. Just in terms of recovery, nutrition is a core value of the recovery process as well. So as much cryotherapy as you do, if you're not recovering, stimulating muscle, converting from catabolism to anabolism, providing nutrients for substrate regeneration, that's a critical component as well. So that's critical. What we aren't doing is providing arterial use or high antioxidants immediately post-training as well. We'll include that in other periods of the day, in the evening, or not immediately around a high-intensity training session for antioxidant.
What's the negative aspect of antioxidant?
It's similar. It limits the adaptive response based on the body's recovery process. So if you want your immune response to a micro trauma, muscle tears, you rebuild stronger faster. We limit the adaptation. So we want to provide nutrients to support recovery, but we don't want to eliminate the adaptive response to training.
That's what's so fascinating about the science of it. That you can get that specific. That you know that if you consume the high levels of antioxidants post training, it's going to be recovery times.
So it's amazing. Curcumin, tartaric juice. There's a number of spices that are included in a lot of the things, whether it's cooking or in our supplement protocol, that we will include, but we're going to target them away from that.
How far away from that?
A couple hours.
I mean, it comes back to, can a fighter process all this information? You know, can they physically be aware of it? Where are they catching
Just give me the diet. Just write it down for me.
So again, let us do some of the group work for your performance institute, and we can give you some education.
Write it down for me. I'll tell you how I feel, and then we'll go back and talk about it. Maybe a change.
Coaches and gyms don't feel like you're trying to coach them and take them away and bring them to a new place. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's like it's open to everybody who fights for the UFC.
Yeah, and the other thing which I would say is this is at no cost to the fighters, right? It's also their choice. Where they're independent contractors, they can decide how much they want to engage with us, as much or as little as they want. Again, that's the same with the trifecta program for meal prep, it's the same with the strength and conditioning program. So again, it's all bespoke and customized programming at their expense.
It's so exciting for me because having seen the fights in the sport, the level sport over all these years, it's so exciting to see constant continuing innovation. And you guys came along and built this thing. I had a chance to go and visit. I was so excited. I was like, this is just what, man, every sport needs something like that. The fact that the UFC has this is fantastic.
I'll buy you some testing.
We're going to find out I'm old.
Yeah. I mean,
where are you more old than others?
Right down my left hip, I fell down skiing.
You make a great point because what's been one of the really exciting things for us and refreshing, also for the UFC Performance Institute, is that sports like the NFL, the NBA, the English Premier League, we're having representatives from all of these teams, NHL, coming through and trying to understand, trying to understand what we're doing, how we're working our sports science into the sport of mixed martial arts, and to try and capture our philosophy and our approach from facility development perspective through to kind of our education processes, through to the way we're tracking fighters. And again, we're trying to shape mixed martial arts, we're trying to influence the UFC, that's our number one mission, but the global awareness around the Performance Institute is really exciting.
Now, I know you were talking about your place in China. Are you planning on going anywhere else?
Well, right now, the expectation or our desire is to influence mixed martial arts globally. We're truly a global sport, so right now we don't know what that's going to look like. The ambition is to obviously have performance institutes around the world that can help the development process.
What a build one like South Africa.
Get the malaria medication ready, bro.
Super, right? Super.
I don't know what this stuff is. I just want to wine.
It's pretty nice, though.
What is cool about us operating and being independent contractors and accessing us however they see fit is we have so many different case studies in utilization. We'll have people come out for a week at a time, access our team, take that back. We'll have other people come out for part of a camp or full camp. Others will come. We had Nancy Barber, actually, she talked about it publicly, but she worked with us quite a bit for her last fight. She took a flight from Nashville to Vegas to reconnect, to get updated nutrition, strength and conditioning, whatever metrics that we could update based on her health status, as well as orthopedic support post-fight. we were able to get a number of days to fight as part of essentially the completion of her fight to get her ready for the next phase. So there's a lot of different ways that athletes can utilize based on just whatever their needs are, whatever they perceive their needs to be, and then whatever influence we're able to kind of make over their preparation.
And Macy Barber's a perfect example of someone getting that kind of high-level treatment very early in her career. She's only 20 years old right now, super exciting prospect. And for her to have access to
21, like 3 weeks. She's old already.
that voice is force gripping. No one else. When you treat these young fighters, how much emphasis do you put on giving them just a smart protocol to try to minimize the potential injuries, like to get them to understand the relationship between range of motion and injuries, get them to understand balance? I know you guys have a machine you actually measure the muscles in the body and show like the left and right side with what's weak and what's strong, right? What is that called again?
I mean, we use force plates in particular.
There's something you lie down in those there.
By
That's crazy.
So we have the DEXA scan, which is essentially a low dose X-ray that measures the mass of tissue between bone mass, muscle mass, and fat mass. So we can get a balance of the musculature and the skeleton bilaterally. When we see a big imbalance on that front, because that is a nutrition-related test, we will share that with both physical therapy and strength and conditioning. And then physical therapy can break that into more nuance around strength analysis around joints using the BioDex, and then strength and conditioning will do very similar kind of understanding using the bilateral force plates.
That stupid machine told me I had 2 pounds less muscle in my left leg than my right.
And it was accurate.
Okay, no, I did. I blew my knee out a couple times. I just didn't rehab it properly.
So when you found out, did you start doing like extra one-legged pistols on the left side?
For 2 weeks, maybe even 3. And then I was like, yeah, I got some email sends.
Then your knee started
And now we just keep running in
So
circles.
let me ask you this: if you did see a fighter and they did have something like that and they were active, they were still competing, so what'd you do?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fighters that have imbalances muscularly. That's not a nutrition-related issue. Obviously, our support is going to be important for the adaptation. And this goes to Heather around orthopedic assessment. What's the imbalance? What's the injury risk? Like Duncan was saying, in terms of strength analysis. She and her team, Heather Linden, our director of PT, would do that orthopedic screen, see what the imbalances are, and break it down. And then that would lead to probably programming in her space, and then also to strength and conditioning to build programs around whether it's mobility, range of motion, or just around kind of hypertrophy to make up for some imbalance. So that's where the comprehensive approach comes in. I might assess something and then kick it over to them. There's many cases where they would assess something, whether the strength coach happened this week, so-and-so's having a bad training session, they talk about low energy, they talk about not being able to recover again for the next training session. That's an immediate referral over to my side, to my side of the defense. So that's where the integrated care becomes really good.
So if you had someone that had like a 2-pound weight difference between the left leg and the right leg, how much time would you need that weight back? Would it be dependent on the individual, or like you would probably want that to be a priority before they went into a heavy camp or something?
So you can't resolve that immediately, but that would be part of the...
I mean, it comes back to the return on investment, right? Well, what's the return on investment to and the reduction of an injury risk to try and influence that 2 pounds? You know what I mean, that's a conversation that's, you know, we're going to have that conversation on how effective or influential that is going to be on the outcome of the fighter. So, you know, as the fighters are all around truly imbalanced, but what's the risk and the time and effort it's going to take to make a change? If it's in a fight camp, we're probably going to just leave it as it is. If it's off camp, then we've got a little bit more time to try and address it. Right now, it can be a bit more proactive.
But with me, they were like, you're old, we'll take you out and I can shoot you. Now, we messed around with some BFR stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's
BFR?
Blood flow restriction.
The occlusion
They can't
bands.
do type. But again, in physical therapy and strength conditioning, that's not revolutionary anymore. That's part of just another tool we got to do. It's a way to augment or accelerate hypertrophy. So if you have someone that's coming back or returning from surgery or an injury, and you're looking to get muscle mass back onto the limb without necessarily loading it, weights, whatever, you can use blood flow restriction methods to try and increase the mechanism.
What are your thoughts on electrical muscle stimulation, muscle pads, and shocks?
Yeah, well, they come by a lot of different machines. Too,
Yeah.
So.
Have you ever used it?
I have not, no. Well, no, actually, no, it's not true. I was the test dump. We did on myself. I was the test dump. Yeah.
I think with a lot of those things, there's some short-term relief, and again, you're influencing the nervous system, but long-term changes sometimes do not like that.
Here's a cup.
Is that legit?
Yeah.
Is it real?
Michael Phelps, yeah, everyone sees
He's amazing. He's amazing.
Michael Phelps at the Olympics.
cup,
You can plane them, form them, cup them.
So if you think about massage, that's all decompression. What cupping does is the opposite, it lifts. Alright, so again, when we're talking about fascia and changing fascia and releasing fascia, if all you ever do is massage and depress the tissue, you're not getting that mechanism of lifting and bringing it into the flow. So that's kind of the philosophy. And our therapists use that a lot. Again, it's just a tool, and they're use it for certain situations, and maybe for
Is there any scientific research that cover?
not that I'm aware of, but I'm not completely wrong.
Do you ever do it?
I got a couple.
It is this
Did you?
morning.
Show me like.
What's going on with your leg, bro?
Forrest.
Forrest, what'd you do?
So, do you know,
Compression from so you got surgery. What'd you have done?
MCL, PCL, LCL.
Jesus, man.
do you know the single leg, when you do the scissor defense for the single leg?
Yes.
That scissor? I don't.
Oh, no.
Not at all. I just fell right on his leg. Turns out you can't do a thing. You can't not do a thing for 6 years and just think you can do it. It's not right for fun. It's a perishable skill. Now.
So how long ago
But I have
did
3
you
new
do this
ligaments on.
Oh, Jesus.
6.5 weeks.
6.5 weeks. So 3 new ligaments from Mavericks, is that what it is?
MCL was able to be repaired down on itself, PCL, cadaver, LCL, cadaver. I'm getting world-class physical therapy on a daily basis. Cupping today, I got grafting yesterday, hurt like hell. But literally, I'm just beta testing everything. I was the test subject for Roman for all the exercise tests. Now I'm the test subject for all the PT. Yeah.
What about stem cells or exosomes or anything along those lines?
We gotta flex the Panama book.
Dr. Neil Reardon on standby.
I'm seeing physical therapy at the moment, but I honestly don't know not much about the other components. But
I'm waiting for embryonic stem cells in the US. Then I'll do it.
They're doing like they're doing a lot of insane stuff.
I stem cells make Achilles, but I did surgery.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, they're doing some incredible stuff. If you're really interested, you should talk to Dr. Lonnie McGee. He's also local in Vegas.
The one that did my Achilles surgery.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I did a consult with him. You sent me. UMBC both sent me, and he said for my shoulder, and he was like, "Yeah, there's nothing there for it to attach to. I'll take your $6,000, but it probably won't work." And I was like, "Well, I appreciate the candor, doc."
Yeah, he's very honest about the potentials. But your shoulder's been operated on how many times? 3. Yeah, it's rough. Now, what are the options when something like that happens? I know they do shoulder replacement, but what does that entail?
Yeah, I'll probably do that eventually.
And what does that mean? They just put a different socket
ball
joint?
and socket, yeah.
And what do they do with all the surrounding
I
ligaments?
don't know. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those are still intact, so I don't think the information motion would. As long as I go mess around in RPT once or twice a week, it stays functional.
So when you say mess around, like what kind of stuff are you doing? Stuff for mobility or stuff for you doing the clubs?
Well, I like where you're actually like moving through with them like pressing on the muscles, and you're actually like lifting. What's that called?
Where you were lifting weights for someone
Well, no, you're like
muscles?
I forget. I'll think of it in a second.
No worries.
Physical therapy.
They have you do a lot of band stuff, and a lot of shoulder guys get band work.
I do. Yeah, I'm doing like warm up every day. Yeah, or every whenever I work out. Except for today, I just jumped in cold. Like, let's see what happens.
Now, how much time do you spend on sort of educating fighters about having to strengthen up all the surrounding tissue around knees and shoulders and necks and things like that? Things that are commonly your core, your lower back, commonly injured.
Tissue resilience is massive in our sport because again, it's end range resilience, right? With the submission and the grappling exercise techniques, obviously taking a tissue and the tolerance of that tissue to its end range.
Yeah.
So by being able to train that over time in a progressive fashion, of course it's going to have an influence. And yeah, our programming is going to approach that.
Now, you guys have been in action now for 2 years. You've had a bunch of different fighters move through and do their camps there.
We've had a roster of 570. We've had over 430 of the fighters have already been through in the first 22 months, and we have a retention rate of about 73%. So they're either coming back for a few visits or they're getting remote programming from ourselves.
Now, how much has this changed over the 2 years? How much have your protocols changed, programs changed?
A lot, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot. We're learning more about the sport. The data is showing us more, and again, just the opportunity to speak to more coaches, more athletes. Again, we're servants to the fight community, and we're sports scientists, therapists, clinicians. And at the end of the day, the IP sits with the coaches, with MA coaches, and people like Forrest. So just being able to understand how we can collect that information from a tactical perspective and try and fit it into our philosophy of sports science, being complementary to that's involved all of our processes extensively in the last years.
Have you guys ever thought about putting these sessions online?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, you should.
I always say the Performance Institute's got 3 responsibilities. The first responsibility is to service athletes, to service our fight community, either face-to-face or remotely. The second thing which we're trying to do, something like this, is to aggregate more information and more insights around the sport.
Is this available in fighters?
No, but you can get it online through...
Well, it was sent to every fighter on the roster.
Okay,
Yeah,
but to the average person, a fan,
you can go to our Twitter accounts and things like that and find it on there. There's links out there on social media.
Everybody knows a UFC fighter, right? Just go find them. Oh, they're awesome.
But the second thing is we need to understand the sport. The sport of mixed martial arts is only 25 years old professionally, so aggregating data is the second thing. And then the third thing off the back of that data is dissemination and education across the global fight community. So we're called the Performance Institute for a reason, not the Performance Gym, because we are truly trying to do project work, do research work with partners to try and aggregate that information and our awareness and our understanding so that we can push it out there. So the plan is obviously moving forward to really ramp up our educational platforms to support the global community. And hopefully we'll have certifications coming online in those types of things as well.
Strength and PT are filming stuff to put online.
Yeah,
like
sure.
a full, like, this is the way this exercise is properly done. This is things to look out for physical therapy and strength and conditioning.
You guys have a YouTube channel?
We don't.
What?
Here's the thing. We don't want to act quickly. We're not like a YouTube thing. We want to like, hey, when we release something, we stand behind it. This is tried and true. These are practice matters. We don't need to rush it. Also, these jerks are always busy like with athletes. Freudian slip.
Well, I think that would mean what you guys are doing is amazing, and it would be even more amazing if young fighters really get spot folks.
You're right, and
amazing.
it's in our ambition. We're just 2 years into this thing.
Yeah.
Our first year was just shit. Let's just get operational. We don't even know what this thing is.
What kind of mandate did the UFC give you? I mean, how much would they say, hey man, make a fucking awesome place, people do their best. All right, this is data, high five, I'm going back to work. Like, how does that work? How does it get set up?
No, I mean, it was like, hey, we want insights into the athletes. We want, eventually, its origin was like, hey, can you guys make people stop missing weight and getting injured so much? And more importantly, when somebody does get injured, can we like get them back quicker? Can they not work with like a mom and pop car accident chiropractor to get like professional athletes? Can we get them back? So the goal, right? So the mission statement is, to elongate careers, to help athletes make their weight class, stay within the weight class, fight great at their weight class. So again, specific mandates like the exact KPIs, I forget what they are. There were some.
Just off the bat before, so what I would say is that we can legitimately say in the first 19 months of our existence, we've saved 22 fights, either through medical intervention or the work that Clinton's done around someone that's behind their weight descent, and we've really expedited that process. So
that's amazing.
We're proud of that number, and it's hard to build KPIs around that, but that's why the Performance Institute was implemented.
KPIs,
key performance indicators.
Oh.
So we're not a fight team, right? We work with the whole roster. So we're not judged on wins and losses, although some would, you look on social media and some would think. But our KPIs are around things like how can we support fighters make weight? How can we get them to the door of the octagon in a healthy fashion? And again, 22 fights, we can absolutely say they probably wouldn't happen if we worked with the Performance Institute. So you could put a financial cost potentially against that, and that's kind of the philosophy behind the Performance Institute.
All right, gentlemen, any last words? You want to say something?
I was just going to add that a lot of what we're doing in the athletes that we get to interact with are the cases that require huge interventions. You know, people that are coming off a 6-fight win streak are not looking for how to fix their metabolism or how to stop missing weight or how to improve their power because of their efficiency or orthopedic injury. So we're working with those that are really successful and those that are struggling and everything in between. So it's around those